Stick with me here, because you and I are about to watch a father hate his own son so much he literally orders his head chopped off. But now, our guy travels back in time. He knows every single thing that's coming, and his new revenge plan is absolute perfection. Even as a tiny newborn baby, he is basically a ruthless diaper assassin. That same father who used to treat him like complete and utter trash. Now he's going to respect him so much that he'll desperately want to register this kid as a legitimate son of the main family branch. But how will our boy respond to this fake love? Accept it or go full revenge mode? Oh, we'll get into that soon. For now, just know this kid was born an absolute magnet for women. Every strong, beautiful girl who crosses his path falls instantly in love. Even the holy saints aren't safe. If he pulls away, they literally start crying. And while they cry, he is already moving on to the next girl. Pure madness. Seriously, somebody needs to start selling tissues in this universe. Honestly, this manhwa is an absolute masterpiece of comedy and action. It has brutal revenge. It has that toxic father pride that makes your blood boil. Plus the plot actually rules. There are tons of epic fights, and yeah, some really funny romantic moments too. I know you and I will probably root for him to pick a specific girl. Let's see if we both end up frustrated by the end. Alright, jumping back in. Meet Vikir Van Baskerville, the ultimate loyal hound of the legendary Baskerville family. He gave his entire life to them only to be framed for working with demons. And so, his beloved father ruthlessly ended his life. In his final breath, he swore that in his next life, he would hunt them down and crush them all. He would never be a loyal dog again. Then his vision suddenly shifts. He actually reincarnated. He wakes up surrounded by screaming babies right back inside the massive Baskerville family estate. These kids will not stop crying. Hugo Baskerville mutters that these rats are annoying. Walking past them, he thinks this generation is totally useless. But then one specific thing catches his cold eyes. This tiny piece of trash was completely silent. Surprised, Hugo orders his men to take the baby to the Cradle of Swords. Vikir recognizes him instantly. The man who ordered his death. The Baskerville patriarch standing there in his much younger form, which means Vikir literally time-traveled back to his own birth. Born an illegitimate son, he got the worst training possible. Basically Jon Snow. A hound's only job was blind devotion to the mission. Assassinations gathering intel ambushes or threats. Hounds just handle all the bloody dirty work. That is how the Baskervilles became the absolute greatest of the 7 families. In his past life, he only stayed loyal to finally get some recognition from Hugo. You and I both know how this goes. Humans won the demon war and loyal dogs got executed. But watch closely because he's changing everything this time. He desperately wants revenge, but in a tiny baby body, completely impossible. But the Cradle of Swords is his first big chance to level up. It is where the Baskervilles judge their newborns. Babies get thrown into a deadly sword labyrinth. Survive and you reach the blessed River Styx. The longer you stay submerged, the stronger you get. But only a few kids can actually absorb it. Basically, to reach those magical waters, you have to cross the deadly sword maze at lightning speed. Totally normal family behavior, right? Throwing newborns into a maze of actual blades like it's absolutely nothing. Vikir hits the labyrinth. In his past life, his brothers pushed him out, stealing the blessing. But this time around, he has a clear target, and history will not repeat itself. He dives straight into the river, planning to monopolize that holy water for as long as humanly possible. Total absolute domination. Our boy sinks like a rock. The magic water enters his bones through open cuts. Now he just has to endure the insane pain. The family vassals start panicking, telling him to come out, but Hugo just laughs. He asks John Barrymore, the head butler, how long the kid has been submerged. 7 whole minutes. Still laughing, the twisted patriarch casually mentions that 7 minutes is fatal, and the baby will probably die. Son, you can come out now, he says. Vikir hears it, but refuses to quit. He needs to absorb every single drop. But man, I think he absorbed so much he actually swallowed the water. He tries to hold on, but it is too late. Suddenly someone yanks his tiny leg. It is Hugo laughing because this baby drank the river water and actually grew teeth. Trust me, you and I are gonna love seeing what happens next. Impressed, Hugo asks for the name of the child. The butler replies, his name is Vikir Van Baskerville. Hugo is thrilled. But trust me, you and I are about to watch his absolute downfall. Meanwhile, Vikir just smirks. Let Hugo enjoy it for now. He will silently sharpen his fangs because one day he is going to wipe this entire cursed family from history. In his first life, they called him an absolute genius at age 8, but at home treated like garbage. By age 20, he was running endless assassinations, scouting runs, and brutal subjugation missions. At 29, he hit a massive wall. Without direct bloodline talent, he saw the absolute limit of his sword skills. Then at 30, the demon gates ripped open. A massive 10-year war kicked off, which humanity somehow managed to win in the end. By age 40, after fighting like the perfect loyal hound, his only reward was lies, vicious slander, and a one-way ticket to the guillotine. Snapping back to the cradle, he realizes something huge. Surviving the River Styx means he is already way stronger than in his first life. Right then, he notices a completely unfamiliar woman creeping up to his tiny cradle. She drops a box. Definitely not a sweet baby gift. It is an assassination attempt. 2 highly venomous snakes slither right out. Vikir just sighs. Did they really need venomous snakes for a baby? Still, he catches one massive clue, a maid called that sneaky woman, madam. That title instantly narrows the suspect list to a few elite Baskerville women. But honestly, he has absolutely no time to overthink it. Snakes lunge, but he crushes them effortlessly. Dead right there on the spot. Morning comes and the whole Baskerville house freaks out. A baby sleeping perfectly fine in a giant pool of snake blood. Every nanny on duty gets executed. No one solves the mystery. But stick around because we are about to witness some legendary payback. Fast forward 8 years. Professor Sadi explains that all swordsmen grow through 4 main stages. You have Sword Initiate, Specialist Graduate, and the final tier where aura and blade turn completely solid, changing shape just by the sheer will of the user. Those legends are called Sword Masters. The professor proudly states that Hugo Van Baskerville is exactly that. Seeing Vikir spacing out Sadi assumes he is studying hard. But our boy is actually thinking about one very simple, very dark question. How many years until he can finally assassinate Hugo? Meanwhile, his half-brothers absolutely despise his new fame and all the attention. They drag him into a dark alley demanding answers about all these wild rumors. Rumors like surviving 7 whole minutes in the River Styx, or crushing 2 venomous snakes in his own baby cradle. These triplets are the exact same scumbags who attacked him when he was framed in his past life. They were known as the Trident of Hugo. To test that river rumor, one punk sneaks up right behind Vikir and completely smothers his nose and mouth with his bare hands. He could break out instantly, but decides to troll them instead. 1 minute, 3, then 10. Vikir Van Baskerville just chills there, totally unfazed. Panicking, the brother finally lets go. But before he can step back, our main character literally snaps one of his fingers backward. The brothers scream, yelling they will just find a priest to reattach it. But Vikir stops them with one cold question. Who said you could leave? Enraged, one guy tries stabbing him. But here is the thing you and I need to remember. Vikir's skin is literally indestructible now. Now it is payback time. The triplets scream about being older, but in the Baskerville clan, age means absolutely nothing against pure strength and talent. One brother finally realizes the rumors were completely true right before Vikir punches him square in the jaw. Next one tries fighting back and gets dropped just as fast. The last one yells not to panic. They claim they will get magically healed soon anyway. But Vikir is not letting them walk out so easily. He bends down, grabs their knife, and calmly announces that since he is in a generous mood, he will let just one of them leave. Who survives? That is up to them. He tosses the blade over, warning that he will not wait around. Only one gets to walk away. And just like that, Vikir perfectly engineers the absolute ruin of the future Baskerville Trident. Meanwhile, the head Baskerville butler John Barrymore gives his report to Hugo. He reveals the Morgue clan attacked them at the ruby mine again, arrogantly claiming that the territory belongs entirely to them. Hugo scoffs, saying he will handle it personally, especially since the Morgue clan is visiting them very soon anyway. With that boring stuff settled, he asks John if anything else happened. John brings up the academy midterms, proudly reporting that Vikir Van Baskerville completely dominated, taking first place overall. He adds that the practical test is in 5 days. The guardian knights of the castle have already left to set it up. Hugo realizes the castle is basically empty right now. But John has one final absolutely crazy report to deliver. There was a massive brutal fight between the young masters, the triplets, and Vikir Van Baskerville. Hugo actually asks how many died. 0 deaths, but the oldest lost his teeth. That is where we leave it. Wild stuff, right? Stick with me here because this aftermath is brutal. Middle guy's jaw, crushed. Youngest, missing a finger. They're healing, but the real damage wasn't physical. It absolutely broke them mentally. Hugo actually wonders if they fought each other, but quickly drops the idea. Those 3 were way too close. John agrees, pointing the finger at another brother, the one who is exactly a year younger than them, young master Vikir Van Baskerville. Hugo summons him and he instantly shows up. The boss demands to know what happened to the triplets. 0 hesitation, Vikir just says they're getting medical treatment. But Hugo isn't talking about their physical injuries. He means how Vikir completely destroyed their brotherhood. Since the fight, they eat alone and refuse to speak to one another. Finally, Hugo flat out asks if Vikir thinks he messed up. Our guy, nope. He simply states he was the stronger fighter. Hearing this, Hugo asks if he feels even a tiny bit guilty. Vikir just replies that the triplets started it and he generously let them live. He knows exactly what he's doing. There is absolutely no reason to apologize for surviving. Then he hits him with the ultimate reverse card. He throws the exact same words Hugo told him in his past life right back at him. Forgiveness is just a pathetic excuse for the weak when they can't get revenge. Hugo is actually impressed. To him, power equals justice, making weakness an unforgivable sin. Satisfied, he calls his butler over. Hugo orders him to take our MC straight to the food storage and hand over literally anything he asks for. He even wishes him luck on the upcoming practical exam, dropping a heavy warning not to lose to any main family members. Vikir agrees, looking super annoyed, and dips. Down in the warehouse, he asks for chocolate, specifically raw cocoa beans. Not sweet bars, just the raw beans. Even the butler assumes it's because a single bean can produce 100 liters of liquid chocolate, but he isn't snacking. Watch closely, because what he actually does with these is absolute genius. 5 days later, the practical exam kicks off, and the Baskervilles face a completely unexpected disaster. Worldwide, this family is feared as the Berserker clan. Why? Because their kids endure pure, brutal, torture-level training the second they learn to walk. They scale massive mountains for stamina, resting only on a strict schedule. At night, they literally sleep next to demon corpses and live baby monsters to build grit. Thanks to this insanity, the young hounds can survive completely impossible tests, hence the name Berserker Clan. And right now, another nightmare exam is starting on a mountain absolutely swarming with deadly demon creatures. The instructor drops the rules. The goal is super simple: survive for 1 entire month and hunt demons. They earn points based on a crazy system. You just need to remember the basics: 10 points if you manage to save another student's life, 30 points if you save them without taking heavy damage, 50 points for surviving by eliminating a rival participant, 70 points for surviving while actively hunting down demons, and a massive 90 points for clearing all preset conditions. Everyone gets a special brooch too. Snatching someone else's badge, instant bonus points for you. Before starting, the instructor gives one final warning: never leave the restricted zone. Guardian Knights are going to grade them secretly from the shadows. So yeah, they are being watched every single second. Anxious students start whispering about Vikir, totally wondering if he'll dominate this practical, just like the written exam. Suddenly the bell rings. It's go time. People immediately sprint for the high ground. Others group up to jump solo players for easy points. Even the injured triplets awkwardly stick together. As the kids vanish, the instructor smirks, thinking about the hidden catch. The rules don't explicitly command them to kill each other, but they don't ban it either. I know what you're thinking. 0 penalty for dying. Yep, it instantly turns into a massive, brutal free-for-all. The Guardian Knights, lurking in the shadows, they just make sure the casualty rate stays to a bare minimum. One knight keeps his eyes locked dead on Vikir. Then he notices the kid heading straight into an unexplored danger zone. Like everyone else, he expects to finally witness the protagonist's true power. But when Vikir arrives, he literally just stretches and calls it his private vacation. The knight is absolutely baffled. Everyone else is fighting, but Vikir is just chilling. He assumes the boy just wants to hide. Disappointed, the knight sneaks away. But that's exactly what Vikir planned. He totally knew he was being watched. Using those cocoa beans to completely mask the scent of his roasting meat, his trap is set. The real hunt begins. Days later, he leaves camp, venturing deeper into the unknown. But for him, this deadly forest is basically his backyard. Back in his past life, he survived hellholes like this constantly. He knows better than anyone that this is strict hellhound territory. In his previous life, he didn't face one until he was 18. So for an 8-year-old body, taking one on should be absolute suicide. But he knows a secret method where even a kid can slay a hellhound by exploiting its fatal flaws. Weakness number 1. A hellhound is insanely fast in a straight line, but completely sucks at taking sharp corners. Weakness 2. Water. For some strange reason, these demonic beasts absolutely cannot cross water, even tiny puddles. That forces the hellhound to break inch closer and completely expose its ultimate weak point, its wide-open mouth, during a charge. So he uses the beans. One makes 100 liters of chocolate. And what do you and I know about dogs? Chocolate is absolutely lethal. Stick with me here, he smirks, claiming plain chocolate beats a hellhound, then instantly kills it. Hunting these demon beasts feeds his body raw karma. It is basically free experience. When he swings his sword now, it already feels way lighter. At this crazy pace, he might actually regain his past life strength before even hitting adulthood. Standing there, Vikir just wonders how Hugo will react. Finding out he soloed a B+ rank demon, his face will be priceless, but no time to celebrate. More hellhounds show up. He kicks the first severed head away and instantly readies his stance for round 2, but suddenly the pack freezes. They actually look terrified. Makes 0 sense, these beasts would normally rather die than back down. Then the real boss appears, an A+ rank Cerberus. But Vikir quickly notices something super weird. The giant beast is bleeding, completely full of arrows. He figures those barbarian tribes from across the mountain must have absolutely lit it up. For Vikir, this is the ultimate jackpot. Even if he has to reveal every single hidden trump card, he has been hiding his real power from the Baskerville family. His sword skills already at absolute master level. He has power the other students will not see for years. Fully trusting that strength, he charges the Cerberus, striking with insane precision. Now watch closely. Since it is hurt, Vikir is completely sure his sword can finish the job, but he leaves one tiny opening. Boom, the Cerberus swings its massive claws, completely shattering his blade and slamming right into his chest. That brutal hit sends him flying into a tree, knocking him out cold. His arm is screaming in agony, but his River Styx blessing keeps it attached. Anyone else taking that hit, they would be literal paste right now, even from a weakened boss. Reality check hits hard. He fully realizes the danger here. One more hit means instant game over. So the only logical choice left is the 36th stratagem: run away. He instantly sprints. If that dog was healthy, he would already be dog food. Vikir pushes his limits, knowing he might survive if he just reaches his prepared trap. If it catches him, he is dead. Just a few more steps, and miraculously, he actually makes it. He crosses the line. The massive beast falls right into a trap originally built for hellhounds. Even Vikir is shocked it catches a Cerberus. But hey, a dog is a dog. Those hidden spears are fully coated in lethal chocolate extract. That crazy poison should be instant death, but the high-level boss refuses to go down. For the final blow, Vikir hurls a spear. It bounces off, but it carried deadly blood mamba venom. Exactly 7 steps later, the poison giant finally drops. All 3 massive heads hit the dirt. You are probably wondering how he carries this right. Well, he remembers Cerberus are guardian beasts. They always protect something valuable, meaning a hidden dungeon is definitely nearby. Vikir quickly covers himself in the dead dog's scent. This smart trick keeps lesser monsters away. Following the boss's massive tracks, he locates the secret dungeon entrance. He actually found this spot at 18 in his past life completely empty. But now, totally different story. The air just reeks of dark corruption and heavy mana. It is completely untouched, so he confidently heads inside. Deep inside, he discovers a brightly lit stone chamber. A glowing red ruby sits right in the middle. Next to it lies a human skull and a note. The writer calls himself Cain, abandoning his real name entirely. The letter serves as a dark warning. Family legends called this an ancestral dungeon, and his younger brother Abel dared to enter it. Together, the brothers cleared brutal trials and slaughtered thousands of monsters. They finally reached this exact room, finding one final puzzle. A trap that locked them inside for 3 agonizing years. Vikir realizes they must have been absolutely desperate for the treasure, and the final riddle went like this. What entered was 1, but inside became 2. Only 1 may leave. Those creepy words were carved right there. Reading further, Cain explains how he and Abel obsessed over that sick riddle, finally coming to one horrible conclusion. Since they were identical twins, they were 1 in the womb but became 2 people after being born. Meaning to escape with the loot, they had to become 1 again. So after a brutal deathmatch, Cain literally murdered Abel. Cain stood alone, but nothing happened. He thought they became 1, but no doors opened. Pure crushing despair totally took over. He just slaughtered his own little brother for nothing. Consumed by regret, he eventually decided to leave. His final warning to anyone brave enough to reach this room: turn around and leave immediately. Now, let's think about this together. Vikir finishes the letter and notices a huge flaw. He entered alone, no twin. Cain and Abel got it completely wrong. Thinking hard, our main character spots the actual answer. Greed and paranoia made those brothers totally blind, but to him, the absolute truth is obvious. The answer to the riddle was the dungeon itself. Trust me, you and I are going to love this. The ruby's light splits him, but if darkness reunites him, the answer is simple: his shadow. That explains why the brothers slaughtered each other. This relic from the demon cave only responds to one specific thing: the pure Baskerville bloodline. Reading that triggers a massive memory. He saw this exact sword in an old myth back in his past life. It is Beelzebub, the gluttony fly. That old legend warned about insane demons that once completely invaded the continent. 7 walking disasters, known as the demonic constellations. To stop them, leaders from the 7 great clans had to fight back. The Baskerville leader fought Beelzebub itself. Once they finally crushed the giant fly, its nasty remains were sealed safely under Baskerville land. Today, nobody believes that crazy old story. But it is entirely real. In the future, this sword normally ends up in demon hands. Not in this life, though. Knowing that he tries yanking the sword free, but the stupid thing refuses to budge. Instead, it literally sinks right into his hand. Getting the item like this is a massive shock, but he immediately wonders what kind of wild power-up it gives. With the dungeon cleared, he is totally ready to leave. Suddenly, intense dizziness hits him hard. Watch closely, this is where it gets freaky. He realizes the thing in his hand is actually starving. It starts dragging him toward the first dead infernal dog. Then, the parasite starts slurping blood like it has been starving forever. He pauses and realizes the dead trees and dried land around him, all probably caused by Beelzebub's completely insane, endless hunger. Seriously, what will it take to satisfy this monster? He also remembers Beelzebub could literally steal an enemy's abilities. It could just endlessly drain powers for itself, leaving the victims completely ruined. Luckily, it seems 3 is the absolute maximum limit it can take from a single corpse. From the infernal dog, it steals hemorrhage, a nasty skill that makes even tiny scratches pour out massive amounts of blood. It also snatches incineration and regeneration. Though funny enough, that regeneration skill actually came from a dead rat trapped under the Cerberus. With his brand new demonic weapon primed for testing, he finally relaxes. With all the young hounds rounded up, the practical exam wraps up and results drop instantly. The monster corpses are fully processed into fancy stuff like necklaces, shields, and swords. Then they hand the gear back to the students, but one specific corpse grabs everyone's attention. The exact one Vikir dragged back after wandering into an unexplored zone and accidentally deleting a Cerberus. Hugo is completely speechless. A Cerberus is a demonic beast that even elite guardian knights struggle to survive against. Word on the street is the beast was already injured and poisoned. When questioned, he casually claims he is tired and strolls right back to the dorms. That epic dodge just makes Hugo admire his sharpness even more. To Hugo, knowledge equals power, and power absolutely dictates a person's worth. The butler is standing there completely stunned too. For a totally different reason though, he assumes the boy's insane talent came from the van side, not La or Lay. He assumes Hugo is amazed for the exact same reason. But Hugo says, nope, he is not like those other snobby patriarchs and does not care about bloodlines. To him, raw talent and pure willpower are the only things that matter. Being born to a high noble or a commoner means absolutely nothing. You and I should pause. The butler drops a massive hint, adding that weak trash can easily come from fine bloodlines too. Hearing that comment, he wonders if Hugo is secretly talking about the second son he trains. Following that intense chat, Hugo immediately summons Vikir. The second the boy walks in, Hugo demands to know exactly how he killed the Cerberus. Our protagonist answers deadpan. He fed it chocolate. Since it is a giant dog, chocolate acts just like a lethal poison. The butler watches in total silence, sweating at how unhinged this father and son dynamic is. They barely even say hello before diving straight into the hardcore business. Hugo then asks why the main character ignored the hunting questions. Vikir casually answers that Hugo is not his master. Hugo asks who actually is. Vikir says the patriarch himself. Absolutely thrilled, Hugo rewards him by handing over the entire demonic beast corpse. Plus, for completely dominating the practical test, he also grants him one single wish. That is exactly what our protagonist wanted to hear. His bold request, full access to the 10,000 books deep inside the main Baskerville castle, basically one of the biggest libraries in the entire empire. Hugo asks if he realizes that only the patriarch, the vice-patriarch, and main house members are ever allowed to set foot inside. Assuming he is about to get rejected, the boy starts backing off, but surprisingly, Hugo completely agrees. He even casually suggests reading the Baskerville fencing's 6th Fang. That immediately makes Vikir tense up. No illegitimate child has ever been allowed to read past the 4th Fang level, but he quickly calms his nerves. In the end, it is only the 6th Fang. Hugo himself has only reached the 7th, while in his past life our protagonist actually mastered the 9th. Even so, he can never forget the absolute disrespect he suffered for his birth. This time around, he will completely surpass Hugo. What he actually wants is the sword scripture holding the real, pure Baskerville core. That epic text was only discovered way later in his past life. So what do we take from this? The legendary man who killed the 7 calamities wrote it, and this time, Hugo Le Baskerville will hand it right over. Alright, stick with me. You and I are watching an absolute underdog. After thanking Hugo, Vikir heads straight into the clan's massive library. He hits the library and just freezes. Seeing it in person for the very first time, it's absolutely packed with every single sword manual he ever dreamed about. But classic Baskerville rules illegitimate kids get hard-capped at alluring prey no matter how much mana they actually pack. Why? To keep the hunting dogs from getting too strong and biting the shiny direct heirs who eventually become their absolute bosses. Finding the 6th prey manual, it feels totally surreal that Hugo actually gave him the green light. Hugo probably figures he can't memorize a single thing in just one day. In his past life, Vikir completely nerded out over the first 4 techniques. He studied so hard he basically reverse-engineered parts of the 5th. But this time around, he's aiming for something way out of their league. Heading deeper into the stacks, the guards look confused, assuming he's already bailing. They even ask if he drops something completely ready to go, fetch it for him. He just brushes them off, saying he's skimming some random texts, so they can totally ignore his existence and keep working. The guards assume that section is just useless, dusty paper, but Vikir didn't come all this way for nothing. Now, pay attention, they have no idea what kind of treasure you and I are about to see him dig up. Alluring prey, a basic first claw manual that even Baskerville toddlers skip. Ripped up looks like total trash, but our guy knows the absolute real truth. Right before his past life death, his hunting squad actually stumbled onto a weird relic out in the border dungeon. Turned out to be Baskerville scripture. Hugo smelled something fishy and ordered a massive hunt through all 10,000 library books. That hidden text. The literal cheat code to the 10th prey. Going completely obsessive, Hugo dispatched his dogs to fetch the 6 missing pages. Turns out the rest were stashed with the other 7 great clans, almost triggering an apocalyptic clan war. He literally unleashed the dogs on anyone dumb enough to block his path. After insane casualties, they brought Hugo every single missing page. Their epic reward, absolutely nothing. Classic bad boss. Remembering that garbage, Vikir is completely boiling. Thanks to them, Hugo leveled way past the 7th prey, hitting the 9th by burning his dogs as fuel. But not today. The guy who fetched those pages back then was our main character. Because of that crazy grind, he memorized everything perfectly. He only got stuck at the 4th prey because he never actually read the original text. Even then, in his past life, he hit an insanely high aura rank using just the 4th. Thinking about it, he promises to get his old powerhouse strength back way before he even hits 15. With that massive goal, he spends all day reading, burning the entire book into his brain until he can literally recite it backward. Soon enough, the guards clock out. Perfect timing. He gears up to unleash at least the 5th prey. He's still rocking a tiny kid body, so it's honestly pretty tough. Focusing hard, he flows smoothly through the 1st, 2nd, and 4th Baskerville strikes. You and I both know his past life was just absolute hell. Hitting that max aura rank took crazy endless grinding, and the main house still bullied him non-stop for not learning their fancy exclusive swordsmanship. The only thing blocking him from the 5th prey and beyond was that illegitimate label. But new timeline, new rules. He's totally done being their punching bag. Boom, he nails the 5th prey right there. It's a bit rough, but he actually fired it off. Pure warmth floods his tiny chest. He's basically holding back happy tears over this 5th prey. For the first time in Baskerville history, a hunting dog is speedrunning straight for his master's throat. All he needs now is some extra mana, and his core is already expanding like crazy. Vikir knows exactly how insane this is. Last time it took him until age 30 to hit this. Today, he's just an 8-year-old. A graduate swordsman totally outclasses a normal expert, especially when we talk about pure mana control. His mana is way denser, super easy to shape, and his sword game leveled up. But stopping at the 5th prey, absolutely no chance. Now the crazy path to the 10th prey is wide open to him, a legendary style with infinite room to grow. Before, his basic skinning fang technique only buffed his raw speed and strength. That old style had a hard ceiling. Alluring prey completely different. It's a full package offense-defense 0-level cap. Vikir calculates that if he locks in, he could even body a mid-level graduate. If he's doing an assassination, 100% success rate. A straight-up brawl, though, drops by half. The tricky part is figuring out how much power to show Hugo. Flexing too hard or too little both totally backfire. He totally wants the sweet loot from Hugo's high expectations, so he makes a move. He literally sets the 10th prey book on fire so nobody else gets the cheat sheet. But oops, the guards bust him instantly. He fakes a tearful apology, and the guards actually comfort him instead. Trust me, you and I are gonna love what this guy does next. He just shrugs it off. Claims they are totally normal books, nothing to lose sleep over. Stick with me here. He tells the guards to keep this our little secret, and the guys are practically crying tears of gratitude. He drops one final apology and dips out. Watching his back, those clueless guards are totally convinced he is just the sweetest kid ever. Cut to the patriarch's office. Hugo demands to know if all that reading paid off. Our MC casually says yes. Hugo leans in, suddenly super invested, demanding to know exactly what he felt. Warm, sharp, but totally moldable. That is how Vikir describes it. Hugo and the butler absolutely freeze. Is this kid talking about aura? See, in this universe, unlocking aura means you are officially a true swordmaster. Even absolute prodigies grinding 24/7 do not hit that level until age 15. Hugo mentally slaps himself, convinced this is a total fluke. Vikir is literally 8. Still, Hugo demands a live demonstration. Our boy simply nods, and off to the training grounds they go. The butler nervously asks about the test. Hugo's brilliant plan: toss him a demon beast. Oh, and he purposely starved the thing just to make it extra furious. Great parenting. Enter the challenger. A massive rank sea orc currently foaming at the mouth with absolute rage. Now watch closely. Everyone thinks this is pure madness. You normally need to be 15 to survive this. They only chill out knowing the elite knights are on standby. The stage is set. Hugo casually gives the signal to unleash the beast. Blinded by fury, the monster charges straight for him. But Vikir stone cold, not even a flinch. At the absolute last second slash. An arm drops, then a leg. Now, normally a monster's insane healing factor kicks in right about here, but thanks to his hellhound bleed effect, those wounds are staying wide open. The crowd is completely stunned. An 8-year-old doing this. But tough crowd Hugo is not buying it. He spots something. He wants proof of those library gains. So our MC just casually flashes an aura blade and deletes the orc from existence. Okay, now Hugo is totally losing it. That was legit low-level sword aura. Something a kid his age literally should not possess. The butler immediately starts sucking up, praising this insane prodigy. He swears the entire empire has never seen a monster genius like Vikir, but Papa Hugo stays in complete denial. The orc was just defective. It bled out way too fast. Then Vikir just strolls right up and casually asks for a tougher boss monster. I know what you are thinking. The terrified students are also completely speechless. Vikir's master plan flex, just enough power to get acknowledged, so he can finally escape Hugo's grip. Maybe get shipped off to the wild jungle or some fancy academy. Hearing this absolute flex, Hugo smirks. Guess a basic orc could not satisfy his kid's hunger. He immediately orders the guards to drag out their captive barbarian test subject. Vikir asks to start and gets the green light. He dashes in. The hulking beast looks clumsy, but boom, it fires off a blindingly fast opening punch. Vikir smoothly dodges. He literally has an opening but purposely holds his blade back. Hugo nods, thinking it is a tactical genius move, because troll regeneration is totally broken. If you can't one-shot this massive tank, you're just throwing your stamina in the trash, so big brain tactics are required. The peanut gallery watches sweating, wondering what his master plan is. Is he just gonna spam dodge until it gets tired? Honestly, Vikir could vaporize this thing instantly with true strength, but that blows his cover. He has to score the victory while looking perfectly normal. The galaxy brain play. Use the monster's own momentum against it. Catch it mid-charge and boom, he executes it flawlessly. A solid slash, but the flesh literally knits right back together. The crowd panics. A literal child versus a troll, game over. Vikir is well aware of the math here. Relying only on his first tooth, totally impossible. Hugo sees the struggle and yells to pull the plug, but our boy interrupts. He boldly declares one more strike. If the beast lives, he surrenders. He launches forward quickly, calculating how much sauce to put into this attack. But honestly, the math is done. Time to fake a mid-battle power awakening. He can't wait to see his cold-blooded dad's jaw hit the floor. Slash. A perfect fatal blow sends the troll's ugly head flying. Total dead silence. A completely broken anomaly was just born. Fast forward a week. Vikir is complaining about the trash cafeteria food. But honestly, his entire world has completely flipped. People are terrified to even breathe near him. Oh, and the best loot from that troll fight, a busted super regeneration skill. Mid-monologue, those annoying triplets pop up out of nowhere. Vikir glares, asking if they seriously want another beatdown today. Nope. They are just massive fanboys now, totally hyped over his crazy boss fights. Before Vikir can even process this weirdness, the butler interrupts Hugo, demands his presence right now. Cut to a fancy carriage rolling straight into Baskerville Castle. Who's the VIP guest? Morgue clan leader Adolf. Trust me, you'll want to see what's next. Alright, you and I are diving right into the chaos. The clans are discussing their joint event and Hugo is roasting the Morgue Scarlet kids over tiny scratches. Adolf snaps back that the Morgue Scarlet clan is purely noble and refined. That's the toxic vibe between the Empire's elite magic clan Morgue Scarlet and the Iron Sword clan Baskerville. But honestly, it wasn't always this bitter. 2 generations ago, the Emperor basically ordered sword and magic to work together. They even started joint training for kids aged 8 to 15. But then ruby mines were discovered on their borders. Money got involved and the family heads turned into absolute. Despite the heavy beef, the Emperor forced the joint training to continue. Adolf casually mentions hearing rumors about a new genius in the Baskerville clan. Hugo smirks, thanking him. That actually shocks Adolf. Hugo literally never praises his kids. But Adolf smirks, saying his clan is just as blessed, and calls Camus inside. The massive doors swing open, revealing Camus, the talented daughter of Adolf's eldest sister. He tells her to say hello. Instead, she points and asks if he's the thief who stole their ruby mine. Dead silence. Hugo furiously repeats the word thief. Adolf panics, but Camus casually adds that Uncle Adolf just called Hugo a pathetic bearded man hours ago. Furious, Hugo snaps at Adolf to teach his brat some basic manners, but Camus doesn't even flinch. She boldly demands the mine back, claiming she desperately needs those rubies for her magic research. Hugo completely loses it, roaring at her to shut up. Adolf instantly jumps in, mocking the Empire's great sword saint for throwing a massive tantrum over an 8-year-old girl. Suddenly, a cold voice cuts the tension. It seems the Morgue Scarlet clan never taught its kids to keep their hands off other people's property. Stick with me here. Vikir steps through the door as the butler announces the young master. Adolf glares at the boy from afar, suddenly realizing his niece is no longer beside him. He's already right up in Vikir's face, angrily demanding what he just said. Our MC recognizes her instantly. It's the Steel-Blood Empress of Morgue Scarlet. She's the only archmage from that arrogant family ever crowned a literal genius among geniuses. In his past life, she made brutal history by impaling enemies and literally using them as a border wall. Right now, she's loudly demanding the ruby mine. Vikir casually replies that she must have worked super hard traveling all this way just to throw a baby tantrum. Both clan heads are actually impressed. Camus bristles furiously, asking if he just called it a tantrum. Vikir stares her down. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Glowing magic gathers in her tiny hands. She vows to prove why the mine belongs to Morgue Scarlet. Vikir doesn't even blink. Suddenly, a detailed miniature city forms in midair. The room gasps. Camus smugly declares that even an idiot like him should understand this visual. Vikir totally expected an attack, but she just built a glowing 3D map of the border city. She explains the border mine holds premium rubies. The problem, the entrance is on Morgue Scarlet land, but the underground tunnels stretch right into Baskerville territory. In her arrogant logic, since they control the front door, the entire cave is theirs. She complains that Baskerville keeps screaming about trespassers and stubbornly refuses to even lease the land out. Adolf proudly praises his niece's genius, but Vikir calmly states that ruby ore is just a magic material. Baskerville swordsmen don't even need the stuff. He savagely adds that she's only throwing a fit because nobody here is stupid enough to rent out their land for mere pocket change. She snaps, realizing he just admitted the rubies are worthless to them. Vikir casually nods. Yup, they only care about defending their territory so she can leave. To him, the only actual trespassers here are the Morgue Scarlet mages. That triggers another angry rant. She points around yelling that this side is theirs and that side is hers. She crosses the imaginary wall and smirks. Whose arm is this now? Kier asks if she really wants that answer after trespassing on Baskerville land. He tightly grabs her wrist, grinning. Well, it's mine now. She freezes, blushing wildly, and struggles, asking why she belongs to him now. She calls him an idiot, but Vikir coldly interrupts. Who said you did? You saw that coming, right? He draws a hunting knife, calmly telling the horrified adults he only meant her arm was his. Camus instantly freezes. Even Hugo is shocked by how far the MC is taking this threat. He isn't bluffing at all. Realizing he's serious, Camus screams for her uncle. Adolf furiously orders Vikir to step back from his precious niece. Vikir immediately drops the act. Camus sprints into Adolf's arms, crying her eyes out while the furious uncle demands an explanation from Hugo. Adolf glares at our protagonist, yelling that he crossed the line. But Vikir just laughs it off and says, "My bad." Spinning the deadly dagger, Vikir shrugs. This kind of rough play is totally normal with his brothers. Still fuming, Adolf asks why a kid even has a dangerous toy like that. The MC apologizes, claiming it's just a classic childhood game for the Baskervilles. So what do we take from this? Hugo proudly cuts in, mocking Adolf for being way too overprotective over simple kids' games. He drops a wild idea to solve the ruby mine problem, totally sure House Morgue is going to love it. Moo is completely in tears, swearing she will never forgive Vikir. But he just casually laughs it off. Alright, stick with me. We are about to watch the friendly rivalry between Baskerville and House Morgue kick off. 8 to 15-year-old kids stepping up to flex their absolute best skills. But this year, all eyes are glued to Camus Morgue, the absolute prodigy of the famous magic family, and her opponent, Baskerville's iron-blooded sword fanatic, Vikir Van Baskerville. House Morgue actually set up this clash between their top rising stars. Camus glares, telling him to brace himself because she absolutely never holds back in a real fight. Boom, she starts casting instantly. The whole crowd completely loses their minds because she is using quadruple channeling at her age. The Morgue leader flashes Hugo this incredibly smug smirk, but Hugo stone cold. 1 second later, 4 deadly spells shoot straight at Vikir's face. He effortlessly dodges every single blast. She quickly throws up a massive earth wall to block him, but our guy just kicks right through it. Camus freezes, completely shocked, wondering if this is the legendary Baskerville River Styx power. She tightly shuts her eyes, bracing for a massive hit. Nothing. She peeks up, and Vikir literally flicks her forehead. Crack. It sounds like an actual gunshot. Even the Morgue leader's jaw drops at the sheer strength of this kid. Totally humiliated, Camus angrily demands if he is going easy on her. He just casually asks if her head still hurts, then tells her to quit before it gets way worse. Watch closely, because here is where he decides to flex. She angrily summons 2 thick earth walls. He could go around, but nope, he wants to play. He shatters both barriers with just one single punch. His fist stops inches from her face, as he mockingly asks whose hand broke through. Winding up for another brutal flick, he casually points out the stronger one won. That lump on her forehead is huge now. Actual tears are welling up as she wildly blasts fire magic everywhere, totally furious and in obvious pain. Vikir absolutely knows he can end this in a second, but he is desperately looking for a way out without actually doing serious damage. Suddenly, he spots the older kids behind him, and an idea hits. A wizard and a swordsman are having their own intense contest to see if a blade can chop through magic. Seeing Vikir totally ignoring her in the middle of a fight just makes Camus even madder. Right then, that older wizard starts charging up a massive spell, daring the sword guy to try and cut this one down. For our main character, absolute perfection. He points behind her, shouting to throw up a barrier right now, but honestly, it might be way too late. The morgue leader completely panics. The explosion is absolutely massive, and for a terrifying second, the entire arena disappears in thick smoke. He frantically screams Camus's name. She survived blocking the worst of it with a shield, but her outfit is completely torched. Her absolute worst nightmare. The smoke clearing and exposing her practically naked to the entire crowd. But suddenly, someone throws a shirt right over her shoulders. It is Vikir bluntly telling her to cover up. Still crying, she actually asks what he will do without a shirt. He casually says it really doesn't matter. You and I both know she is completely flustered by his sudden kindness. But then he spots his arm bleeding from an aura shard. As the dust settles, the crowd finally sees them both. The morgue leader finally exhales a huge breath of relief. The confused crowd has zero clue who actually won, especially since our guy is bleeding. But pretty soon, everyone is whispering about how absolutely insane his physical stats are for a kid. Both of them are simply unbelievable prodigies for 8-year-olds. Later on, walking through Baskerville, Castle Hugo asks how the match with the morgue girl went. Vikir casually says it was fun, and he completely understands the politics behind it. Hugo immediately grills him on why he didn't attack first. Vikir actually admits he hesitated just because he had never fought a girl before. Hugo firmly warns him that hesitating in a real battle gets you killed, hoping that Bleeding Arm taught him a solid lesson. Vikir is genuinely shocked to hear Hugo sound worried. In his past life, this guy was pure ice and brutality, reportedly ruined forever after losing his first wife and oldest son in a terrible tragedy. Changing the subject as they walk, Hugo asks how he would handle that massive ruby mine problem. Our guy drops a bomb, just let House Morgue take it all. Hugo raises an eyebrow, and Vikir explains Baskerville's real job is expanding their borders outward, so honestly, it is way smarter to let House Morgue develop it and eat the losses. Hugo is absolutely thrilled, saying that is exactly right. Once Morgue claims that ruby mine, they have to station tons of troops there. Then Baskerville can just casually stir up the local demonic beasts and barbarians, basically solving everything with zero effort. Flashing this super dark smile, Hugo admits those shiny rubies will make way better bait than actual morgue blood. Soon they will deeply regret stepping foot on that land. He practically beams praising Vikir because the kid's strategy matches 90% of his own genius plan. Vikir only knew the answer because Hugo did the exact same thing in the previous timeline. When Vikir suggests spying on Morgue, Hugo smirks, saying that is already totally handled. But right around the corner, someone blocks their path. It is the Morgue clan leader himself asking for a quick word before they leave, and that is where we leave it. Camus stands behind him, totally blushing. Hugo asks his business, and the leader says there is one major thing to discuss. Leasing the territory, that is just the warm-up. Let's dive in. Hugo asks what is in it for Baskerville, and Adolf drops a bombshell, an engagement. The old guy wants to lock their clans together. His pitch, marry Baskerville's eldest son to his niece, the prized daughter of House Morgue. He hypes her up big time, looks brains top-tier talent. According to him, she is the ultimate catch for the Baskerville heir. Hugo isn't buying it. His eldest is almost 25. The age gap is massive. The old man brushes it off, but then Camus herself interrupts. She straight up refuses to marry anyone weaker than her mom. The old man laughs, joking that with those standards, she is gonna die single. But Camus isn't done. The age gap actually matters to her. She wants someone her age or even younger. Hugo's patience snaps. He basically tells her this isn't a buffet. Camus fires right back. She knows that, but she is not settling for scraps. Then, blushing like crazy, she peeks over to the side, completely catching both clan leaders off guard. She's staring right at Vikir Van Baskerville. Adolf starts sweating bullets. He furiously whispers that our main character is a bastard son, not a pureblood. He even calls a mixed-blood dragon just a mutt. Huge mistake. Hugo looks absolutely furious. Wait, is the cold-hearted dad actually caring about Vikir? Hugo demands that the boy get a say, asking his son for his thoughts. Camus just waits there, totally flustered and staring at the floor. Now watch closely. Vikir studies the room, and then he drops a response that leaves everyone completely speechless. He flat out says he will only do it if his family orders him to. Adolf is seeing red. How dare this kid disrespect the main family daughter of House Morgue? Camus starts overthinking, does he actually hate her, or is he playing hard to get? She stays totally quiet, but Hugo steps up, declaring bloodline means nothing in Baskerville. He points out that main families can breed weaklings while side branches can birth absolute monsters. Hearing that, Adolf realizes Vikir might be a much bigger deal than he thought. He marches up and sizes our boy up from head to toe, but Vikir already knows exactly who Adolf Morgue is. A 6th Circle Master. Literally one of the most terrifying powerhouses in the elite house morgue. Adolf scoffs, saying raw talent isn't enough for Camus. Gripping Vikir's shoulder, he makes it clear this whole marriage pitch was the clan's idea, not his own. In his eyes, not even Baskerville's pureblood sons are worthy of her. Adolf tries crushing the kid with heavy pressure, but Vikir doesn't even flinch. Zero reaction at all. When the mage demands a response, our MC calmly replies he stopped listening the second Adolf said the clan sent him. Camus is absolutely mind-blown by this kid's guts, while Hugo just bursts out laughing. Adolf starts laughing too, then demands to take this to the training ground. Hugo immediately starts roasting him. Is the Empire's legendary mage really beefing with an 8-year-old? Adolf defends himself. This is just an uncle genuinely testing a kid. Camus clearly hates this idea, but her uncle is already super annoyed and tells her to pipe down. I know what you're thinking. An archmage fighting an 8-year-old? Well, Hugo finally gives in and things get absolutely ridiculous as they head outside. Hugo and Camus grab front row seats. Adolf says he wants to see Vikir's true limits, telling the kid to bring absolute hell right now. Vikir agrees. Though honestly, if he went all out, Adolf might just have a heart attack. Adolf casts a spell, claiming he will keep things fair. He starts weaving pure magic together, and Camus looks completely stunned. Her crazy uncle is flawlessly mixing fire, earth, and water elements to literally craft a water-filled jar. Adolf balances it on his head. The rules: spill a single drop and Vikir wins. But our boy knows Adolf is a total monster. In his past life, he couldn't even scratch this guy. But now it is the ultimate test for his new stats. Hugo definitely allowed it to gauge him too. When the mage says to come at him, Vikir decides to hold back just enough to keep his dad happy. From the sidelines, Camus screams that a head-on charge is suicide. Then Vikir stops. Honestly, he is kinda impressed. Adolf threw up a massive barrier. Shield magic, the absolute worst counter for a swordsman who hasn't unlocked his aura yet. Smashing through that is gonna be a headache right now. And just like that, Adolf launches his next spell. Flaming spears blitz in from all sides. Camus freaks out, yelling that he never went this hard against her. Adolf playfully asks whose side she is even on. Hugo watches closely, noticing the spells are slow enough to dodge, so he stays put. Vikir easily reads the attacks. Sure, his body is 8 years old, but he is carrying the combat experience of a veteran killer. That alone is enough to make Adolf get sloppy. Heck, it might even be enough to take him out. So what do you and I think? Vikir swings with everything he's got. Adolf claims that shield is unbreakable, but we'll see about that. Stick with me here. Vikir ignores him, hammering the exact same spot until cracks actually appear. Adolf calls the kid a machine for hitting that one perfect spot. He admits the swordsmanship is totally epic, but points out one glaring little problem: the sword just cannot handle a high-tier barrier. So Adolf keeps running his mouth, mocking Vikir for completely forgetting about his weapon's durability limit. Meanwhile, Hugo and Camus are just completely speechless. Adolf lectures that Vikir needs way more work to be Camus's fiancé. But then he feels a sudden drip right on his forehead. A tiny shard from the shattered sword actually pierced the jar. Water pours out, and our guy casually says that should be more than enough. He even asks if Adolf wants him to spill more. And Camus. She is absolutely head over heels. She is practically planning the wedding already. Hugo just bursts out laughing, knowing that crazy result was no accident. Vikir Van Baskerville, the lesser branch son, is quickly becoming a hunting dog, way sharper and deadlier than Hugo ever imagined. Now watch how fast things escalate. 7 years fly by, and these kids are fighting a raging monster. Charge in to fight this thing head on. But taking it down, totally brutal, and several kids get absolutely sent flying. The instructor barks at them to make a quick choice, even if that means falling back to survive. Chasing a greedy critical hit is a death sentence. Suddenly, the triplets launch a synced attack, hitting way harder than before. They actually land some serious damage. The beast shakes it off, but the kids flawlessly keep up their teamwork. The outcome is pretty obvious from there. They win, earning a rare round of applause. He announces everyone hit the low-tier expert swordsman rank, finally mastering the very first grip of Baskerville fencing. 7 long years of brutal training officially done. But he drops a reality check that Oxbear was nowhere near top tier. Even he could not solo an ancient one. He makes it clear that today's fight was just a tiny appetizer. Death is always creeping around the corner, so they need to rely on that crazy family talent to survive. With that epic speech, he congratulates the new grads. The kids throw up a deep, respectful salute. Later, the squad debates which knight order to join. The family has 7 divisions covering everything from basic guarding to straight-up assassination. Then they spot a certain someone walking off alone. Yep, it is Vikir Van Baskerville, the absolute prodigy. Dude soloed an oxbear way bigger than the one they fought. He is also a high-tier expert swordsman, easily reaching the third grip. I know what you are thinking, he is overpowered, right? Well, internally he is actually annoyed because his hidden level is already an intermediate graduate swordsman at the 5th grip, and it seriously took him 7 whole years. Completely smashes his past life stats, but he still thinks it is dragging. Suddenly, a voice calls out. Barrymore, the butler, says, the big boss wants a chat. Smiling, he hints that Vikir's future role is finally locked in. The big moment arrives. He greets Hugo casually but instantly spots something really out of place. He points out a brand new scar on Hugo's nose. Hugo admits he got tagged fighting barbarians over at Mount Rouge. Some crazy skilled archerwoman landed the shot. Vikir immediately asks if she was caught. Nope, but he made sure to leave a matching scar right on her face. Moving on, Hugo finally congratulates him on graduating. Our guy says thanks, but his mind instantly flashes back. In his first life, this was when the Pitbulls drafted him and shipped him off to Mount Rouge for 21 months of total nightmare combat. Back then, he was just disposable frontline meat. At age 15, Baskerville kids are harshly sorted into true elites or total cannon fodder. The fodder die bleeding while the elites safely study high society politics. The only thing separating them, hitting that legendary 5th grip of Baskerville fencing. That is why in his past life, staying at the 4th grip meant a bastard son like him had 0 chance at the elite track. But Hugo actually throws a curveball. He assigns him to manage law and order across the entire Baskerville territory. Our guy is absolutely shook. Hugo is actually putting a bastard son into the high-tier elites. Hugo admits Vikir's crazy stats put him a full decade ahead of regular geniuses. So he gets the VIP treatment. His brand new title, Vice Consul, of a city named Underdog. He formally accepts the job but then calls in that favor from the bet with Adolphe Morgue Scarlet asking for his promised reward right on the spot. He just wants to borrow something totally shocking the butler. He tells Hugo to say no if it is annoying, but Hugo casually stamps it. And that is where we leave it. Trust me, you are going to want to see what he borrowed next. Vikir promises 0 trouble. But stick with me here. You and I know he is definitely not used to Hugo acting like a real dad. Walking back, the butler grabs his attention again. He basically tells our guy that the clan head thinks the absolute world of him. Seriously, Hugo did not just toss him into a bloody war zone. Instead, he handed him the cushy boss title over an Underdog. With that top seat sitting completely empty, it is painfully obvious Hugo favors the kid. Vikir fires right back. He only earns it if he nails the job. Honestly, this fancy title means absolutely 0 to him. It never erases his brutal past. He still perfectly remembers the cold steel of the guillotine. Deep down, he swears Hugo Baskerville is getting that exact same ending. Cut straight to the main Baskerville territory. Over in Underdog, a senior staffer is panicking. The new boss arrives tomorrow, so everything must be spotless. Plus, the kid is from the main castle, meaning 0 mistakes allowed. One nervous worker starts sweating over what kind of tyrant this guy might be. Another guy just laughs it off. Come on, it is literally a 15-year-old kid. They are busy chuckling when someone suddenly strolls past. The guy immediately grabs the kid, snapping that he cannot just casually roam around here. Kier shoots a deadly glare and orders him to let go. He flashes a document, and both guys instantly freeze. Now watch this. We are about to see them finally realize this kid is their boss, and his first order, bring the booze instantly. He demands a massive welcome party right now, leaving them completely speechless. Hours later, the banquet is set, and the hall is packed with guests laughing. The guy running Underdog is Chihuahua Baskerville, and he is absolutely disgusted by this. He cannot fathom how the new leader is throwing a massive rager on day 1. For Chihuahua, this screams pure incompetence. The city is already a total mess after their last corrupt boss took massive bribes. Furious, he mutters that if the kid wants to ruin everything, fine. Suddenly, our boy magically appears right behind him, asking if he is the manager. Completely spooked, Chihuahua frantically blurts out his name. Vikir immediately clocks that Chihuahua lacks a middle name. That means 0 Baskerville blood. He is not real family, just a hired guy pushing papers. Shockingly, Vikir actually loves that detail. He points out that since Chihuahua is a born and raised local, he must know this city better than anyone. So our MC promises to stay completely out of his way, letting him handle the daily grind. Initially, Chihuahua's brain totally short-circuits trying to process this logic. Is this kid openly mocking him? But that logic fails while Vikir throws a wild party. Suddenly, our boy casually mentions the federal laws look okay, but the local justice system has massive loopholes. Chihuahua is totally stunned. How did this kid read and memorize the entire legal code so quickly? Vikir nails the real issue. The black market is absolutely booming and dirty money basically rules over the actual law. Busting a couple of low-level street thugs fixes nothing. They have to slice the head clean off the snake. You and I know how this works, right? His job is enforcing new rules while somehow not breaking the old ones already in place. But he is adding one more. In exactly 1 week, he will completely crush those criminal businesses. To pull this off, he needs a totally bulletproof excuse the public will buy, even if his targets are obvious crooks. Let us be real, he is super young, zero experience, and technically arrived a day early. To make the people follow him blindly, he desperately needs a trap. In his own totally savage words, he is building a giant trash pile just to catch flies. Hearing this pure villain logic, Chihuahua starts sweating bullets. Cut to the next morning, a massive, extremely annoyed crowd gathers on the main street. Vikir stands front and center, ready to drop bombs. He apparently stood there all night long, which just made the mob way bigger. Finally breaking the silence, he loudly introduces himself as the brand new vice consul. Some call him cute, some think he is way too young, and others just see a rich brat. He speaks up, asking if everyone read the new notice. He confirms the current rules are still completely active. Nothing changes. Despite getting a new boss, the old laws stay, causing the crowd to start loudly protesting. Chihuahua furiously jumps forward, screaming at the angry mob to watch their absolute mouths. This kid is straight out of the legendary Baskerville main castle. The shouting instantly dies down. Vikir sizes up the nervous crowd, then casually lifts a heavy iron rod. Suddenly, the tension is sky high. Bam! With one brutal swing, he violently drives it deep into the solid earth. The raw power on display leaves every single person totally paralyzed. Smirking, Vikir loudly declares that using his total authority, he is dropping a very special brand new law. Article 1. Whoever pulls this rod out instantly gets 100 million gold. Both the officials and the entire town are left completely speechless. Nobody can process this absolute madness. 100 million, just for yanking out a metal stick. That is the law. The crowd is totally stunned. 4 years of pay. So are you and I ready to see who actually tries pulling it? Alright, you and I are diving into pure madness. Vikir asks if nobody wants the reward. Zero response. So he raises it. 1 billion coins to whoever pulls it. The crowd actually just laughs. One guy yells at him to stop messing around. 1 billion is no joke. Chihuahua looks like he might actually pass out. Seeing nobody step up, Vikir pulls a move that completely stuns the crowd. He bumps the prize up again. 10 billion coins to whoever pulls that rod. That is literally 400 years of normal salary. But when the crowd still stays dead silent, Vikir starts getting super annoyed. To these people, it just feels fake. Whispers blow up as everyone guesses what happens if someone actually tries it. Staring at our main character's massive sword, they figure any greedy person gets instantly killed. He gets ready to ask one more time. Suddenly a hand goes up. A tiny shy-looking girl asks to try. A guy recognizes little Judy, the flower girl, and warns her she will get hurt. But Judy refuses, saying her mom is sick and she desperately needs help. She even begs the man to watch over her mom if she dies. He is totally, completely speechless. He steps up to the scary vice consul, fully terrified he might strike. But Vikir just points at the wooden rod and says, "Pull." Judy crouches and grabs it. With barely a tug, it slides right out. Even she cannot believe how incredibly easy it was. Watch closely now. The crowd freezes. Judy panics as the protagonist glares and reaches inside his coat. She thinks it is totally game over. Instead, the jingle of coins. He hands her 100 million, calling it just the first payment. She grabs the cash, completely bewildered. After asking her address, the main character explains, 10 billion is way too heavy. So he will deliver it to her house with personal guards. Patting her head, he announces, this is how the law works now, and it will be strictly enforced. Chihuahua is so shocked, his jaw literally drops. The entire town is glued to the spot. Today's wild stunt makes his special law spread way faster than the Baskerville family's own rules. Everyone finally gets the simple message. You break the law, you get punished. Follow the rules and you get rewarded. After Vikir dropped this special law, the city's crime rate basically dropped in half. Chihuahua is bawling his eyes out, swearing lifelong loyalty. But for our main character, he just stole a smart trick Gambino used in his past life. But here is the real headache. How on earth do they fix that massive 10 billion hole in the city budget? Lucky for them, Vikir already tracked the illegal gangs. His plan: confiscate every single penny of their dirty cash. Chihuahua asks how he possibly knows all that. Vikir just casually blames his gut feeling, but we know it is past life knowledge. While Chihuahua is still amazed, someone runs in reporting that a special committee requested a sudden meeting. Know what you are thinking. Just as expected, those lazy city nobles who do nothing but sleep suddenly demand to see him. Chihuahua panics and lists off the committee families, adding it is only supposed to be a harmless social club, yet it is totally obvious they hate Vikir's new law. The main character just smirks. The flies finally caught the smell of the sewer. In that case, he declares it is officially time to exterminate the pests bleeding this city dry. Cut to an ultra-luxury club hotel in Underdog City. Deep inside, a VIP room costing 10 million gold for just a few hours, and a massive wild party is booming right now. The guests are the exact 7 committee members who just summoned Vikir, all spoiled kids from native clans living in Baskerville territory. Right now they are stacking 100 million gold liquor bottles into a massive tower. One rich brat even jokes the servants can lick up whatever liquor spills on the table. And the servants actually thank him. The nobles brag their wealth is literally infinite, all thanks to the Baskerville family. They are even running a slave trade using barbarians captured during the Baskerville family expansions. Laughing out loud, they boast about living way better than capital city folks, while still hiding behind the main family's protection. One blonde guy actually calls the Baskervilles their personal hunting dogs. They wiped out the entire Messinadnaro clan using just a few lies. They ruined one of the 8 clans, leaving only 7. Soon, they start trashing the new vice-consul. Since he is super young and threw a party immediately, they figure he will be a total pushover to control. Their master plan: throw a completely unhinged party, order the absolute most expensive drinks, stick Vikir with a massive bill, and force him into their debt. Right then, a servant announces the party girls have finally arrived. Things get instantly weird. An uninvited man walks in. The butler grabs the guy by the hair and snap, his arms are brutally twisted backwards in a second. Furious, one of the nobles demands to know who just barged in. The answer: Vikir Van Baskerville. Absolutely terrified that the vice-consul actually crashed their party, they ask why he is there. He calmly says they invited him. They nervously laugh, plotting to make him pay the tab. Trust me, you and I are not ready for his next move. He was already furious. He slams one hand down, sending a huge shockwave through the table and totally destroying a massive bottle tower worth millions in gold. Stick with me, this blonde noble just realized something absolutely terrifying. This 15-year-old kid standing right in front of him, he was already pushing graduator-level resonance power. He briefly wondered if his crew could actually win, but instantly realized they had zero chance. Vikir takes one step forward and the guy completely freezes. He immediately caves without a fight, shouting that they would totally pay the bill. Our main character just smirks. Of course they will. Did they seriously think they could party hard and dump the whole tab on him? Knowing they crossed a massive line, the nobles desperately scrambled for an excuse. They claimed it was just a test for the new vice-consul. Vikir smashes his fist right into the guy and says dogs do not test their masters. These guys acted tough behind their money and status. But that was only because they had never faced absolute pure terror before. He casually asks if they understand why their buddy is currently eating dirt under his boot. Because if not, they are next in line. The blonde guy forces this pathetic, shaky smile and agrees. Vikir replies that if they knew better and still acted up, they deserved a way worse beatdown. They start screaming that he cannot get away with this, but he is already listing off their crimes. Watch closely here: kidnapping, slavery, and insulting the Baskerville clan. They ruined this city, and now he is beating every single one of them. Mid-punch, he drops a cold line. An animal cannot be tamed without a lesson. Time to punish these fearless little mutts properly. Later down in the prison halls, old Chihuahua basically cannot believe his own eyes. The blonde noble is still screaming for his daddy, shouting that Vikir is totally doomed. Watching this guy cry, Chihuahua asks the main character why he went so incredibly hard. Like maybe show just a tiny bit of restraint, but he just says not to worry. He hasn't even started. These leaders were supposed to clean up the region. Instead, they became corrupt trash trying to steal a slice of the Baskerville family power. Their threats of revenge just prove they learned absolutely nothing. So, by sunset, Vikir plans to execute every single one of them. Chihuahua panics and asks if he is actually serious. Vikir says he is not just stopping with them, he will end anyone connected to them too. Hearing this, the prisoners immediately start crying and offering cash. Chihuahua warns that the native clans will go crazy. Killing them means losing massive support, ruining negotiations, and sparking an all-out bloodbath. But the clans cannot complain if these nobles are tied to the criminal underworld. No proof, simple. They are just going to manufacture some. I know what you are thinking. Fake charges, watch this setup. Kidnapping and trafficking hit the list first. Then bribery threats, extortion, and straight-up murdering government officials. The blonde guy desperately screams he is innocent. He says he will take the fall if there is actual proof. Vikir coldly replies that he sounds exactly like a guilty man who already scrubbed the evidence. Suddenly, a voice calls out from behind him. The exact guy he was waiting for. Carrying a really weird bag, he grins, saying he brought every single item requested. Vikir nods. That bag is packed with insane tools. The guy claims he has tortured people for 30 years and never seen gear like this. Vikir casually mentions they are pretty common where he comes from. The torturer laughs, joking that the vice-consul must literally be from hell. Vikir just flashes a dark smile, asking if he wants to learn some brand new methods. The man instantly backs down, saying he might actually throw up watching that. Vikir answers totally deadpan. He is a surgeon. In his past life, interrogating demons taught him plenty. Slowly taking off his coat, he asks where all their tough guy energy went. You know, that same confidence, saying they would never confess. Smiling, he tells them to stay quiet. He wants to extract those memories very slowly. The news blows up fast. All 7 filthy rich criminals got busted. Everyone is talking, assuming the new vice consul will not let them walk. But others figure their powerful clan daddies will save their skin. The law demanded the death penalty, but seriously, almost nobody believed he would actually pull the trigger on it. Public opinion was totally torn in half. It was a massive power struggle. Most folks figured if the native clans just apologized a little, this whole thing would blow over fast. And right on cue, every clan sends a tiny apology gift over to his office. Everyone assumed the trash would get released after a little slap on the wrist. But what actually happens, it is completely brutal. So, what do you and I learn today? Never test him. 7 agonized heads packed in salt displayed right in the town square. Stick with me. You and I are watching a wild manhwa where executed criminals hang with their crimes displayed, terrifying everyone. But Vikir, he just shrugged. The rules had literally always been there, so why panic? The real game changer, this time corrupt, native nobles were actually getting punished, sparking a massive shift. Nobles saw this as a direct declaration of war. They were definitely going to retaliate, and this clash wouldn't end until one side was completely wiped off the map. A total bloodbath was coming. Vikir just glanced at his right-hand man Chihuahua and told him to gear up. Chihuahua tagged along for the next crazy operation, totally confused as to why they were suddenly standing somewhere else, rocking weird masks. Looking back, he nervously asked if this was seriously the plan. Our main character simply asked if he doubted him. It wasn't doubt, the plan was just completely insane. All around them, shady guys were dragging huge cages and hauling slaves into a tent. Get this, Vikir's master plan was to sell himself to the nobles as a slave. Soon enough, a masked guy announced the twisted circus was starting. The guard verified Chihuahua's fake papers since he was posing as a member of the Melbank family. Papers cleared, the guard asked if the Melbank rep was here to sell. One look at the fresh merchandise, and he was absolutely blown away. They brought a rare, black-haired, white-eyed slave guaranteed to fetch an insanely high price at the auction. Inside the circus tent, the auction kicked off, with the crowd buzzing over rare slaves and luxury goods. The presenter opened with a wild catch, an A-rank demonic beast boasting 19 hearts named Murcielago. Claiming every single body part was useful, he kicked off the bidding at a massive 100 million. Bids exploded past 200 million in seconds, finally closing at a ridiculous 250 million. One slave sold for 200 million, then another for 100 million, right until a vassal whispered the next item to the presenter. The guy looked totally stunned, warning the crowd not to blame him if it flopped before hyping up a special slave brought straight from the jungle. She was a fierce barbarian warrior from the battle tribe up in Rouge Mountain, a true Balak. He hyped her up as a wild toy just begging to be broken. When the crowd didn't care, he desperately opened at 5 million. Crickets. 0 bids. So he slashed it to 3 million, then practically begged at 1 million, promising they'd absorb the risk. Still no takers, so the masked guy ordered her dragged off. The girl tried fighting back, but a massive brute knocked her out cold instantly. Sweating and apologizing for the mess, the presenter promised to make it up to everyone with the absolute best item of the day. Now watch this closely, because everything changes here. The moment Vikir Van Baskerville stepped onto the stage, the nobles went wild, completely clueless to his true identity. The presenter bragged heavily. Rare black hair, piercing red eyes, and supposedly so obedient that basic handcuffs were more than enough. Before the guy could even say a starting price, some noble lady screamed, 600 million. Boom, another bidder countered with 800 million, sparking a hilarious screaming match over why a guy even wanted a male slave until a third person flexed 900 million. Suddenly a casual 6 billion dropped for the boy. That insane number left even the shady presenter completely speechless. The shocked crowd quickly realized the massive whale was none other than Baron Gambino from the Granary territory. Word on the street, he recently swallowed a mountain of illegal funds and became ridiculously powerful. When his vassal nervously asked if the price was too crazy, the arrogant baron claimed he'd easily flip the boy for triple the profit in the capital. She reminded him the slave was worth a fortune, but only if they kept his body completely untouched. Annoyed, the baron barked at her to shut up. Cindy Wendy had to stay quiet. After all, the greedy baron had taken her in when she had literally nowhere else to go. The presenter yelled, going once, going twice, sold. Thinking he scored the ultimate bargain, the smug baron strolled right up to claim Vikir. He gets right in the boy's face, claiming ownership and promising they'd have plenty of fun soon. Vikir just silently raises his arms, making the baron assume he wants the handcuffs unlocked. Nope. Our badass protagonist just mutters there's no need, and effortlessly snaps the iron cuffs himself. Taking a step forward, he practically craters the floor with a single stomp. Glaring with pure fury, Vikir asks if the baron wants to play right now. Grabbing the fat baron by the beard, he proposes a game of shield and spear. He is the spear, and the baron is the shield. If the shield miraculously survives, the baron wins. Sweating and panicking, he screams at Cindy Wendy for the guards, but it's already way too late. He's about to take a permanent dirt nap. As the fake hair flies off, the terrified woman finally realizes exactly who they just bought. The man standing right there is the city's vice-consul, Vikir Van Baskerville. Watching from the back, Chihuahua realizes his crazy master is about to unleash absolute hell. He mutters they called this place a circus for a reason. Flashing a genuinely cruel grin, Vikir loudly warns that absolutely nobody is leaving this room unharmed. The presenter finally gets the picture and desperately orders every guard to slaughter the unarmed boy. 3 brutes rush in blindly, and Vikir simply draws his legendary devouring sword. With just one casual swipe, he slices down everyone surrounding him. You and I both know what that red aura means. He's a graduator. The terrified presenter loses his mind as Vikir charges the biggest guard holding a massive iron ball. The guard swings hard, but 1 second later, both the man and his weapon are split completely in half. Let's dive right in. The presenter cannot comprehend how a Baskerville this young reached graduator tier power that rivals entire nations. Chihuahua is absolutely stunned by our main character's overwhelming strength. Suddenly, someone shouts, telling Vikir to look over. The presenter holds a blade right against Chihuahua's arm, desperately demanding surrender. Vikir does not even flinch, so he presses the blade deeper. But then Chihuahua actually shocks him, yelling to just do what needs doing. He would rather die than hold his master back. Vikir laughs. He finally found true loyalty. He stays perfectly calm. Why? Because before leaving the Baskerville mansion, he received a secret letter from the patriarch. He pulls out a whistle, making everyone instantly tense up. The main character blows it as hard as humanly possible, making the noble's ears ring. Chihuahua and that masked guy watch nervously, while Vikir just stands perfectly still center stage. When literally nothing happens, the guy starts laughing, totally convinced it was just a cheap bluff to scare them, but he does not even realize a blade just pierced his throat. It happens so ridiculously fast, he sees his own death before hitting the floor. The killer stands right behind him. Chihuahua is completely shaken by what just went down right in front of his face. A guard tries striking him from the side, but without moving an inch, the killer unleashes an absolutely brutal flurry of blows. Blood sprays everywhere, and Vikir looks super pleased. More men quickly pour in, flooding the entire arena. Now watch closely. They all have murderous red eyes. The guards pray these aren't the guys they think they are. Cindy Wendy knows exactly who they are, the cruelest knights in the Empire. They are expert killers, and rumor says all 100 of them are graduator tier. These are the Baskerville Pitbulls. Absolute beasts who could easily wreck the entire continent if given the order. Cindy instantly realizes that the second these men entered the circus, nobody had a single chance of making it out alive. She assumes she is definitely next on the chopping block, but Vikir steps in, ordering them to spare her life. The pitbull instantly backs off, bowing to his master. Vikir orders them to bite and kill anyone still standing. If they twitch even a little, kill them too. That was Vikir's request. He asked Hugo to lead the pitbulls. And now, the bloody cleanup begins. A noble spots a pitbull glaring at him with pure killing intent, nervously suggesting they just put him in handcuffs. The knight coldly replies they do not carry handcuffs. A split second later, he completely cripples the guy. He bluntly states dead men do not need legs. Suddenly, a massive guy walks up behind Vikir, calling him nephew. He asks what the main character thinks of his dogs. Vikir simply says he is satisfied. Meet Boston Terrier Baskerville, the hardcore commander of the Pitbulls. Boston looks him over, finally getting why Hugo was so obsessed with the kid. Even at 15, he is terrifyingly sharp. Boston straight up asks if he wants to join the squad. Vikir just ignores him and walks off. He has bigger fish to fry. Getting totally ignored honestly just makes Boston want him more. Meanwhile, Vikir strolls right into the auction warehouse. He quickly locates the vault, holding the noble's dirty money. He really does not care about lining Baskerville's pockets, but then he spots something totally unexpected. The Balak elf slave is still locked in her cage, beaten horribly, and barely clinging to life. I know what you and I are thinking. Is he actually going to save her? Obviously. He grabs a potion and pours it into her mouth. The medicine kicks in almost instantly. She snaps her eyes open, jerking back in pure terror, and Vikir casually asks why she is so afraid. Is she traumatized from being captured? She just stares blankly, totally confused, so he switches to the Balak tongue and orders her to leave. That only confuses her more, so he makes it extremely simple. Run. He learned some of their language, fighting the tribe in his past life. She replies rapidly, but he only understands the absolute basics. Then she finally heads out, mumbles a few more words and escapes. Vikir just figures she was probably trying to thank him. After that little detour, he goes for his real prize. He wants Murcielago's corpse, smoothly drawing out his legendary weapon, Beelzebub. Time to feast. By the next morning, crazy rumors spread that the corrupt auction officials were tossed in prison, missing major body parts. That same day, the city's major demonic group vanished for good. Every single VIP tied to that club got totally exposed. Following the investigation, 7 angry noble families demanded justice from the consul for their arrested relatives. Vikir just answered coldly, Illegal slave trading means absolute death. He got testimony from every executed prisoner, and it would soon hit the imperial family. Here is what stays with me. Those 7 family heads literally begged the guy who killed their relatives for mercy. And his reply, so simple. Their lands inside Baskerville territory would be seized. They faced treason charges, and 3 entire families got completely wiped off the map. To keep order after that, more officials simply had to be hired. Stick with me here. Underdog's unemployment is dropping fast, and the people absolutely love Vikir right now. Plus, his bond with Chihuahua is totally leveling up. Chihuahua literally owes his boss his life for saving him on that crazy circus night. Meanwhile, our main character practices his writing completely shocking Chihuahua. Vikir is not just writing, he is drafting actual laws. If this absolute genius kept working here, how big could Underdog actually get? Later that night, he hits the prison apologizing for the delay. The chained prisoner, it is Cindy Wendy St. Rose. Vikir says he has a few questions. Still furious, she asks if that is why he saved her. Our protagonist literally does not care. He brings up Baron Gambino. Complete trash, but the guy gained massive power super fast. Turns out the man was a genius at making cash. Without the evil stuff, he could have been a legendary merchant or a top-tier economist. So he looks her dead in the eye, answer honestly, and she goes free. Refuse and she will regret it forever. She snaps back that she will spill absolutely everything she knows. Vikir smiles. Perfect. First question, does she actually think he applies the law fairly? She says go ask a real cop. But knowing he wants straight facts, she flat out admits she thinks he is doing it all wrong. Smiling darkly, he grabs her and demands to know why. His terrifying eyes completely freeze her. Then he backs off. Watch this part closely. Stepping back, he demands answers. She claims he just built his image crushing weak criminals with pure fear. In the long run, that will completely backfire. Once the patriarch realizes Vikir has more city influence than him, he will be furious. When asked for advice, she tells him to return all authority to the Baskervilles, giving the patriarch full credit for the cleanup. Until he is older, he should lay low at the Black Mountain Range or the Academy, stay quiet, and grind his strength in secret. Then, when the time is right, give the Baskerville patriarch exactly what he deserves. Instantly, insane pressure fills the room. Vikir says, that sounds like telling a hunting dog to rip out its own master's throat. The heavy aura around him becomes absolutely crushing. Even so, she does not back down. It is the only way a hound can release its rage. Our main character smiles wide. He loves that answer. She is totally shocked. He admits her solid advice exactly matches his own master plan. Just as promised, she is free to go. Stunned, she asks if he is serious. He never breaks his word. Walking out, she hopes he never regrets this. But he stops her. Does she know the Mesmenro family? They were the 8th house destroyed in Underdog. A wealthy merchant family that met a brutal end. It all started when the youngest Mesmenro flexed some sick sword skills at a party. The Baskerville envoys were completely stunned. Those moves, top-secret techniques only known to the legendary Baskerville bloodline. The moment word leaked about this stolen military art, the Baskervilles unleashed their hunting dogs. That exact day, the entire Mesmenro bloodline was massacred. But the real culprits, 7 arrogant noble kids, they actually stole the swordbook the young Mesmenro learned from. You and I can totally see right through her. Acting clueless, she asks why it matters. Vikir reveals one baby girl survived the massacre. Just because she was beautiful, those monsters put her through the most twisted torture imaginable. Absolutely furious, Cindy Wendy refuses to hear another word of this and turns for the door. But he is not finished. He mentions a new vice consul, who brutally hunted down criminals without an ounce of mercy. By pure coincidence, those thugs were the same 7 idiots who ruined the Mesmenro family. The vice consul tortured them relentlessly. Bleeding out, they slowly confessed to every single one of their sins. One even begged forgiveness for a deadly crime. Crying in pure rage, she demands if he expects her to believe that. He calmly states she is the last Mesmenro she knows her past. How can she even trust him? How on earth can she believe he actually caught them and made them beg? Vikir grabs a torch to light the dark path. Seeing is believing. What she finds leaves her completely and totally speechless. Corpses are right there, scrawled across the floor in blood, desperate apologies and begging to live. Seeing this, she violently throws up. Stepping closer, he says those scumbags finally paid. But the Mesmenro family's vengeance is not over. She needs to aim all her hatred at the Baskervilles. We are all thinking the same thing. He is a Baskerville, so why is he helping? Alright, let's jump back in. He just calls her questions stupid. She's confused, but promises to repay him anyway. He swears he'll never be broke as long as she's breathing. Vikir actually likes that answer. He smirks, promising to remember it. Next morning, someone knocks. It's Chihuahua teasing that the vice-consul sure loves his beauty sleep since the sun is already shining bright outside. But he opens the door to a bloodbath, ketchup everywhere and actual bodies just casually scattered around. MC just wakes up totally unbothered casually, wishing his secretary a good morning. He even jokes he might have killed them in his sleep. Chihuahua nervously asks what kind of crazy childhood he had. Vikir just deadpans a super violent one. Honestly, things have gotten insanely dangerous lately. 2 poison arrows, 4 toxic drinks, acid fire and a cart, literally trying to crush him. Things are completely out of hand. Shouldn't Chihuahua be worried? Vikir brushes it off. At the last legal auction, he literally scored an A-rank vitality skill. It's called the Infernal Buffalo. Thanks to that power and his dip in the Styx River, those assassins stood absolutely zero chance. Chihuahua nervously jokes, did his shirt get washed in the Styx too? Vikir just stares, asking what that means. Now pay attention, this is where things shift. He's fed up, ready to hunt the mastermind down. Later, a Baskerville carriage suddenly rolls up. Someone from his family is here, but the second that VIP steps out, Chihuahua totally panics and instantly drops into a deep bow. It's the protagonist's family butler. As they exchange greetings, Chihuahua is literally vibrating with pure fanboy awe. This guy is the Barrymore family head. His bloodline has served as Baskerville butlers for 4 solid generations. Seeing his absolute idol left him starstruck. Vikir casually asks why he's here. Simple answer. The patriarch noticed his epic achievements and ordered him brought back home immediately. MC isn't thrilled, guessing Hugo is probably loving this. Cut straight to Hugo's fancy office. Hugo is carefully reviewing reports, showing the people of Underdog completely favor Vikir now. He's the most trusted by merchants, insanely loved by farmers, children, and scholars, and heavily targeted by assassins. Hugo laughs, saying this proves the Baskervilles aren't just clever nobles who suck at sword fighting. He actually praises his son's hard work. Vikir accepts but finds Hugo's smile super creepy. The patriarch drops a bomb: where there are harsh punishments, there must be rewards. He asks how Vikir feels about entering the academy this year. Our protagonist is totally caught off guard. It's the exact reward he wanted. It's the ultimate gathering spot for kingdom elites, the top-tier academy called Colosseum. Since it's packed with noble kids, security is absolutely insane, basically running like an elite boarding school. Translation: he'll finally have plenty of free time to grind his strength away from Hugo. Hugo wants to send a few extra people, but no one else really stands out, so he asks if MC wants to bring anyone. Vikir claims he's super close with the triplets. Of course, he secretly just wants them as personal punching bags. You and I both know Hugo won't agree. He refuses, then asks if Vikir remembers his old childhood plan, giving the mine to the morgues to crush the barbarians. Hugo proudly admits the plan totally worked. Initially, the morgues suggested a super quiet joint attack. Then Hugo challenges him. Does Vikir want to swing by and see for himself if the master plan is actually going down as intended? MC just nods, obeying the patriarch's command. Soon enough, they're riding straight out of Underdog's gates. Chihuahua waves goodbye, looking seriously sad. He wishes them a safe journey, promising to hold down the fort while the boss is gone. Finally, leaving the city behind. Out on the quiet road, Vikir suddenly stops and tells his hidden escorts to show themselves. Boom, several masked knights drop from the sky. Vikir casually apologizes for making them wait. He wanted to avoid a loud exit. Staffordshire says it's completely fine, and they'll now escort him to the morgue fortress. On the road, he asks about his uncle Boston Terrier. Turns out the guy is absolutely thrilled to drag him into the Pitbull Knights after that crazy slave auction. Before long, they finally step foot into morgue territory. Vikir knows the truth. This isn't just some boring inspection. It's a full-on mission to crush those barbarians. Intel says the morgue clan rallied 2 delegates, 30 core members, and a whopping 100 outside wizards. Meanwhile, Baskerville barely sent anyone, just MC, 1 delegate, and a handful of basic soldiers. They clearly want to scope out the barbarian strength first. The morgue fortress slowly comes into view, literally decorated with brutal stakes and hanging skulls. Definitely wizard work, serving as a brutal warning for the barbarians. Seeing this, Vikir immediately thinks of Camus, realizing she's gotten insanely strong. Suddenly, 3 figures appear on the high wall. They yell for them to stop demanding their identities. No entry without permission, but MC knows them well. Trust me, you're gonna love the morgue flowers. Stick with me here, guys. Meet highbrow, midbrow, and lowbrow. Vikir announces the Baskerville envoy is just here for a land inspection and mission support, so they need to open that gate immediately. But one of the girls completely shuts him down. She claims they have to report to the territory supervisor first. The group just has to wait. Maybe they will get permission tomorrow. Vikir isn't having it. He asks why they are blocking the actual territory owner. She literally mocks him for pulling the owner card, bringing up a tenant protection law his own family made. Getting super annoyed, Vikir casually drops that he already changed it. Now the owner can kick tenants out whenever. He gives them one final warning, ordering them to open the massive gate right this second. The girls panic for a second, but one snaps back, saying she heard some absolute idiot took over Underdog. Then boom, she fires a water attack straight at our protagonist, yelling they won't be pushed around. The blast hits right next to his feet. She refuses to back down, screaming that 0 people are getting into morgue territory today. She even dares the so-called Baskerville genius to make a move. The Knight Commander starts drawing his blade, but suddenly men in the back start screaming insults at the girls on the wall. Vikir recognizes those loud voices immediately. The sisters instantly, absolutely furious. 3 boys step up proudly, saying they meant every single word. Baskerville's very own triplets. Here is where it gets absolutely ridiculous, so watch closely. Triplets versus triplets. Even our MC looks totally completely done. One of the boys declares he wants to repay our MC for recommending them to the patriarch, securing their spot in the academy. Vikir knows these 3 will become total living weapons, plus they follow orders perfectly. So he pushes it further, planning to break them in for later. The boys scream that they are the absolute best. How do the girls reply? Literal middle fingers, calling them complete idiots. This just makes the sisters see red. They combine their 3 elements, massively boosting their magic power to insane levels. This exact synergy is why people used to call them the 3 flowers of morgue. A Baskerville triplet scoffs, yelling they are not scared of some weak little branches. He charges in using the first Baskerville style, literally impressing the Knight Commander. But 1 second later, boom. He gets caught off guard and violently shoved back by a branch. The girls just laugh, bragging that swordsmen could never touch them. It obviously makes the boys furious. The Knight Commander just smirks wide, saying this is going to be super fun. They finally get to see magic and swordsmanship settle that ancient rivalry. He adds it will be cool watching the young talents who might lead both clans one day. Vikir casually points out that he is one of those rising stars too, but the delegate insists his power is way beyond them, totally uncomparable. Realizing this absolute circus is wasting time, our protagonist decides to just move on. He has way more important stuff to do. Honestly, he just wanted every single one of them to hurry up and die. Suddenly, someone drops in with blazing fire magic in her hands, screaming to know what is happening in her territory. A triplet is barely inches from a mage when a crazy flash streaks right at him. A gigantic fire spell. The explosion is absolutely massive. Vikir actually smiles for a split second. He really hoped they all died. I know what you are thinking. Did they bite the dust? Nope, just burned, and the morgue triplets got cooked too. MC is genuinely shocked she showed up this early. Standing right up on that wall is Camus de Morgue. Morgue Scarlet. The crazy girl he met at age 8, declares she will never forgive anyone causing chaos in her land. The triplets protest, calling Camus by her first name, whining that Vikir started everything. Big mistake. That completely sets her off. She snaps that she never gave permission to use her name, threatening to literally hang them if they don't shut up. Then she glances over and just totally freezes up. Standing right there is him, Van Baskerville. Her entire vibe completely flips softly, saying it has been over 7 years since they last saw each other. Our protagonist calmly agrees it has been a while, but inside his head he definitely notices she has grown up significantly. So this is the legendary woman destined to charm every single man in high society. The one and only Camus de Morgue. Morgue Scarlet. In his previous life, guys obsessed over her with crazy scandals everywhere. Weirdly quiet this timeline, but honestly he could not care less right now. He flat out tells her to open the gate, since the triplets refused completely. Camus gets super mad, yelling that after 7 years, that is his opening line. Vikir bluntly asks what else he should say, which just makes her explode. The Knight Commander realizes the triplet fight is done. Now it is time for a massive clash between the absolute top stars of both families. Camus points directly at our MC, declaring his score 0. She rants about his terrible attitude, asking how he can act so cold to his future wife. 0 out of 100. The whole crowd is literally stunned. Vikir nearly chokes hearing future wife. Later, walking through the grassy fields, Camus mentions the Baskervilles clearly do not know much about the barbarians. He calmly replies his clan knows way more than her. And trust me, you're going to want to see what happens next. Alright, jump in with me here. Camus claps back, why send the absolute worst guy around? Our main character shuts that down fast. He already cleared this mountain trip with Morgue Scarlet, so her attitude makes literally 0 sense. Totally ignoring his logic, Camus hands him 8 points for his barbarian knowledge. So yeah, he is rocking an 8 out of 100. Vikir asks why the score is trash when his answer was flawless. Her reply, smart men suck. To her, guys should be a bit dumber. Then she drops 6 points for riding skills and asks why his horse is taller. Probably because he is just built shorter. She docks him again. 4 points for his boring outfit and barely 1 point for manners, since he will not answer her right. Vikir is seriously holding back a punch, telling her he needs 5 points just to fill the dent. Then she blushes, tossing 99 points for his face, admitting he grew up well. but she instantly snatches 1 point back. Why? Because his facial expressions are completely frozen. He tells her to drop the stupid game, but Camus is dead serious. Apparently, her future husband needs to meet her crazy high standards. He asks why he would ever marry her in the first place. Furious, she yells that it is because he passed her uncle's test. That memory just ticks her off more. Her uncle turned it into some future marriage promise instead of locking it down right then. Vikir coldly tells her to forget that day and pretend it never even happened. Camus blushes hard, then chucks a shirt at his face with enough force to leave a mark, yelling she will never forget what happened. He pulls the fabric away, suddenly realizing it is the exact same jacket he lent her before. Camus acts like it is trash, but Vikir is just standing there, wondering why she handed it back completely unwashed. Now pay attention, things get real here. Barbarians are raiding mines, stealing slaves, and completely wrecking crops. She points to the wall. Built just last month by earth and iron mages. Basically a year of heavy labor done in weeks, but Balic arrows have already scarred it. These shots punch through meters of solid stone, silently picking off guards in the dead of night. Even her powerhouse uncle took a nasty hit when an arrow shattered his magical shield. Hugo even reported that a barbarian clipped his nose. Vikir figures the enemy forces must be seriously stacked and asks for more intel. Camus mentions a terrifyingly strong woman leading them, but with all that war paint, it is completely impossible to get a clear description. Right then, a panicked soldier runs up shouting for the vice captain. They bagged a barbarian scout alive. Inside the morgue tent, a fierce painted warrior is tied up, glaring daggers right at them. He is from the Rococo witch clan and is not talking. Even their elite mind control magic bounces right off his heavy witchcraft. Camus steps up, asking if he remembers raiding Morgue Fortress and dragging off their people, specifically her little cousin Rose. The man just gives a sick smile, speaking his native tongue, making the other captured barbarians laugh. Camus demands a translator immediately. She wants the missing barbarians, but her vassal admits they were all either wiped out or captured already. Out of nowhere, Vikir casually drops that he knows some Rococo. Stunned, Camus asks if there is literally anything he cannot do. She orders him to ask about her pale, red-haired 12-year-old cousin. We both know this will not end well. Vikir asks, and the guy just grins wickedly. Vikir shuts his eyes. The disgust is obvious. He takes a breath, then flat out tells Camus the little girl is dead. Camus goes icy with pure, unfiltered rage. Since the other leaders are busy, Vice Captain Camus Morgue declares she will handle this trial herself. The verdict: instant execution. A massive stake pierces the screaming prisoner as he keeps shouting. Camus tells him to keep barking. Once this war ends, she swears his language will only be spoken down in hell. The remaining prisoners panic, but Camus kicks everyone out. Vikir leaves silently, only to find her totally breaking down in tears outside. Despite all her tough vice captain energy, she is still just 15. He steps up to comfort her. Rose was sweet and kind, totally unlike the typical Morgue. Vikir tries saying that maybe she at least passed away peacefully. Camus snaps back, asking if he thinks she is an idiot. She cannot speak Rococo, but she definitely understood it by ear. Voice shaking, she asks if she heard him right, if those twisted final words were really what she thought. The scout confessed to doing absolute horrors to the girl before she died. That brutal truth just completely shattered Camus. She had been keeping it together, but now she crumbles, sobbing and apologizing endlessly for failing to protect her little cousin. Vikir almost reaches out to comfort her, but stops himself. Maybe he lacks the emotional skills, or maybe he just chooses not to. After cooling down, Camus vows fast, brutal revenge. This time, Vikir finally reaches out and agrees with her completely. She blushes. But just as they connect, alarms blare. A barbarian raid. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. Let's jump straight into the chaos. Their chance for payback came early. On a hill, a barbarian rider mounted a giant wolf bow drawn. She locked onto her target. Then she blasted 2 wall guards. Way too late for them to react. That arrow shredded right through everything in its path. After firing, the archer barked out orders in her native tongue, and just like that, the Morgue clan assault began. The attackers quickly snatched up hostages. They charged in on massive wolves. Vikir wondered if he rushed too far ahead right as a lasso whipped towards him. Boom! The Balak tribe grabbed him instantly. He barely flinched, but the women were absolutely hyped, cheering about finding a man. A fine husband, perhaps. From that, our MC realized they literally kidnap men and women just to breed much stronger bloodlines. So with one smooth move, he casually tossed the women aside, declining their marriage proposal. He claimed he was already taken. Instantly, the tribesmen drew their bows, but Vikir kept walking. Hugo had strictly ordered him not to fight until backup arrived. But honestly, there was zero time to stand around waiting. He easily swatted away the rain of arrows. The Balic were stunned. Then Camus crashed the party. She unleashed a massive fireball, screaming at everyone for just standing there instead of wiping these invaders off the map. The warriors screamed in pure agony. Camus showed zero mercy. She wanted them all dead. He glanced at Vikir, shocked he was using liquid aura. She thought he was just a graduator, but suddenly he seemed like the only man worth respecting. He calmly replied that the patriarch banned him from fighting without the main force here. Now watch closely because things get wild. As flames spread everywhere, Kama declared she would handle this entire mess all by herself. Vikir realized how crazy strong she had gotten. Quadruple channeling absolute madness. Furious Camus promised to avenge her little sister. But then a dart snuck through and nailed her neck. The shooter rode a white wolf. Camus instantly dropped, completely paralyzed by whatever poison they used. The warrior tossed a capture rope, but Vikir immediately jumped right into its path. He wanted to fall back, but Camus was obsessed with saving her home, rescuing hostages, and getting that sweet revenge. While trying to warn her again, he barely caught an arrow flying from behind and dodged it by a hair. The sniper stood on a tent, likely that super strong woman Camus mentioned. Then they snatched Camus. He screamed his name. Vikir suddenly remembered in his past life barbarians kidnapped her when she was just a kid, and shortly after, she slaughtered the entire tribe and returned as the legendary Crimson Black Queen. While he was busy thinking about what to do, that woman appeared right beside him. He dodged again, realizing she was literally using her bow as a weapon. A brutal kick immediately followed, slamming his stomach and launching him backward. I know what you are thinking. Time to go all out. Yeah, but she shocked him, claiming she promised they would reunite. With an evil smirk, she revealed herself. It was the same girl he had saved at the slave auction, seriously returning kindness with pure betrayal. She completely shrugged it off. This was revenge, and she did not care about him at all. Leaping onto her wolf, she challenged him to come after them if he wanted his girl back. Vikir debated using his true power, but then Adolf Morg came charging in, screaming for Camus after hearing all about the ambush. He slammed down an earth spell, violently demanding they hand over his niece, but the wolves were too fast, easily dodging the magic and zooming away. Adolf was furious. Vassal quickly reported that the kidnappers vanished into the most dangerous part of Mount Rouge. Adolf knew that place was a death trap. Tracking them at night, impossible. But someone spoke up, they could. It was Vikir. He claimed he explored that deadly zone when he was younger. Obviously, that was really just his past life knowledge talking. Adolf was absolutely floored. One vassal immediately warned that entering Mount Rouge at night was pure suicide. Adolf told his men anyone could back out. He knew deep down that this kid was built completely different. Left with zero options, he had to trust him. He begged Vikir to save her. By nightfall, they stepped into Baskerville territory deep inside the nightmare forest of Mount Rouge et Noir. The place was packed with traps, bone-sucking mosquitoes, poison vines, silent spiders, and endless horror. Normal people would die in an hour here, earning its soul-devouring reputation. But Vikir, not normal at all. Adolf asked the commander if all Baskerville kids were like this. The answer: not even close. So what do we take from this? He walked through that deadly forest like it was absolutely nothing. Alright, stick with me here. We all knew his sword skills were epic, but his stealth, honestly terrifying. He suddenly freezes. Tells everyone to hold up. The Balak tribe is still super close. See these hunters scatter dry leaves everywhere just to hear footsteps. From here on out, they need to walk perfectly. Adolf slaps a silent spell on Vikir. Zero footstep noise. But he drops a heavy warning. Our main character is going in completely solo now. Adolf swears he will never forget this massive favor. Cut to the camp. Camus is screaming about burning them all alive. Literally nobody cares. They are way more obsessed with the boy they almost caught. Camus finally shuts up once she realizes they are casually gossiping about hunting for spouses. While she stews this, one warrior swaggers over, bragging that every guy is going to envy his prime catch. He does not speak her language, but the death glare is obvious. Time to train the arrogant slave, he mutters. But wait, the female warrior from earlier steps right up. Let go of my slave, she orders. He argues he caught Camus. She shuts that down fast. Without her stopping that sword kid, this guy would be toast. Basically, Camus is hers. The guy whines that women do not take slaves for themselves here, but she literally could not care less. He pushes back, saying she is just abusing her captain privileges. Big mistake. He glares. Challenge me then, and I will crush you. The guy instantly starts shaking, totally backs down, and admits defeat on the spot. Argument over. She looks Camus up and down. Nice face, sturdy body, she approves. She figures Camus has a top-tier bloodline. Probably the next Morg family boss. Stomping on her shoulder, she reveals the Morgs actually sold her as a slave once too. But someone actually showed her mercy back then. She escaped that miserable life. But returning that kindness, yeah, not happening today. Instead, she plans to carve obedience into her bones. She will tame Camus completely until her only purpose is to serve. Now pay close attention. Boom, a massive explosion goes off behind her. Total confusion hits. Guards start screaming about an ambush. A mage is absolutely torching the camp, and Camus recognizes that voice in a heartbeat. It is her uncle. He is roaring for his niece, totally bloodthirsty. War is on. But Vikir spots something weird. These Balak hunters are usually flawless, right? Now they look sloppy. They are running around lost. Some are loudly cursing the morgues for crashing the party and causing pure chaos at midnight. Seeing them crumble, Adolf sends his troops to hunt them. Camus smiles until she hears a voice right behind her. Vikir cuts her ropes and shushes her. Camus gasps, asking if he came to save her. He just sighs. Did you miss the keep quiet signal? Suddenly, a figure steps out. She knew the sword boy would show up. She calls him a fast, insanely strong kid. A pure hero with an unbreakable mind, risking absolutely everything just to save his precious woman. Classic anime logic, right? She laughs, telling him not to worry about any past stuff. He could just go. Vikir is standing there completely baffled. I know what you are thinking. But get this, Vikir has zero memory of this girl from his past life. None at all. Is she the night fox, the sniper who scarred Hugo while thinking a dart suddenly shoots straight at them? He instantly summons Beelzebub to block for Morgue Camus. The attacker freezes. How did he even see that? Vikir grabs Camus. Time to get you to your uncle, he says. She nods, and they sprint away at lightning speed. The archer finally realizes what is going down. But no way is she letting the future Morgue Scarlet Clan leader just escape. She draws her bow muscles trembling and fires an absolute cannon of a shot straight at Morgue Camus. Instantly, the entire forest freezes solid. The arrow stops midair. Classic Adolf Morgue power move. He shows up exactly on time. Starts casting a cure spell, promising to bring his niece back to the sacred family safely. But Camus ignores him. She hugs Vikir instead, thanking him for saving her life once again. Adolf grumbles. Hey, I helped too. Camus just snaps that she is snitching to her mom. Suddenly, a rope whips over Vikir. The archer tries pulling him away, yelling that they have to escape right this second. But he does not budge an inch. She panics, wondering what kind of monster strength this kid is hiding. Vikir snaps the rope. Why the big rush, he asks. Then a monstrous roar shakes the forest. The archer screams. She is awake. Even Beelzebub is flashing warning signs to run. Pure terror is approaching fast, the archer screaming. You and I are about to see Madame Eight Legs. A massive shadow erupts from the ground, the Balak warriors screaming her name. Stick with me here. At first, nobody understood what they were seeing. Then, that single shadow split, shooting in every possible direction. Adolf Morgue was completely paralyzed, muttering that this had to be impossible. How did a beast this huge stay hidden? Even Vikir felt the shock. If his past life memories were right, they were staring down an S-rank calamity. Madame Eight Legs. A walking disaster strong enough to wipe out entire continents. Camus opened her mouth to scream, but Vikir instantly shut her down. He warned everyone that even without eyes, its hearing and touch were dangerously sharp. He remembered the old Mount Rouge stories, how some locals warned about a legendary nightmare wandering the woods called Madame Eight Legs. After countless missing persons, the Empire finally officially added her to the monster catalog. S-rank extinction-level threat, capable of soloing a nation. And right on cue, a massive shower of acid rained down on them. One Balak warrior shrieked in agony as the acid melted his hair off. Their archer furiously ordered him to shut up before he got them all killed. Too late. That single sound made the massive monster snap toward them. He instantly ordered a full retreat. The Morgue scholars desperately fell back. While the Balaks expertly scattered, the Morgue scholars and Baskervilles stupidly fled in one massive clump, making themselves the perfect target. One overly confident mage yelled that bugs are weak to fire and stepped up. He launched a blazing spell that hit the spider dead on, and for a split second everyone thought it actually worked. Then in a flash, the mage completely vanished. A massive leg had impaled him. The kid next to him barely processed it before realizing he was the next appetizer. Adolf, sweating bullets, frantically screamed, asking what kind of nightmare this was. Now watch what happens here. Vikir suddenly stopped running and said he'd stay behind. The knight commander yelled, asking if he was crazy. Vikir flatly stated that running meant a total wipeout, so somebody had to go tie up the monster's legs. The commander tried to offer himself as the sacrifice, but Vikir coldly asked if he honestly thought he had the skills to survive. He pointed out they could not let this calamity reach their territory, and right now he was literally their only hope of stalling it. Then he stared Adolf down, saying time was up and demanding a choice. Camus stood there completely paralyzed. Adolf hesitated until Vikir roared at him to move. The old man finally sprinted off, promising not to waste the kid's sacrifice. Camus broke down, crying, desperately begging him to run with them. Vikir almost drew his standard sword but stopped. Normal weapons were completely useless against an S-rank shell. Plus, to him, this was actually the ultimate golden opportunity. If he successfully faked his death and escaped Hugo's radar, he would finally get time to master the 10 techniques. Once he got strong enough to handle the patriarch or completely mask his true power, then he would march right back to the family. Drawing the demonic blade Beelzebub in its true form, he knew that holding back even 1% meant this calamity would absolutely end his life. He had crossed the River Styx, mastering the advanced Baskerville swordsmanship and the demonic power of Beelzebub. So he went all in, charging at absolute top speed right into the monster. He launched himself into the sky, leaping high above Madame Eight Legs. The spider sensed danger as Vikir poured his entire aura into one air-shattering strike. Then he unleashed the legendary 5th Baskerville Fang. The impact was so insane that a blinding flash engulfed the forest. A massive explosion followed, echoing for miles in every direction. You and I can feel that heartbreak. Camus broke down completely, watching the exact moment history would remember forever. The day a kid became an absolute hero. But right then memories flooded Vikir's mind. The terrible day his previous life ended in brutal betrayal. He saw it play out again. Hugo standing there cold, the entire family lined up to execute him. Zero mercy in his father's eyes, his killing intent crystal clear. One simple hand signal and Vikir's entire world violently spun out of control. When the spinning stopped, his final sight was his father and everyone he ever fought for, just coldly turning their backs on him. He screamed for help in his head, getting absolute silence. But when his eyes snapped open in the present, he was staring at a completely weird ceiling. A thick rope was tied around his neck. His body screamed in pain and he had absolutely no clue where he was. Still, no matter how many days had slipped by, one massive fact remained. He actually survived the clash with the giant spider. Everything after the flash was pure chaos, and he could only pray that Giant Bug was dead too. He checked his limbs. Still in one piece, even though the blast shockwave had left him completely battered. Touching the rope around his neck, he realized the tight binding probably saved him from bleeding out. And more importantly, the plan worked perfectly. The family officially thought he was dead. Finally, stepping outside the cabin, Vikir looked around and realized he was standing in a barbarian village. He instantly knew this was Balak territory and they had definitely taken him as a prisoner. So what do you and I make of this? He's trapped in the enemy camp just as a line of tied-up men gets dragged his way. Alright, stick with me here. A woman screamed to move faster or they'd be wolf food. Vikir spotted Morg's scarlet troops, wondering why he was separated. Right then, some guy walked up casually asking if Vikir could even speak their language. Our MC recognized him instantly. It was the exact same jerk who threw darts at him earlier. The barbarian smirked, glad he was awake. Then he coldly asked how did it feel watching his squad die while lying there completely broken and helpless. He added that if Vikir wasn't the captain's personal little dog, he'd be totally dead. That word triggered him. Memories flooded back of Hugo, treating him like a literal hound bred to serve. His expression shifted so drastically, the barbarian froze. Spooked by that intense rage, the guy punched him, cursing loudly. Walking away, he told our MC to stop lying around and follow the rope to his master. Pinned to the ground, Vikir quietly memorized his face. Once he healed, absolute payback. Later, he started following that long rope through the woods. Now watch carefully here. The rope stretched endlessly, making him wonder who was waiting. Suddenly, it snapped tight, forcing him to stop and look dead ahead. Boom. There was a fierce barbarian woman bathing, and his rope led directly to her. She locked eyes with our MC. Smiling slightly, she ordered him down. Bam! He was instantly yanked, completely flat into the dirt. A stray arrow flew right past his head, burying itself deep into a tree behind him. He scolded the kids for practicing archery nearby. Then turning to Vikir, she actually thanked him for saving her from becoming a slave the other day. She claimed she already paid him back twice, and even got revenge for him too. That clicked. She was the one who saved him from Madame Eight Legs. Still, he was pretty confused about being tied to this rope. Sizing him up, she noted he looked like he came from a wealthy, noble family, confusing him. Then she wondered aloud how much they would pay for his safe return, terrifying Vikir. If she bargained with the Baskervilles, his whole escape plan would absolutely crumble. Then she smirked, asking if he got his hopes up. Too bad. She had zero plans to release him since he belonged to her now. Cutting the rope around his neck, Vikir finally breathed easier. This wild barbarian girl declared that from now on he better call her master. He loved the fire in his eyes but wondered if he could play the obedient dog. Anyway, no time for that right now. They had to go somewhere first. When our MC asked where she was shocked, he hadn't guessed. When you step onto someone else's territory, it is only natural to greet the leader. So she's taking him to the Balak tribe chief. Walking through the village, his new master gave a quick rundown of their lifestyle. Short on beds, they make do. Low on food, they just steal from rich humans. Zero mercy for outsiders, but absolute protection for their own. Vikir realized their lifestyle was crazy simple. A second later, they reached the chief's massive house. Stepping inside, the young woman called the leader mother, announcing her return. The incredibly muscular woman stood welcoming her. She teased that this must be the fancy man her daughter kept bragging about, totally embarrassing her. Boom, Vikir realized she was the chief's daughter. He also figured out her true identity. The Night Fox, the legendary warrior who scarred Hugo's face, blocking his entire family at Black Mountain. I know what you're thinking. What if our MC fought her before returning in time? In a straight duel, he would have absolutely zero chance of surviving, let alone killing her. Even running only gave him a 20% shot. The chief studied his face, saying he looked familiar. Vikir panicked. Did she recognize his family? But she just shrugged. To her, all noble men looked exactly the same. Then she flat out asked why her daughter brought him here. Didn't look like much, but her daughter argued he'd be useful with training, especially after surviving 8 legs. The chief literally did not care. As long as his important parts still worked, she was satisfied. Flustered Ayan yelled he was strictly her personal slave. Her mom smirked, pointing out she sounded very different earlier. Still, whatever her daughter decided, she had her back. Vikir quietly touched the cabin's center pillar. A few hours later, they were back out in the forest. He said he had a question. Asking her name completely caught her off guard. She fully expected complaints about being a slave. Blushing slightly, she answered it was Ayan. When Vikir asked what to do next, she snapped. He was a slave, so call her master. Even so, she let his attitude slide and issued her very first order. He had to build his own house. Plus, Ayan seriously doubted a spoiled noble could build anything at all. So what do you and I make of this? Our MC just smiled. Building a house actually sounded fun. Stick with me here. Ayan is absolutely speechless right now because his wooden cabin is already finished. She honestly thought he was totally clueless about surviving, making all the helpful supplies she brought completely useless. Vikir just shrugs it off. In his past life, he realized swinging a sword was not enough to survive, so he mastered wilderness skills too. Looking over the new cabin, Ayan even spots a perfect little drainage trench for rainwater. Then our MC points out the chief has a shaky tent. Heavy rain could totally flood and ruin it. So he casually asks to use limestone to fortify the whole structure. Soon after, he is literally mixing limestone while Ayan just watches. He fires mud and bakes solid bricks. Then he marches straight over to the chief, and Ayan quickly explains his entire crazy plan. The super muscular chief looks seriously impressed as Vikir builds a sturdy brick base around her wooden post. She admits the house was always flimsy, despite her efforts completely missing that the rotting wooden pillars were the problem. Thanking him, she jokes that her daughter caught a super useful man and hopes he keeps repairing the entire Balak village. Later on, our guy is doing laundry by the river. Ayan walks up asking if slave labor is too brutal, then casually wonders if he wants to officially join the tribe. Vikir honestly admits being a slave here is not terrible. Actually, he feels way more peace in this jungle than he ever did back home. Ayan reminds him, slaves miss out on privileges and surviving totally alone out here is basically a giant death wish. If he stays by her side, he will not have to stress so much and can adapt to this brutal place easily. Now pay attention because this is huge. She promises to actually remove his collar, so he immediately asks what he needs to do. Smiling brightly, Ayan says the rule is simple. He just needs to join a massive hunt and offer prey to the tribe. Lately, their hunters have been slacking on food, and she is genuinely worried the village kids will grow up totally weak. Bringing back fresh meat even earns him warm cotton clothes. Giving his back a hard slap, she promises hunting together makes everything easier. He just needs to back her up from behind. Vikir winces, barely hiding the pain from that crazy heavy pat. While Ayan brags that he should feel lucky to be hers, he finally sighs and just agrees to join the big hunt. That paints a massive smile on Ayan, turning her cheeks bright red. Walking back to the village, she eagerly hypes up leaving tomorrow morning. Our MC agrees, wondering why she is beaming so much. But the peace shatters fast. That angry barbarian who punched Vikir before is watching them. Curses his guts, glaring as the slave gets way too cozy with the daughter of the chief. Nearby, some old guy scoops dark powder from a wooden bucket and gathers all the hunters together for a meeting. The shaman claims they absolutely need his blessing or they will die out there. Ayan explains hunters feel guilty killing prey, so they smear charcoal on their faces to beg the gods for total protection. Vikir is honestly shocked these barbarians even employ a shaman, while the veteran hunters loudly grumble about doing this annoying chore. Some guys even complain that his recent prophecies are just total garbage. Our protagonist wonders if this magic role is completely useless, considering everyone here literally lives the exact same rugged lifestyle anyway. Then Ayan struts up with a totally charcoal-covered face. Vikir sarcastically jokes that she looks stunning, which instantly makes her furious. She snaps at him to shut up, claiming she hates doing this too. Then she shoves a brand new collar at him, ordering him to wear it. It basically proves he is under official protection, so no other random hunter can legally claim him. He hates it, but you and I both know playing along is smarter. Later they ride out on a massive hunting wolf and Ayan tells him to hold onto her waist. He stubbornly refuses, but the second that giant wolf lunges forward, his entire body flies backward. Flashing a super sly smile like she totally planned this, she teases that he should have grabbed her. Hold on tight and he will never fall off. Hitting the dirt hard, Vikir mutters to himself that he really needs to figure out this ridiculous situation. Then he spots incoming trouble, the exact same guy who punched him before. Ayin calls him Ahun and he immediately whines that she is flirting with a slave and going way too easy on him. He loudly flexes that today he is dragging back a monster catch and becoming the next hunting captain. While he runs his mouth, Vikir suddenly sees something flying right at his face. A brutal kick from Ahun lands smack on his head. Stepping back, Ahun scoffs that she never should have wasted a guard collar on a slave, mocking how a half-broken weakling could ever survive a real hunt. Ayin, who looked stressed a second ago, flashes a smirk and admits he has a point, but Ahun lost something too. And yeah, something very important is missing from his waist. Spitting out some blood, Vikir casually twirls the stolen arrows of Ahun, warning him to guard his weapons better. If he is that clumsy, he will never catch anything. Totally enraged, Ahun charges in for another punch, but Ayin blocks him before he even gets close. He coldly asks who actually owns this slave, reminding him only the master decides who gets to punish him. Ahun yells that a lowly slave insulted a warrior, but Ayin fires back since he started it. He loses his mind, asking if she loves this loser. That is where we leave it wild, right? Alright, let's jump straight into the craziest dynamic here. Stone-faced Ayin says if slaves cross lines, then yeah, they deserve punishment, but Ahun has zero right to step in. This slave is hers. Then out of nowhere, Ayin smacks Vikir right across the face, spraying blood. Ahun stares in pure shock as the hit drops him to the grass. Giving a freezing cold glare, she asks if he is satisfied. She needs this guy for her daily chores, and she knows Ahun absolutely hates that Vikir belongs exclusively to her. But she drops a heavy warning. Touch him again, and Ahun will be the one getting punished. He completely freezes. Meanwhile, our boy is left on the dirt, totally bruised up. Later in the forest, Ayin looks super guilty. With his face still completely swollen, she asks if it hurts, or if he is mad. She had no choice. Ahun was not backing down, so she had to step in. Then our MC bluntly admits that yeah, it hurts. In one super smooth move, she flips herself right onto her wolf. Leaning right into his face, she asks how serious the wound actually is. Vikir Baskerville says it is fine. Now watch this closely. Right before he can brush off the pain, she suddenly kisses him, and she pulls. He just stares there, totally clueless. Let's dive into this wild barbarian healing method, which honestly looks like a fast track to a massive infection. Ayin asks what he wants, promising to give him absolutely anything. That word catches Vikir Van Baskerville off guard, and he pauses to think. She freezes up, totally expecting him to ask for something way more spicy. Nope, our guy Van Baskerville just asks for archery lessons. Completely crushed, she pouts, saying the special lessons start tomorrow. The next day, arrows thud into a tree, while Ayin complains her new slave has absolutely zero talent. Real talk though, she is basically using this whole lesson as an excuse to get handsy. Now watch closely, she explains. This is how basic warrior training starts. Since he cannot swing a sword right now, he is stuck mastering the bow. Right on cue, the massive white wolf trots up. Ayin asks if the good boy found what she sent it out for. Seeing the answer is yes, she tells him to gear up immediately. Cut to them arriving at a fast-moving stream somewhere else. Ayin points out, the river hits the ocean here, creating a crazy strong current. Because of that, a ton of wild creatures gather. The fish ride the flow, hoping the speed saves them from predators. But reality is brutal. Most of them never reach the ocean, ending up completely smashed against the jagged rocks. Those unlucky fish become an all-you-can-eat buffet for the oxbear. Vikir Van Baskerville is stunned, asking if that absolute unit is actually an oxbear. You and I both know that is no normal monster. Ayin confirms it is an ancient bloodline that survived here for centuries. Sweating slightly, he asks if they are hunting it. Ayin laughs. Absolutely not impossible. That is exactly why she sent Bakiraga to track down a female. Her real prize is one of the males. The female oxbear sizes up suitors around her, then suddenly snaps, smashing one guy right in the face. Bam! She drops the second one, then wrecks the third. Vikir Van Baskerville thinks she is rejecting everyone to find an alpha male, but Ayin says he is wrong. She definitely does not want the strongest. The female strolls right up to the puniest oxbear there. That is his light bulb moment. She wants a wimpy mate she can easily boss around. Makes you think, right? Ayin drops the punchline, females pick weak males so they survive the brutal mating season. Stick with me here, you and I are about to learn some wild Balak mating rules. Young targets with good blood, perfect. Weak or hurt, even better. As those two bears wander off to mate, she casually mentions they just have to wait until the male is completely, utterly drained. Fast forward a few hours. Massive roars shake the entire forest. Vikir just looks totally exhausted and defeated. He knows exactly what that sound means, echoing straight out of that mountain cave. Honestly, he's been listening to these bears go at it for 3 whole days. Man is seriously questioning his life choices right now. Ayin double-checks if he gathered enough food for them. He nods, straight up admitting the only reason those bears stayed inside for 3 days is because he kept feeding them. See, these special fruits give a massive energy boost but literally drain your life force. The female bears, too smart for that. But the males, they'll inhale absolutely anything to keep up. While stirring the soup, Ian tells him to eat up. But Vikir zero focus. Those bears are still going absolutely crazy in that cave. Then she drops a bomb casually, saying it's totally normal. Vikir is stunned. She claims the men in her tribe act exactly like this, asking if his people are different. Suddenly, she leans in close, smirking, and asks if he thinks he can handle it. All right, stick with me here. Before she finishes, a massive roar shakes the cave. She tells him to get ready, noting the female is definitely securing a pregnancy now. The exhausted male literally collapses inside, but the female just roars and kicks him out. Ian explains that post-mating he is just another rival predator, so she chases him away permanently. Vikir Van Baskerville notes, the guy hasn't slept in 3 days. Now he needs a nap. He will hide to recover, and that is when their real hunt begins, tracking him while he sleeps. Later, the duo sneaks through the mountains. Exhausted as he is, Vikir keeps pushing. He quickly realizes they are hunting for a totally safe zone somewhere wild animals completely avoid. He admits that is incredibly smart. It feels less like raw instinct and way more calculated. The freezing cold up high bites hard, and our barely dressed protagonist is absolutely freezing right now. Seeing him shiver, Ian casually offers to let him snuggle closer for warmth. She claims the cold will worsen his pain and ruin his hunting. Vikir Van Baskerville admits that makes sense, though her sudden kindness totally surprises him, so he wraps his arms around her back, and she is secretly loving every second. She tries convincing herself she is strictly protecting her slave's health. Just a master doing her basic daily duties right. Suddenly, the wolf stops dead. It growls, locking eyes onto massive ox-bear tracks hitting the dirt. Now, pay close attention here. The tracks randomly vanish. Realizing the beast knows it is being tracked, she frantically scans the entire area. But she is way too late. She turns, and the massive ox-bear is right there ready to kill. Meanwhile, back at the Balak village, the entire tribe is partying hard over a wild boar. One guy brags that meat will feed everyone, while others whine about only catching 3 tiny rabbits. Ahun brought home the bacon, and he is already dreaming of becoming the next village captain. Hunters gossip that even Captain Ian cannot hunt forever alone. Someone mentions she took the slave, but Ahun just laughs, calling the guy completely useless with a busted knee. Back to Ian facing absolute disaster in the wild. Claws stop inches from her face. Right before impact, Vikir grabs her from behind and violently yanks her clear. The swipe is so insanely fast it slices her hair. Regardless, Vikir Van Baskerville barely saves them both. The wolf bares its fangs and charges. Still holding Ian tight, Vikir asks if she is all right. She stammers out a yes. Ian notes the bear totally knew they were tailing it. It might be tiny, but it is dangerously smart. He declares they have to fight. But Ian orders him to stay back and rest. She is about to prove she is a master truly worthy of him. From his hiding spot, Vikir questions her whole resting comment. Honestly, it looks like she plans to solo this entire monster. You and I know standard archery, right? Well, the Balak tribe fights entirely differently. Arrows fiercely slam into the ox-bear. Ian angrily screams that it humiliated her right in front of her slave. Before she shoots again, the beast ducks behind solid rock. Annoyed, she firmly declares that playing hide-and-seek will not work. No barrier blocks a true arrow. She fires straight at the giant stone. The arrow smacks the stone and bounces off. But that was just a clever distraction. A glowing aura strike magically pierces the beast, making it scream while vomiting blood. Vikir is absolutely speechless. Even completely hidden, her aura phased right through solid stone. This is definitely not your average archery. This is the skill of an ultimate predator. Honestly, her raw talent might actually surpass Camus Morgue. Dripping blood, the ox-bear looks totally defeated. Yet it desperately charges the girl who keeps launching arrows like an absolute machine. Even missing an eye, the raging beast refuses to drop. Ian claims her truth guides her arrows straight through walls to their prey. She draws her final shot, and the panicked bear definitely senses its fast approaching death. With a wild jerk, it miraculously dodges. The shot merely shatters a horn. Ian stands completely shocked. As the berserk bear charges her and the wolf, Ian takes a brutal hit, tumbling across the dirt. Bruised and battered, she somehow keeps her iron will totally intact. Her mother always warned her a monster near death gains insanely sharp, desperate survival instincts. She poured everything into that final attack. The second her guard dropped, the beast completely turned the tables. It creeps closer, suddenly looking absolutely massive. Ian braces herself, fully believing this is her gruesome end. Then Vikir casually steps up. He asks if her Master Pride showcase is finally over, preparing to punch the bear barehanded. Now it is his turn. He shoves his hand forward, activates Beelzebub, and blasts pure fire. Trust me, you and I will love what happens next. Stick with me here. Ian freezes, totally shocked by that flame. The bear is completely drained and Vikir just stands over it motionless. Watching him, she is honestly even more smitten, but get this, he is literally just acting tough. That last move drained him entirely, and he instantly drops unconscious as the bear finally falls. They return to the village at night, but absolutely nobody is resting right now. The entire camp is celebrating this epic hunt. Villagers pass around massive soup bowls while Ian explains that bagging the biggest prey earns you total respect and gratitude from everyone here. She asks our main character how it feels being the big hero, but he honestly could not care less. He keeps hyping it up. Ox bears are savage, brilliant, and crazy strong, making them the ultimate prize. Taking one down is way harder than hunting some basic wild boar. Then she looks at a hunter nearby and asks if that is actually true. Visibly annoyed, he hands our guy a bowl. Vikir asks why his portion is so tiny, and the guy grumbles it is because he already earned all the respect. That is just their wild banquet custom. The biggest contributor gets the least food but maximum honor. Vikir is not impressed, thinking actual meat beats useless honor any day. But hey, his real reward is not this meal. Now, watch this closely. After killing that bear, he completely stole its skill. Holding his breath increases his weight to 600 kilograms. But wait, there is more. Once Beelzebub devoured the monster, his body completely healed itself. Suddenly, Ian calls out, handing him another bowl. She says this should be enough, proudly admitting she swiped it from the shaman using her high hunter authority. Vikir insists he is totally full, but she stubbornly demands that he finishes it all. Logic is wild bad eyes, mean you eat the prey's eyes. And if your heart is weak, you gotta eat the exact matching monster part. The other women start teasing her, joking that she is way too worried about him making her romantic motives painfully obvious. He finally takes a bite. It is extremely chewy, and he absolutely hates it. Ian, on the other hand, is thrilled. She confidently tells him he can finally do his job now. Vikir has zero clue what she means, just staring back in pure confusion. Morning drops on the Balik village, and he is already up. He carefully studies a massive tree that got sliced perfectly clean through. Right on the side is a tiny smoking cut, proving exactly what she told him yesterday was actually the real deal. He suddenly remembers asking Ian why they left so much high-quality meat just sitting there. He mentioned their food shortage, but she interrupted, explaining it was a sacred offering for the Madam of Eight Legs, basically rent for living in this extremely dense forest. Remembering his last brutal encounter, Vikir realizes fighting that giant spider was completely reckless behavior. He firmly decides she is just a demonic, annoying pest. Later, wandering the village, he spots something super weird going down. A massive line of women is crowding outside a random cabin. He assumes it is some weird village ritual, especially hearing some girls have been waiting out there since way before sunrise. You and I both see the chaos brewing here. One woman whispers he will drop his slave title and pick a wife. Suddenly, someone crashes the party, stealing all the attention. Ian storms in, absolutely fuming that these women dared to mess with her personal property. These ladies do not care about monogamy, telling her to just use him first and pass him along. Ian completely refuses. She wants Vikir entirely to herself, zero sharing allowed. Flashing a lethal glare, she promises to end anybody who actually tries making a move. Once they back off, she angrily mutters they were acting like sneaky snakes, stealing her prize. She boldly adds that after feeding him that special dish, she fully expects him to do his manly job. But then she turns, realizing Vikir watched this entire embarrassing scene. He just stares back, deadpan, deeply terrified about what she actually fed him. Ian explains her mother assembled the elders, and thanks to his legendary hunt, he can literally ask for whatever he wants. She is acting so smug, convinced she knows his request. A little while later, they finally head inside the village chief's massive tent. The crusty elders sit left, the elite hunters sit right. Right in the middle, Vikir officially kneels before the legendary village chief. This insanely powerful woman observes him closely from her seat. She mentions hearing he single-handedly dropped the giant ox bear, and thanks to that, she gets to enjoy some absolute top-tier meat. She formally thanks him for the hard work, noting how impressively his battered body has recovered. Vikir politely agrees, though deep down he finds this familiar political situation pretty darn interesting. This Fox Knight, the genius archer who made the entire empire fear a tiny 300-person tribe, carries massive authority here. Surprisingly, her tone is super warm. She says it is reward time, offering to completely wipe away his lowly slave status forever. But right as she starts welcoming him into the family, that grumpy shaman from earlier violently objects. Our guy remembers hearing the council hated this idea. That elder who painted their faces is Aheman, the annoying grandfather of Ahun and Ahul. The chief declares him official tribe family. Trust me, we just got started. Let's dive right in. She wants to hear his wish. Since she didn't raise him, she's offering our guy a massive reward. Any woman in the village, done. She will make her his wife or personal servant immediately. Vikir spots his old master, signaling him, totally getting her hint. The chief notices too, assuming her daughter just fell head over heels for him, but our main character wants something else. He asks to bathe in the Spring of Heroes, absolutely stunning the elders. Ian looks absolutely thrilled though. But the chief's tone goes ice cold, asking if he even grasps what he just asked for. The shaman completely snaps at him, demanding to know who he thinks he is. Only legendary warriors can use the Spring of Heroes. Ian nods, agreeing that only those with proven strength get to enter. Ian argues taking down the ox bear proves it. The chief asks again if he gets the weight of this demand. Vikir calmly says yes. The Spring of Heroes is purely sacred, reserved for absolute legends. Its water heals both internal and external damage, but it gathers so slowly, which means only top-tier fighters ever get the chance to bathe there. One elder argues they cannot let a brand new tribe member use it, but another claims his insane potential makes the whole thing totally worth it. The chief actually seems ready to agree, but the furious shaman and his supporters fight back. Now watch closely, everything suddenly gets interrupted. A massive horn echoes across the tribe. Vikir asks about an attack, but Ian says no, just visitors. Nobody is dumb enough to attack the Balak. The chief delays the talk and dismisses everyone. The shaman elder is obviously furious about this delay, shooting him an absolutely deadly glare. Outside, a huge crowd gathers. Vikir asks about these visitors, spotting several Empire carriages, unloading massive piles of fresh food and vegetables. Ian explains they are merchants delivering rare goods the forest cannot ever provide, but our main character spots their crest immediately. It belongs to the legendary bourgeois clan. They belong in the imperial capital. How did they cross the scarlet lands of Baskerville and Morgue? If neither side allowed this, it is straight up smuggling. An elder yells out to start trading for the valuable goods, and just like that, the tribe begins bargaining. Vikir watches closely. He realizes the merchants brought cheap supplies, but they are trading basic grain for super rare materials from the dense forest. They definitely know exactly how valuable those items are. They are totally scamming people who do not understand true market prices. Still, that is a Balak tribe problem. Plus, getting recognized here would become a huge headache for him. Suddenly, Ian complains about the unfair deals. She asks how 1 diamond equals just a single ear of corn. You and I probably thought she figured it out, and Vikir is actually impressed. But that hope shatters. She proudly demands 2 ears of corn instead, honestly believing she scored a major deal. The others follow her lead, asking for slightly more. This really annoys the old merchant, but since he cannot argue with a tribe of elite warriors, he just sighs and hands it over. Even then, he secretly mocks them as absolute idiots who have zero clue about real-world prices. Right then, a little girl steps up trying to trade a dung beetle larva for a glass sleep aid ball. The seller immediately looks completely disgusted. He smacks the bug away, asking who would ever eat that garbage. Then he turns away, muttering that the kid might be dumb, but she is pretty. Whispers she'd sell high as a slave. Boom, Vikir grabs his head, telling him to freeze. Hearing perfect imperial language from this young man, the merchant freezes. Vikir loudly calls out his disgusting child trafficking comments. He offers to overlook it if the guy reverses every single crooked trade made today. Sweating, the merchant asks what crooked means. Vikir exposes how he took priceless treasures for absolutely nothing. Merchant fires back, claiming the Balak approved these sacred trades. Pointing at the corn, he tells the kid to stop meddling immediately. Vikir reveals each corn ear is 10 gold, while those diamonds are worth 2 million. Listing the actual value of every single traded item, he makes the merchant turn dead pale. This kid knows exactly what everything costs. Grabbing that glass ball, our main character explains it brings pleasant dreams, but it is actually a highly toxic drug. Its microscopic pores slowly release poison, completely destroying the user's body over time. He easily crushes it, stating the Empire banned these ages ago. Smuggled contraband, exposed in front of everyone, the merchant fully panics. A mustached warrior steps up, asking what is going on, realizing someone finally caught their scam. So what do you and I take from this? Even without speaking Imperial, he pieces it together. These exact traitors caused the tribe's sickness. Stick with me, let's jump right into the madness. The merchant plays dumb, but an arrow instantly punches through his shoulder. He screams in agony. Ian is absolutely furious, yelling at how they dared cheat the Balak. Instantly, the entire tribe realizes it's a massive scam. Writhing on the ground, the merchant realizes he's completely screwed. He screams at his men to drop everything and run. Vikir asks why Ian spared them, warning that greedy merchants never just forget lost money. Ian smirks, saying she never planned to let them live. Wound a beast in a pack, and it always runs straight back to its den. Sure enough, the shady merchants meet up with heavily armed mercenaries, prepping them for an all-out war. By nightfall, a tracking bird circles down and lands right on Ian. Still, seeing red over the insult, she declares, total annihilation is the only punishment. Meanwhile, the mercenary squad stalks quietly through the dark forest. Their leader scoffs at the merchant, saying he warned him about trusting barbarians. They should have just sold them off like cheap disposable tools instead. The smuggler realizes it's the leader's first forest trip, warning him that crushing the Balak won't be an easy fight. This just confuses the eye-patch mercenary, asking why the guy even hired them if he's shivering in fear. He bluntly reminds him the protection fee is paid, but the sweet loot belongs totally to the mercenary crew. That raw greed creeps the merchant out. He tells them to do whatever they want, while the eye-patch leader plots out the upcoming raid. Beside him, two mercenaries bicker, with one ordering the other to keep the match burning. The nervous guy whines that lighting 2 cigarettes from one flame brings bad luck. The other guy just laughs until an arrow pierces straight through his forehead. While the leader keeps bragging about selling captured Balak, the 2 men drop dead as another massive arrow whizzes right past his face. The merchant is already shaking when hot blood splatters across his face. The whole mercenary squad finally realizes they're under attack and frantically scrambles for cover. Watch closely here, this is pure genius. Miles away, Ayan directs her archers not to miss, while Vikir notes they aim using absolutely nothing but the faint glow of lit matches. A tribesman runs up carrying heavy barrels, saying he brought the exact supplies they requested. Meanwhile, the panicked mercenaries tighten up to block the arrows. Roped arrows suddenly shoot into the trees and barrels get strung up above them. More arrows hit the ropes, leaving heavy barrels dangling right over the mercenaries as they wonder if they're explosives. They get their terrifying answer when thick, sticky liquid pours down. Boom. Flaming arrows strike the oil, and a massive fireball engulfs the mercenaries. They burn instantly while the coward merchant hides way back. He absolutely can't believe these so-called barbarians pulled off a trap this genius. Then he senses someone behind him, the exact same brat who ruined everything. Terrified, he warns Vikir he'll deeply regret it if he attacks. He nervously pulls out a city permit officially stamped by the new vice-consul. I know you've been waiting for this. That paper makes our main character pause. With a dead-cold stare, he casually mentions, that's strange because he definitely doesn't remember signing it. The merchant finally realizes exactly who he's dealing with, but before he can even blink, brutal arrows rain down on him. Vikir shoots them himself coldly, stating this is the ultimate price for forging a Baskerville seal. Ayan charges in on her giant wolf, yelling at him to move. The hiding mercenaries suddenly notice the arrow storm has stopped. One guy finds it weirdly quiet. They actually start laughing, thinking the Balak ran away because they couldn't handle a real fight. Then something colossal rises from the dark forest. It's the Madame, spreading her massive limbs and tearing through trees. From a safe distance, Vikir hears their agonizing screams as Ayan praises his genius plan to lure the Madame right to them. Our hero admits he feels the exact same chill every single time he sees her. That thing isn't just a monster, it's a walking natural disaster. Later on, the chief finally grants our guy access to the Spring of Heroes. He completely fixed the food crisis, fought bravely, and exposed why the warriors were falling sick. Considering all those massive achievements, she calls him a true warrior and mentions that tonight is a full moon. She sends her daughter to guide Vikir to the spring. Walking there, the girl looks thrilled. The grumpy elder can't complain about him anymore. He called the sickness a curse, so he's basically a joke now. That reminds Vikir of the merchant claiming the shaman approved their trade. Later, deep inside the mystic forest, he relaxes in the spring. Even the wild animals are soaking in it. The magic water works so insanely well, his mana clears up, and his battered bones literally click right back into place. It's slightly weaker than his childhood river, but amazing since anyone can use it. But honestly, the relaxing vibe gets totally ruined, because Ayan is casually bathing right beside him. Like a true barbarian, she doesn't care at all. This spring exists because Lord Adonai discovered it first. So what do you and I learn here? Adonai fought the Madame alone, becoming the absolute greatest warrior in Balak history. Stick with me now that he is officially tribe. She tells him to honor their ancestor before completely blushing. She remembers her mother saying that once he fully heals up inside this sacred spring of heroes, he will be ready to be a real man. Looking at him with pure desire, she decides tonight is the night he finally becomes hers. Trying to set the mood, Ayan claims she always knew those greedy merchants were totally scamming them, so this was perfect payback. The main character just gives a small smile, making her incredibly flustered. She knows diamonds are worth way more than mere corn, but she tries playing it cool until he reveals exactly how much corn one diamond buys. That massive number literally makes her jump. She literally cannot fathom what makes a shiny rock so expensive. Vikir calmly replies, it does not matter. He then asks if she will use his actual name or just call him slave-hating vague relationships. She hesitates. Thinking it over, she stays quiet, scoots a bit closer, and asks if ambiguity really bothers him. Lifting his chin, she boldly declares she will not call him either of those things. You and I both feel the pain here. She leans in, but splashing kids completely ruin it. Run right up to them, while Vikir and Ayan just stare, wondering how these brats even got here. Our guy is still stuck wondering what exactly she planned to call him instead. Ayan screams that the healing spring will lose its power, but he smirks, reminding her a true Balak warrior would not care. A hound shows up explaining the matriarch sent sick kids to cool down. Ayan gets absolutely furious hearing that. She knows her mother is totally trolling her. Then Ahun actually thanks Vikir for saving his sister and apologizes for doubting him. Vikir just casually says it is fine. Ahun gets so mad at that dry response. Ayan smiles, knowing she has time, then officially congratulates our boy on becoming a true Balak. 2 whole years pass. Suddenly Ahun takes a devastating punch and eats the dirt. The guy who hit him stares coldly while every other warrior stands totally frozen. The winner calls Ahun weak. Boom, it is Vikir, now 17 and looking like an absolute beast. Ahun begs for a rematch, but our protagonist bluntly says the fight is over. As he casually strolls into the deep forest, the other warriors whisper about how he became a literal monster. Another points out his archery matches their commander. Someone jokes that even they could make Ahun bleed with a solid punch. We both missed the craziest detail. Ahun admits the punch never even touched his face. Just the pure wind pressure from his swing sent him flying. Deep in the woods, Vikir looks tired. Still, he realizes he can use the 6th fang perfectly. Those smashed rocks prove his insane power. Reaching the 10th form will take time, but mastering the 6th at 17 epic. Plus, he has 6 mana circles. That puts him on par with high-level graduators. With his demon sword, he could destroy top-tier enemies. Glancing to the side, Vikir realizes 2 whole years have vanished since he entered this jungle. He wonders if he should finally say goodbye to the tribe. Nearby, Ayan's wolf spots a butterfly. It ignores the bug, focusing entirely on a giant mushuhushu snake's scent trail. Vikir says the massive beast could feed them for 4 days. But then he notices Ayan completely zoning out. He asks why her head is in the clouds. She awkwardly claims another hunting party had a question. Knowing she is lying, he watches her pull out a dagger. She says an Imperial outsider dropped it. She asks if he recognizes the emblem, and he absolutely does. It belongs to Leviathan, one of the 7 great Imperial clans, just like his. She initially thought it was merchant gear, until the intruders started pouring mysterious red liquid everywhere. Her squad actually captured one, but the guy literally chose death over spilling any secrets. Vikir just glares at the blade until she snaps him out of it with more news. He bluntly asks if he wants to go home, revealing another Imperial outsider showed up a few days ago. That totally stuns him, realizing they are probably hunting for him right now. Ayan gets super serious. She says a woman has been tracking his exact footsteps since that crazy madam fight. So what do you and I think? Looking heartbroken, she assumes he is leaving with that woman forever. Stick with me. She considers using tribal rules, but knows it is completely pointless. To her shock, Vikir admits he actually doesn't want to go back. That answer lights her up. Wait, seriously? He confirms it, and she breaks into this massive smile. She hugs her wolf, so incredibly relieved he's staying. But quietly, Vikir knows the cold truth. He absolutely cannot return until he is stronger than Hugo. Did the clan move on, or are outside forces involved? If they allowed a search party, their alliance is definitely holding strong. Vikir, his death definitely changed things. No matter what, he urgently needs to check the outside world. But before he can even blink, boom. A massive fish explodes from the water, jump-scaring them both. This absolute monster is the size of a great white crashing down right there. A demonic beast, Ayan explains. These giants mean heavy rains are coming. But then Vikir spots something way more critical. There is an arrow piercing the creature. Naturally, they slice the fish right open to investigate. Inside, human bones. The grim remains of a guy swallowed alive who fought back desperately. Ayan checks the clothes, definitely Rococo tribe. Judging by that twisted pose, the poor guy panicked hard while being digested, which makes 0 sense since these fish are scavengers. Vikir guesses the man was so weak the fish got confused, but that sparks a massive red flag. Why would someone that weak hunt unless his tribe was doomed? Fearing the worst, they head out to investigate. A few hours later, they reach a new settlement. Now, watch with me, this is where it gets dark. The whole village is wrecked. Every single warrior dead. Checking a corpse, Vikir notices strange red marks while Ayan spots another creepy detail. It is past dinner time, but there is 0 smoke. Moving in, they find bones hanging everywhere and a completely abandoned silent camp. Vikir finds it incredibly suspicious, not a single living presence left. Even the overgrown grass proves this place has been empty for ages. Did they relocate? Ayan wonders, stepping into a random hut. Suddenly, a nasty swarm of flies erupts, completely spooking her. Inside lies a barbarian dead and totally alone. She yells that she found a body, and Vikir finds one too. Looking closely, those nasty red spots jog his memory. It is a plague from his past life, the Red Death. An absolutely devastating disease that wiped out thousands of barbarians and humanoids. Ayan totally panics, screaming it is a divine curse and they need to run. Vikir calmly explains it is just a highly infectious disease. Somehow that scares her even worse. She immediately glues herself to his side so he won't die. Vikir inspects the scene. The healthy likely abandoned the sick and bolted. He decides to loot the tents for absolutely anything useful. Left totally alone, Ayan gets the creeping chills. She senses a horrifying presence, whips around, and lets out a massive scream. Vikir instantly sprints back, asking what is wrong, only to find her yelling about the curse. She is pointing at a little girl, terrified she's a cursed child. Vikir, cool as a cucumber, he steps right up while Ayin is frozen from a literal cramp. The kid does not look rococo at all, and she seems to be barely 5 years old. She looks absolutely heartbroken too. There is a tiny fresh grave right behind her. Vikir asks for her story, learning she was a tribal slave. Gently asking her name, she quietly replies Pomeranian, which is undeniably an imperial name. You and I both know what's coming, right? Her family name is Baskerville. Stunned, he asks her to repeat it. She repeats it perfectly. She is Pomeranian Baskerville. Here is the lore drop. The clan uses Van for branch members like Vikir and less for main house men. Main house women also get less, but it is incredibly rare since the family is overwhelmingly male, which means this tiny little girl is actually a direct descendant of Hugo. Vikir knows there cannot be many kids with that name. Then Ayin points out a crucial detail. She is wearing a necklace bearing the Baskerville crest. He grabs it, immediately startling her, but what's inside leaves him completely shaken. It is a family photo. And one of the faces, Hugo, his own father. Vikir cannot wrap his head around why. The kid is trembling from his sudden reaction. Staring intensely, he demands to know her connection to the people in this picture. Ayin quickly cuts in. No kid is going to answer that intense glare. He needs to try smiling first. Vikir knows she is totally right. Swallowing his shock, he gently asks about the photo again, forcing a super awkward smile to calm her down. Ayin just stares, completely shocked. He even knows how to smile. Finally, the little girl speaks up. She says the people in the picture are her mother, grandfather, and grandmother. So what do we make of this? It unlocks a memory of the hallway butler. Let's dive right in. Believe it or not, Hugo used to be super gentle. He adored his first wife Roxana, but her tragic death did not break him. The real nightmare, barbarians completely kidnapping his precious daughter Penelope. Hugo went absolutely insane searching. He dragged his troops to the borders, unleashing hunting hounds everywhere. But despite all that desperate searching, Penelope totally vanished without a single trace. Years dragged on. Without knowing if she survived or died, Hugo's heart turned to ice. His hatred for barbarians became absolute rage. Vikir always thought that rumor was exaggerated madness until this little girl proved it real. Penelope was Roxana's child, which makes this tiny kid Hugo's actual literal granddaughter. Now pay attention, because this is wild. Hugo already treats his own kids like weapons. What happens when he finds out she has barbarian blood? Our MC gently pats her head, realizing those Rococo guys probably treated her like absolute garbage. He softly invites her along. Pomeranian flinches, totally spooked by genuine kindness, while Vikir awkwardly wonders if his smile looks completely creepy right now. He mutters his eyes and hair match her mom's. He explains it is a classic Baskerville trait, meaning they share family blood. The adorable kid calls him uncle. Taking one last look, she stares at her mom's grave. Her mother's final warning echoes in her head. If a red-eyed man ever appeared, she had to follow him, no questions asked. Vikir watches her nervously step up. She grabs his shirt tightly and agrees to go with him, two broken souls finally connecting. A few days pass and the kid settles into his cabin, curiously asking where the heck he is going. She runs straight into his arms, and he mentions a meeting with the tribe leader. Hugging her, he wonders if she hates being alone. It is super cute, but honestly, parenting is way harder than fighting monsters. Out of options, he just wraps her in a warm cloak and piggybacks her there. He knows the wild Balik village is not right for her. She needs proper imperial culture. The master plan: leave the woods, hit the city, and beg Chihuahua for a favor. Arriving at the leader's cabin, she asks if a plague hit. With the rainy season approaching, dirty water could spread sickness like crazy and ruin everything. Suddenly, the angry shaman yells that it is absolutely not a plague, it is a curse. Only a massive sacrifice can fix it. Ayin claps back, refusing the curse nonsense and demanding they relocate the village. The stubborn elders instantly disagree. They refuse to ditch their holy land. The youth panic about the kids. What good is tradition if everyone drops dead? Old boomers versus new logic, the classic fight drags on. Ultimately, the heavy choice lands squarely on the tribe leader's shoulders. I know what you're thinking, sounds bad, right? Vikir remembers this Red Death. It almost completely annihilated the Empire back then. The infection was stupidly fast. The Empire only survived because Camus literally built a massive firewall. Saint Dolores from the Holy Clan also spammed her divine magic to cleanse the sick. Her magical healing stopped at the borders. The mountain barbarians died off, which ironically became a massive win for the Baskervilles. With the barbarians wiped out, feral monsters spawned everywhere and totally started slaughtering random villagers. Since the Baskervilles defended that border, Hugo totally milked the disaster to grab insane amounts of political power. Vikir suddenly raises a hand demanding attention. He casually claims he can stop the Red Death, doing it purely to sabotage Hugo's future success. A bit later, a goblin gets dangled upside down by its legs. They dunk it into water, dragging it out right before it drowns. Bam, covered in nasty red spots. Ian admits Vikir was right. Every single monster they dunked got heavily infected. Vikir states the nasty water causes the sickness, meaning they absolutely must boil it. But staring at the leftover test subjects, he seriously doubts if boiling is completely enough. Moments later, another screaming goblin hits the boiling pot. Ayen totally panics, yelling that it instantly died. Vikir sighs, telling her to cool the water first. They dunk the last two, and shockingly, neither catches the disease. Science wins today. Boiled water is perfectly safe. Even the grumpy tribe leader gives him some massive respect. Thanks to our guy, they finally catch a break. But he kills the mood. Do not relax. This disease can go fully airborne. Despite the MC casually saving everyone, one bitter guy is still complaining. Shocker, it is the shaman. He complains the rainy season is hitting, so just boiling water will not work. Vikir completely agrees. It pours, the river overflows, and damp air spreads the infection fast. They desperately need to move, but the arguing starts all over. A bunch of them refuse to ditch the holy ground. Our guy smirks, claiming they can actually move without abandoning it. Months fly by, and the brutal rainy season hits hard. The river explodes, turning everything into a massive swamp. That is where we leave it today. Trust me, the elders are terrified. The whole forest drowns, but the village stays perfectly safe. Guys are screaming to pull those ropes tight, locking down ladders that lead up to massive raised platforms. Stick with me here because the whole village just moved up into the trees, bridging every house together. Everyone is super relieved that they survived the crazy rainstorm. They are throwing all their thanks at Vikir, treating him like their absolute savior. Our main guy realizes these giant trees actually ended up being a massive cheat code. Little girl happily yells she wants to stay with her uncle. But suddenly something catches his eye. He spots a beast creeping up on two totally distracted guys. Suddenly, a massive snake explodes from the water, but an arrow snipes it out of nowhere. Ian took the shot, completely annoyed this cocky monster even tried it. Looking at the beast, Vikir asks if it is a mushusu. Ian explains this thing has bossed the area for years, and the tribe calls it Ka. The monster goes berserk, completely trashing the walkways connecting their new tree houses. Seeing this ugly snake ruin their hard work, Vikir dashes in, charging his fist with crazy aura. Blade drawn, he is about to teach this thing some serious manners. He drops the 6th Baskerville technique, landing an absolutely devastating slash right on the beast. Now watch closely. The monster screams in pain, and realizing it is totally outmatched, the overgrown beast finally turns around and tries to run. It slides back into the deep water while Vikir glares. Those two clueless guys barely grab a tree branch before taking a deadly swim. Instantly, the whole tribe goes wild, cheering for our overpowered hero, who chased the monster away. They are calling him the ultimate hero of the Balak tribe, but the grumpy elder is clearly fuming over all this hype for Vikir. Meanwhile, our wild waifu is staring at him totally smitten. Fast forward and we are back at his cabin. Dinner is served and the little niece he rescued is happily munching away. Ian is just chilling there, enjoying the food. They both hype up Vikir's amazing cooking skills, but he just stares silently. Ian admits she was not invited but could not resist the incredible smell. Watching them argue, the little kid points out they literally look like a married couple. This makes Ian insanely happy, hugging the kid and calling her precious. Vikir is just sitting there, confused about when they became best friends. Suddenly, a cold wind interrupts the funny moment. He turns his head and catches someone walking right into the cabin. Ayen glares hard, demanding to know what he wants. It is Ahun standing there, completely drenched from the storm. With tears pouring down his face, he begs Vikir, saying our hero saved the village so many times he has to do it just one more time. He desperately asks him to save his sister from the terrifying Red Death. The two of them sprint straight over to Ahun's place. Inside, Vikir finds her incredibly weak and barely moving. Seeing how bad it is, he immediately asks how long she has been like this. Ahun thinks she caught the infection gathering swampwood. Ayen chimes in, saying the poor girl is so sweet and always helps the tribe. Before he can answer, someone violently barges in. I know what you are thinking, this guy again. The elder is furious that his grandson ran to an outsider, screaming that she is suffering because of the Empire spy. Vikir and Ayen watch nervously as the toxic old man literally slaps his grandson, yelling that he is a total disgrace to his parents. Popping his umbrella open, the grumpy old man delivers his final warning. He claims it is a curse that needs a sacrifice. He demands his grandson stop trusting the Empire spy, bragging that the chief will finally side with him. Ahun just stands there sobbing with a bright red cheek, but then Vikir steps up. He drops a bombshell. There is a cure. He tells Ahun to scrub everything she touched with boiling hot water. Next, burn mugwort leaves to chase the bugs off. That will buy them just enough time to get the cure, and Ahun immediately jumps into action. Ayen nervously asks if he can actually save her life. Vikir nods but says he is going to need her help. To pull this off, he has to leave the village. The cure is only found out in the open world. Our wild waifu snaps, saying this is not a joke. He belongs to the tribe now and cannot just casually walk back to the Empire whenever he feels like it. Vikir is fully aware, and he also knows the chief is definitely going to let the sick girl die. That is why Ayen has to keep her mouth shut so he can sneak out and back in. Looking dead serious, he asks if she can handle the secret. Seeing how serious he is, she hesitates, looking completely torn. Cut to later, and the flood is still absolutely shredding the forest. Someone dashes across the river, jumping on floating logs like a ninja. It is Vikir speeding toward the Empire carrying gear on his back. But mid-jump his ridiculous senses tingle. He freezes instantly, looks over his shoulder and asks why someone is tailing him. The stalker is Ayen. He asks if she is here to stop him, but she actually wants to tag along even though he warns she will just drag him down. At the very least, she begs him to leave Pomeranian behind. So where does that leave us? Even knowing his dark Empire ties, she just needs to understand one single thing. Stick with me here. Just as she tries speaking, she realizes her life has been completely tied to his since the very first day. But honestly, despite all their warm moments, she never actually worked up the nerve to ask. Surviving crazy adventures and close calls, she is terrified he might just disappear. So with a heavy heart, she finally asks the big question. Is he actually coming back? She squeezes her eyes shut, bracing for a no. But then he says yes, he will return, and the tears just fall. But the second she looks up, he is completely gone. Now all she can do is just pray he actually keeps that promise. A bit later, we jump over to our main character's mansion in Underdog City. Inside, Chihuahua lets out this heavy sigh. It is already pitch black outside, and his paperwork is nowhere near finished. Staring out the window, he misses how lively things used to be. He just cannot accept that his young master might actually be dead. Looking totally pathetic, Chihuahua mutters how much he misses him. Suddenly, a voice drops in saying he is right here. Watch this part. The supposedly dead guy is hanging upside down right in front of him. Chihuahua is absolutely losing his mind, thinking he is seeing ghosts. Dropping to the windowsill, Vikir casually asks how his favorite secretary has been. After barely calming down, the poor secretary stammers, asking if he actually fought a forest monster. Did he get badly hurt and wind up joining a wild barbarian tribe over it? He is still half convinced this is a ghost. Vikir finally gets why he was freaking out, simply smiling that his secretary hasn't changed. Hearing that the overly loyal secretary bursts into ugly tears, just so relieved he is actually alive. But a second later, he spots the kid wildly assuming she is the main character's baby with a barbarian. Vikir quickly shuts that down. They share a bloodline, hence the looks, but it is nothing like Chihuahua thinks. He orders him to babysit little Pomeranian and teach her the basics. Sure, raising a kid while managing city stuff is going to be brutal. Then he orders him to find Cindy Wendy. Chihuahua freezes, realizing that is the exact criminal he let escape 2 years ago. Panicking, he asks how to track her down. Vikir simply reminds him of that time he gave 10 billion to a certain girl. Since nobody is helping her out, she should be super easy to approach, and probably still carrying the child. If she refuses, just say the boss is alive. Chihuahua agrees, asking when the young master will actually return. Vikir says he has unfinished business, recalling his promise to Ayen. Honestly, curing the Red Death might be pretty simple. He just needs a single drop of holy water from that clan. So his next move, totally obvious. With absolute resolve, he states he is heading straight for the sacred Quo Vadis clan. Soon after, 2 guards are seen watching the castle entrance. Suddenly, they spot a wagon rolling up. They immediately lower their spears to block the cart, demanding to do a quick security check. First up, they verify the driver is just Joseph, the grumpy old guy running the oil shop on the first floor. Then they walk over to the barrels, asking to see inside. The old man instantly panics, complaining that they know him and asking if this is really necessary. I know what you're thinking, he is caught right. The guard says orders are orders, stepping up to a barrel, deciding to pop it open. He randomly picks one. As he slowly lifts the heavy lid, old man Joseph starts sweating buckets, clearly terrified about this specific barrel. The knight pries it open, glaring suspiciously inside. He spots something dark, but nope, it is literally just oil, exactly like Joseph claimed. The guard clears the driver to pass, and the old man looks ridiculously relieved. He even welcomes him to St. Mecca, the shining holy city. Once they are safely rolling through town, Joseph taps a barrel, whispering that the coast is clear. Smash A hand violently punches through the lid, making the old man jump even though he fully knew someone was hiding inside. The shattered wood hits the floor, and out climbs a super intimidating masked man dressed entirely in black. Completely drenched in black oil, he is rocking this creepy plague doctor mask in total silence. The driver nervously stammers that he kept his end of the bargain by sneaking him in, begging to leave. The masked guy simply tells him to wait casually, tossing over the promised boar bear teeth. He immediately vanishes into the city's dark alleys. The merchant just stares, mind blown that this dude stayed completely submerged in thick oil for 2 whole hours. No normal human survives that. Soon after, the masked man, definitely Vikir, stands on a rooftop scouting the entire city. Pulling off that mask, he lets out a breath, admitting that was the longest he has ever stayed submerged. His old record was only 7 minutes in the deadly River Styx. But hey, it worked. He successfully infiltrated Quo Vadis' territory. Saint Mecca is their capital, packed with 160,000 people. But under the church's iron fist, any human desire and greed are completely crushed. You could drop pure gold in the streets and citizens would ignore it. That is how hard they are brainwashed to maintain absolute order. Suddenly, a huge bell echoes. Vikir remembers the core rule: when that tower rings, every single person stops to pray. Like clockwork, the whole city freezes to worship. He just walks through the crowd, and honestly, you and I are both wondering how anyone survives here. You and I are jumping right into the madness. Still masked tonight, he hits a well and dumps a strange liquid straight in. The red death spreads through blood, sweat, and tears. Just one single touch from the infected is all it takes to catch it. Yeah, it's extreme. But time is ticking, and since this is holy ground, the church better react before people start dropping dead. Suddenly, some local kids spot him and demand to know who he is. Whisper about the weird guy at the well, and one shy kid nervously suggests they back off. But Vikir spins around, locking eyes with them, and warns them to listen close. He says the well is totally cursed, and anyone who drinks from it will instantly die. He makes absolutely sure they remember that. Absolutely terrified, the kids think he's an actual ghost and sprint away, totally convinced he cursed their water. He just stands there, satisfied they won't drink it. Then bam, he stabs a dagger into the dirt, framing the Leviathan clan, a family famous for their deadly poisons. With this perfect setup, they'll totally take the fall for spreading the deadly plague around. Since they already hate the Holy Clan, this is going to spark an all-out war. Boom, his brilliant trap is finally set. Now pay close attention here. Vikir realizes the saint is about to show up, and thinks maybe he should meet Saint Dolores first. Outside the castle gates, a massive crowd of worshippers is gathering. Some just want a glimpse of the resting saint, while others are begging for miracle cures. Suddenly, a voice echoes from behind the heavy doors, asking why everyone is gathering so late at night. A blonde guy steps up, proudly introducing himself as the Lord of Dortus and the eldest son of the famous Jonathan clan. Another long-haired dude flexes that he owns the Ipsum group and knights for Count Boston. Then an old guy begs for a cure, offering straight-up prime real estate in exchange. Hearing all this endless bragging, the saint immediately shuts it down. She flat out says she doesn't care about their titles and isn't opening the gates tonight. She orders the whole crowd to pack it up, but one guy refuses to leave Vikir. He flashes back to his past life, remembering the saint covered in blood, desperately trying to heal the wounded on the battlefield. He knows money and power mean nothing to her. So when she asks who he is, our MC drops to his knees, playing the part of a poor lost lamb. Heavy silence completely fills the air. Then the massive castle gate slowly swings open entirely, bathed in brilliant golden light. The saint invites him inside. Walking through the insane grand castle, Vikir casually approaches a giant angel statue right by the fountain. Wildly enough, the saint's voice echoes straight out of that statue, asking exactly how he lost his way. Realizing she refuses to meet face to face, our MC admits that totally makes sense. I mean, he looks incredibly sketchy right now. Holding out a water pouch with both hands, he claims he's reporting a deadly plague outbreak, and even brought some samples for her to test. You saw this coming, right? The statue goes dead silent. Then the doors slam shut and she bluntly calls him a liar. Instantly, armored guards flood the grand castle halls, completely circling our MC. But Vikir, he just stands there chilling in total silence. He casually jokes that she treats her guests pretty rough. A guy holding a Bible, obviously the knight commander, steps up to demand his real identity. Our boy knows him perfectly. This guy trusted him endlessly on the battlefield in his past life, yet could act crueler than actual demons for the sake of justice. He's literally the one who taught MC those brutal torture tricks he used back in Underdog City. Peter points at his sketchy outfit, ordering him to rip off the mask and reveal his face, but our guy flat out refuses. A razor-sharp object suddenly whips right past his face, lightly slicing his mask. The mage declares he can't just let a walking red flag leave. Seeing paper magically turn into a deadly weapon, MC smirks. Peter still loves using weird gear. Then Peter points the finger, accusing him of starting the plague simply because he was the very first guy to bring news about it. Our MC asks why he'd ever do something like that. Peter shoots back that it was obviously to bait the saint out, launching more magic cards his way. Peter says they can chat more in prison. Vikir dodges lightning fast, keeping one hand coolly planted on his hat. Completely avoids using his aura, knowing it would instantly expose him as a Baskerville, and just gracefully leaps and slips past every single strike. Then he rushes the knight. He launches a brutal kick straight at Peter's face, but the commander barely manages to block it. Peter winces, saying it felt like blocking an actual falling boulder. Strength like that definitely doesn't belong to a nobody. Then he forcefully hurls Vikir backward through the air. MC smirks, realizing the weight boost he got from killing that monster oxbear is way better than expected. The second his boots hit the floor, he charges again. He unleashes a crazy flurry of heavy punches, but Peter frantically guards using his holy Bible. Still, Peter starts sweating, realizing things are going sideways. The masked man is obviously charging something up in his palm. A massive blast of fire erupts toward him. The roaring flames catch the holy Bible burning straight through the thick pages. Peter panics and drops it while Vikir just stands there totally calm and unbothered. He casually asks if Peter really wants to keep doing this. Clenching his fists tight, Peter finally admits this enemy is absolutely no ordinary guy. That only makes him way more determined to stop this guy, so he violently charges again. Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. Vikir just kicks that burning Bible straight into Peter's face, completely throwing him off. Now pay attention here because everything suddenly shifts. Our MC finds an opening, charging his fist with pure mana and blasting Peter straight into a statue, completely shattering it. Blood sprays everywhere. Seeing their commander get completely wrecked, the guards freak out for a split second before forming a tight defensive wall around him. Vikir realizes these guys aren't backing off, so he immediately braces for round 2, but before absolute chaos breaks out, the Saint steps in, demanding everyone freeze. A young blonde girl with striking emerald eyes. First thing out of her mouth, she asks if he's the lost lamb who came looking for her. He nods instantly, confirming this is the famous Saint Dolores. She just smiles, teasing that he looks way more like a bruised little puppy than a lamb. A guard immediately barks back, "No puppy, this guy is a straight-up bloodthirsty wolf." But Dolores just silences him and orders some tea. She turns toward her room, demanding a private chat with our MC. Fast forward a bit, and they're sitting at a table loaded with snacks. They face off across the table with Peter glaring daggers at Vikir. In his head, Vikir remembers she's supposed to be just 16 years old. Sipping her tea like nothing happened, she reminds him of the brutal demon war. Back then, she was right on the front lines, healing the wounded and saving countless lives. Every single warrior who ever crossed paths with her showed absolute respect. And now that exact same legend is sitting right here complaining about her stress levels. She admits she studies at the Imperial Academy, currently taking a much-needed break from school and annoying family drama. But despite that, selfish nobles and merchants flood her gates all day. They mostly just want fixes for their drug habits, not actual life-saving miracles. She genuinely sighs, wondering why humanity only ever cares about what's right in front of them. Vikir fires back smoothly. Theology is literally about understanding human nature, so it makes sense. He's totally shocked he knows that old quote. But our MC cuts to the chase. The deadly epidemic in the city sewers is way more important right now. You and I both felt that shift right. Dolores goes ice cold, straight up asking if he caused this infected water. Vikir just scoffs. Why on earth would he warn her if he did it? Knowing she won't just trust him, he starts gathering his energy to show undeniable proof. This sudden movement completely spooks Peter. He jumps right in front of the Saint, making her flinch hard. Suddenly, glowing green mana particles float into the air, wrapping around our MC. He calmly states he despises hurting innocent people, especially in his own homeland. Dolores is absolutely mind-blown. Divine power. She instantly asks if he's a follower of Lum. He totally dodges the question, explaining that shady guys were dumping that toxic liquid underground. She demands to know why anyone would do something so evil. Vikir explains it's a calculated move to ruin the family, and he knows exactly who profits from the chaos. Rolling out a massive map, he jams his finger right on the Leviathan clan. They are literally the only ones with the resources to make and weaponize this poison. He's convinced the Leviathans are using the 6 citizens as lab rats to harvest research samples, and the bourgeois family, definitely involved. These rich elites know money survives plagues, so they're using the mass panic to monopolize new businesses. Vikir is dead certain Leviathan created the Red Death, and those greedy merchants are funding the spread, and that is exactly why they're behind this entire nightmare. When he looks up, Dolores and Peter are just staring at him, jaws completely dropped. Dolores admits his theory makes terrifyingly perfect sense. She's stunned by his precision, finally demanding to know who he actually is. Vikir introduces himself as the Night Hound. Peter mutters that the edgy name totally fits, while Dolores agrees. His crazy intel is highly probable. She immediately orders Peter to investigate this outbreak and report to her father. Vikir smirks internally. Meeting the Saint was a massive stroke of luck. That's where we leave it. She keeps watching him, wondering how a guy who crushed her holy knights feels so deeply broken. Wild story, right? Alright, stick with me here. She studies him closer, sensing a beastly soul smelling of blood, oil, and steel. Right under all that violence, she feels buried rage and wild hatred born from total agony. But honestly, beneath everything else, she just senses intense sadness. Making her wonder yet again, who is he really? Later on, sick green fog swallows the city. Inside a tiny chapel, desperate women cry because the Saint finally showed up. A nun begs her to stop the plague. Dolores freezes. The Night Hound was actually telling the truth. Vikir just stays quiet and watches. Mentally, he apologizes for dragging civilians into this mess. But hey, no children are here, so his scare tactics definitely worked out. The plague is still early, leaving him no choice but to trust the saint. Walking toward the sick, Dolores softly tells them not to panic. Lum's holy love will heal them. Then she starts praying, a single tear rolling down her cheek. Exact second it drops, blinding light pours out, totally filling the cathedral where the sick are gathered. Soon enough, the infected people are completely healed. Red spots vanish. The nuns just stare, completely stunned by this literal miracle. Let's dive right into this. Vikir remembers this exact power, knowing he must bring the saint's holy water miracle straight to the forest. A few hours later, Dolores sits in her room, marking key map spots by candlelight. She realizes divine power only treats the current patients. It definitely won't stop new cases. If infections keep spreading, someone carrying the actual disease has to still be out there. She stares at a virus vial from a patient. After studying the fluids, she found out these victims die slowly, suffering absolute agony for a long time. This plague is pure evil. To wipe it out, she needs to purify way deeper. She thinks about creating a concentrated holy drop, but there is zero time to brainstorm. More patients desperately need her. Suddenly, a huge wave of nausea. She collapses from a headache. Dolores realizes it is anemia, probably from spamming her divine power. Still, she pushes forward. She can still move and people need help. Entering the room, a whole group greets her. Now, watch this closely. It is those exact same guys from Dawn suddenly offering to help. Dolores instantly asks why. They claim they cannot leave a noble lady in this filth, bringing 3 whole carts of supplies, but they keep talking total trash while helping. Dolores ignores them and just walks away. Before leaving, she flat out says their selfish motives are obvious. After she leaves, the men start gushing about her beauty. But that arrogant mood totally vanishes once they actually reach the patient cabins. The horrible scene is way too much for these stuck-up nobles. While a patient gets treated, they just complain about the smell, caring way more about their fancy shoes than human lives. They actually beg the priest to treat them first, terrified of the disease. She totally expected this. Taking charity is a sin, and these guys are clueless. The sick need real compassion, not arrogance. True sacrifice brings you closer to God. Moving deeper into the tents, she reaches the very end. She knows the absolute worst cases are here. Apologizing for being late, her holy steps literally cleanse the ground. Entering the inner tent, someone shouts for saline. A man grabs a scalpel and gets straight to work. The priests are completely shocked. After treating patients for hours, they start realizing divine power might not be the only answer. He makes a tiny cut, sealing it with divine power, while directly attacking the sickness. The doctors realize he isn't just blessing the surface. He is injecting power straight into the infection. You know exactly who this is, right? It is the Hound Baskerville's hunting dog. She never expected him to master both medicine and holy power. While rapidly treating patients, he thinks about how divine energy works. To him, a priest just sends a prayer, and God literally answers by lending power. The amount depends totally on faith. 1 unit of divine power equals 1 miracle. 10 units mean 10 miracles. He knows how to get 10 miracles from 1. In the apocalypse, monsters were everywhere, but the injured count was even worse. Divine power was never enough, so God gave a completely new answer. Shaped by desperate clerics, a brand new rule for miracles was finally born. Even if borrowing power had a massive cost, people could use whatever their physical bodies could handle. This became known as advanced divine power, forged during the Monster Wars. It was basically an act of pure faith. Even regular fighters could use divine power against beasts. You could even use it after dying. A child cries out for their sick mother. He promises to help her soon. Checking her over, he realizes she is actually starving. He gives the kid money for food, but a priest instantly snaps, yelling that material help is forbidden. He warns that giving cash means people will just keep begging until every coin is gone. Vikir coldly asks how it never ends if his pockets clearly do. If needed, he will drop every single coin. He immediately focuses back on the mother. Her critical condition means zero time for arguing about spare change. Out of nowhere, he suddenly apologizes. The priestess completely freezes up. He said sorry, and she literally cannot understand why. She remembers drinking coffee together back when he said theology is really just about understanding human beings. She thinks his apology is like hers. She watches him filthy, exhausted, and barely standing. While he keeps grinding to help others, she realizes he is apologizing because he cannot save everyone. And here is the heartbreaking truth we leave on. Under all that status, Dolores is just a 16-year-old girl. Now watch closely. For the first time, her heart races for this guy. Hours later, Vikir yanks his mask off, sighing. He's outside near the forest fence chugging water. Suddenly, he spots someone approaching. He slaps his mask back on, asking what's wrong. Dolores just watches calmly, stepping closer, asking if they can talk for a second. First up, she thanks him, saying his help saved everyone. But our guy totally brushes it off. He just did what was necessary. She counters, saying a powerhouse like him should have been born with divine power. Meanwhile, she feels completely weak in body, mind, and faith. Yet God chose her. He just can't grasp why God picked her over worthier people. But before she spirals, he drops facts. Her pain and guilt are exactly why she was chosen. This world needs a light reaching into the deepest darkness, not just pure brute strength. Hearing those words, she starts crying, wondering if she'll ever become someone who speaks like that. Thanks to this crazy plague, the clergy teamed up praying to craft holy water strong enough to cleanse infected sewers with 1 drop. They only managed 3 drops total, including the backup. They proudly named it the Saint's Tears. These 3 drops sit on an altar like absolute treasures while Dolores kneels down to pray. She starts talking to God. Golden lights float around power building, up until boom. A massive flash bursts from the holy water jars. A knight steps up, boxing them safely. He thanks the saint, swearing on his life that they will be heavily guarded. But looking out the window, she just knows there's one last thing left to handle. So she heads over to an angel statue looking exactly like her. Right there, a priest is deep in prayer with a rosary. She calls him Father, bringing major news about the Red Death. The Pope gestures her closer. I know what you're thinking, but yes, this church leader is Cardinal Humbert L. Quo Vadis. He proudly praises his daughter's offering. Dolores thanks him and dives into her report. She explains how the saint's tears completely purified St. Mecca's water. She also mentions kids claiming a spirit cursed the well. Plus, they found the glass bottle used to spread the plague. After searching the scene, they found major evidence. She hands over a recovered dagger. He instantly spots the emblem. It belongs straight to the Leviathan and Bourgeois clans. The real shock, they actually crafted an artificial virus. Furious, he demands to know how those poison-crazed fools dared mock the divine. Soon, his raw power literally shakes the entire hall, and he instantly calls for all-out war. Dolores stays completely silent. Then he brings up our young hunter, claiming this guy is way too suspicious. He orders her to capture him and force a confession. But he's totally caught off guard when she shouts back that the man is innocent. She stands firm and he coldly asks what she just said. Dolores argues the hunter did everything to save the infected, stopping the death toll entirely. Someone like that, she insists, simply cannot be evil. Voice freezing over her father says he gets it. She's never opposed him before, but now she's defending some random man. He slowly raises a hand, charging up intense divine power, declaring he will question this hunter himself. Bam! A massive blast fires from his palm into the sky, visible city-wide. Reaching the top, it explodes like a fake sun. He warns her resistance is pointless. Heavily armed paladins are already hunting him down. Paladins storm Vikir's hideout, ready to strike. They smash the door down, screaming about the Red Death suspect. But guess what? The room is completely empty, just bare furniture. You and I just watched chaos unfold. Suddenly, someone rushes in with terrible news. Stick with me. A kid suddenly announces a saint's tear got stolen from the basement. Dolores completely shocked. It finally hits her. This guy was just playing her to steal the artifact the whole time. Holding the tear, Vikir casually drops a thank you. Then he just walks off, vanishing with the stolen treasure. Right then, her memory flashes back to her childhood. This wild little girl suddenly found herself face to face with a massive 3-headed Cerberus. Her tribe tried helping, but that monster was unstoppable. Trapped, she took a bad step and the rocks completely crumbled right under her feet. I know what you're thinking. Game over. She plummets, getting knocked out, and as her vision fades, creepy men with twisted smiles stand over her. Badly hurt and totally surrounded, she couldn't fight back. Sometime later, she is bandaged up, gripping a sword and staring down a much bigger dude inside a brutal fighting arena. Masked nobles are watching this for pure entertainment, while that scarred, bald fighter looks completely ready. He charges at the terrified little girl who is unsure how to react, grinning like she is just easy prey. She barely manages to dodge, somehow nicking his shoulder. The panic returns instantly when he grabs her leg, hurling her across the arena. Blood spills as she crashes down hard. Trust me, you're not ready for what happens next. Stick with me. The smiling nobles and that bald guy are completely enjoying this. The crying young girl is convinced this is her tragic end. But suddenly, powerful memories of her tribe ignite her spirit, giving her the raw strength to stand up and fight. Flashes of her brutal capture flood her mind. Without hesitation, she smears war marks with her own blood and prepares for an all-out battle. We never actually see if she won. Now she is hanging on a cross, her eyes completely empty and drowning in pure despair. As the warm memories of her people slowly fade away, she just wants to surrender. But then a mysterious vial of red liquid magically drops in front of her. Staring at it, she completely freezes. Then she spots a young guy watching from the shadows. He says only one word, run, and then bam, the twist hits. It was all just a crazy dream. She wakes up resting in her mother's lap, who gently asks if it was another bad nightmare. Even fast asleep, she is still searching for Vikir. She has gotten terrifyingly sick and everyone is panicking, thinking she caught the deadly Red Death. Her mom tries to calm her down with a sweet, simple story about a tiny seed planted in the dirt. Her dad carefully planted it and her mom watered it every single day. Boom, it grew into a totally strong and beautiful flower. Once it fully bloomed, they picked it to admire its beauty. That is her incredibly gentle way of explaining the little girl's birth. Life is totally unpredictable, so she tells her daughter she just has to survive. She firmly believes Vikir is going to come back with a real cure, but the girl gave up hope. "Stick with me here," a sudden shout rings out. He is back. Our main character finally returns to the dusty village. Her mom smiles, boasting she was right, and now her daughter can finally be healed. But glancing at the bed, the sick girl is gone, already sprinting outside. Her mom is absolutely stunned, wondering how someone dying from the Red Death can even move like that. Sprinting through the heavy mud, the girl flashes back to the epic day she escaped the terrifying prison burning brightly right behind her. She was bawling and absolutely terrified. But seeing Vikir summon that massive monstrous spider to fight, that moment completely flipped a switch inside her. She somehow found the guts to conquer her deep fear. After that brutal, bloody fight, he was tossed aside, clothes shredded and barely breathing. That is the exact moment she looped a heavy rope around his neck, dragging him away alongside her loyal white wolf. Back in reality, she is completely exhausted from sprinting just to reach him. Vikir is shocked, asking how she made it here while carrying the deadly Red Death. Before he can even finish his sentence, she just leaps at him for a massive hug. The insane impact sends them both tumbling hard into the dirt. Our main character jokes his spine would have totally snapped without mana, noting that she honestly looks a whole lot better now. Tears streaming but grinning wide, she warmly welcomes him back. He smiles softly, replying that it is genuinely good to be home. A few hours later, inside a hunting tent, Vikir stands calmly over a sick girl while the villagers watch. He unwraps the saint's tear, bringing the fiercely glowing vial close. The pure holy power alone heals her instantly. Ahun completely breaks down, crying as his sister's awful marks just vanish. The villagers are stunned, the light erased, the Red Death. "You and I knew he would do it." Vikir found the cure. He asks how many patients are still left, even in nearly wiped out tribes. Then he firmly orders Ahun to gather every single sick person in one spot. He is absolutely planning to use this epic moment to make the other tribes owe them. Oh, and that giant monster fish from earlier. He casually mentions killing it on the way back, telling them to cook the meat and share it with everyone. That insane flex makes the other tribes feel incredibly tiny next to him. But Vikir cuts the chatter, no time to waste, they need every tribe at the river right now. Just a few hours later, the river tribes start pouring in one by one, answering Vikir's massive call. He casually walks to the water vial in hand, letting a few glowing drops fall. They instantly spread through the entire river, poisoned by the Red Death. Suddenly the water shines brilliant gold, and the sickness literally vanishes. In seconds, the whole river is completely purified. Now the water is totally safe and actually heals disease. Vikir tells the shocked tribal leaders that just drinking a little is more than enough. The sick people rush forward and quickly drink. Almost instantly they feel better, their bodies grow lighter, and that deadly Red Death is completely gone. One amazed leader practically begs him to be their shaman, but he refuses, turning it down without any hesitation. Suddenly, a massive foot slams hard into the dirt. The loud sound makes Vikir glance over. It is the imposing Jugok tribe leader. He rallies the deep forest people, demanding to know who the legendary hero is that purified their land. Everyone aggressively starts stomping and screaming his name. Even the women are crying out for the absolute legend who just saved their families and the entire forest. Before long, Vikir's mighty name echoes through the mountains and woods. To them, he has officially become the brand new savior of the wild. Our protagonist realizes the Poison Clan's massive crime just handed him the ultimate perfect opening. If he wins these wild tribes over, he might actually gain the raw strength to crush all of Baskerville, and maybe deal Hugo a devastating blow. His intense thoughts get interrupted when a leader suggests a massive festival. But Vikir shuts it down. Something more important comes first. They must hunt down whoever spread that poison. The tribal priest appears in the dark. And, let that sink in, we just discovered our real mastermind. He actually infected his own niece. All of this chaos was just part of his twisted plan to completely take over the forest. Let's jump into this wild manhwa, where our villain steps outside and realizes everything is ruined. Everyone is just smiling and celebrating, no sickness anywhere. He is totally confused. Right before his ritual started, people were literally gasping for air. Seeing his own granddaughter completely healthy leaves him absolutely rattled. Yelling that this is impossible, he sprints straight toward the very river he secretly poisoned. The fish are swimming just fine, the sickness is wiped out, and the water is crystal clear. His mastermind plan just completely crashed. But then Vikir casually pops up, noting the clean river, and asking our villain how his day is going. The old guy totally loses it, calling him an imperial brat, and demanding to know when he arrived. But then he finally notices the horrible truth. He is totally surrounded. Vikir smirks. This went exactly as planned. The guy spreading the Red Death was the shaman all along. Before coming back, Vikir heard a dark legend about a man and his unforgivable sin. The story mentioned a guy who infected his own people just to play hero, but couldn't cure them, ending in total disaster. That legend perfectly matches the panicking shaman. He's sweating bullets, wondering how the main character knows his secret. Right on cue, someone steps out from the trees. The tribe leader asks if his little ceremony is done. She mentions hearing the Empire fought a war over this man-made plague. So a deadly virus just accidentally spreading all the way into their forest. Yeah, right. Sweating hard, the old man plays dumb, swearing he knows absolutely nothing about it. But the leader presses him why rush to the river instead of going home. Just as Vikir predicted, he obviously came to check his handiwork, and they are about to expose him completely. Now pay attention here. Our protagonist reveals the old guy unleashed the Red Death just to play the big hero. The matriarch immediately demands a pocket search, leaving the shaman looking completely terrified. Vikir had dug into his past, finding a hidden bloodline. Turns out this guy used to be a slave. Later on, he assassinated a rebel shaman and stole his magical power. That sneaky move bought his freedom and scored him the top shaman job. Afterward, he desperately tried fitting in with the Balak tribe, taking the worst jobs possible. They even used him as live monster bait during super dangerous hunts. It took getting old and gray for the tribe to finally accept him as family. Vikir figures this old man just wants the massive power and respect he missed out on during his youth. That explains his secret plan to rule the forest. The matriarch cuts the chatter, ordering him to hand over the pouch. He is visibly shaking now. Desperate, he pulls out random items, claiming he just saved some flowers for after his ritual. Then, oops, he conveniently drops the pouch straight into the rushing river, washing all the evidence away while faking a clumsy mistake with his hands. The matriarch nods. This is exactly what Vikir predicted. The old rat threw the evidence away, just like the main character said. Now checking those contents is completely off the table. Furious, the old guy shouts that looking for an antidote basically accuses him of starting the plague. He screams at the matriarch to punish this outsider for disrespecting him, but she coolly replies that nobody gets judged without solid proof. If he is actually innocent, she promises to protect his honor. So she officially calls for an Iliad. You and I both know this is bad news. An Iliad is a brutal duel, and the tribe strictly supports whoever survives it. Even his own grandson steps up, reminding the old man he always preached about tradition. Since this duel is a sacred tradition, he has to accept it. The shaman glares at his grandson, totally betrayed. Trapped, he accepts the challenge but schedules the deadly duel for 4 days later under a full moon. Vikir rejects that immediately. No waiting around, he proudly states the challenged person actually picks the date. That is tribe law. Vikir planned this from the very start, forcing the shaman into this inescapable death match. Hours later, the whole tribe gathers. The matriarch starts the duel while warriors form an absolute death ring, no running allowed. She calls upon their mountain ancestors to witness the fight. Under their watchful eyes, no dirty tricks are tolerated. The ancestors will judge the ultimate winner. These two men must fight to prove their absolute truth. Ion whispers that Vikir should finish this in a single strike. The shaman seethes with anger, realizing he has 0 allies. Slitting his finger, he smears blood across the dirt, bragging that weapons aren't everything. He swears they'll all scream his name when he wins. A literal skeleton bursts from the earth. 3 more crawl out as the shaman laughs, telling Vikir to watch his back. He laughs at the idea of a 2-year rookie beating a seasoned veteran who knows this magical land inside out. He screams for the main character to step up, swearing absolute bloody murder. Trust me, you're going to love this next part. The main character readies his new silent step skill, preparing to completely erase his presence. Seeing this guy control the dead, our main character instantly guesses the shaman's Rococo tribe origins. Stick with me here, that means nothing. He just drops straight into the skeleton horde. Bam, skeletons destroyed in a flash. The old shaman is clueless, actually thinking Vikir is paralyzed by pure fear. Then, before he can react, something pierces him. As he dies, he's totally confused. He never even heard footsteps. Our guy coldly finishes the job, sheathing Beelzebub. Ion calls out to him, leaving the entire tribe absolutely stunned. The duel, over in a heartbeat. The ancestors themselves just proved this shady shaman was lying. Collapsed in his final moments, he groans in pain, begging to survive and stay among the Balak. He suffered an unfair, humiliating past. All this intense hatred, pure, petty envy. They had similar starts, but the old man never achieved half of Vikir's power. Unable to accept reality, he just wanted twisted revenge on this kid. Vikir tells Ahun to kill his grandfather with his own hands. That betrayal would hurt him most. Ahun is furious. This guy nearly got his sister killed with the Red Death. A massive coward like this elder deserves pure pain, absolutely 0 pity. Now watch closely, because here is the twist. The shaman had one final plan, drawing a crazy blood spell. Suddenly, the tomb holding their ancestor starts glowing before violently bursting open with a blinding light. Purple mist floods the mountain. The whole tribe completely panics, totally terrified by this strange dark power. Ahun is horrified seeing his grandpa stand back up. Even Vikir is shocked, he definitely pierced the lungs. He'll ask if the shaman fears the ancestor's wrath, but the elder's eyes just turn pitch black. Grinning, he asks what he should fear. Vikir understands instantly. He rushes forward shouting to kill the shaman now. Before he gets close, an arrow stops him. The shaman says it's already too late, leaving Ahun deeply confused. Then they realize the crazy shot came from halfway up the mountain. Looking smug, the elder claims the ancestors made their choice, so he will leave the final judgment to them. It's obvious he resurrected a savage ancestor as a zombie. Ahun is totally shaken by the undead archer. I know what you're thinking. A weak shaman shouldn't have this power. Then Vikir realizes the old guy became undead too. Summoning his soldiers, the shaman says, "Don't look surprised. There isn't just one grave on this mountain." He tries running, but his grandson stops him. Ahun demands to know how low he's willing to sink. Before Ahun fires, his arrow is sliced in half. Looking up, he spots a figure on the mountain peak. It's an undead Balak ancestor, probably a past leader roaring right at Ahun. But before she attacks, a massive arrow drops the zombie warrior. That perfect shot came from the current Balak leader, who loudly orders everyone to prepare for battle. She yells that these enemies are just mindless puppets, and true respect means sending them straight back to the grave. Shaken but ready, the warriors draw their weapons. The brutal clash of living versus undead begins. Fueled by forbidden magic, the zombies quickly take the lead. The humans are forced to duck and hide to survive. One corpse charges but gets taken down by an arrow. Then several more zombies fall simultaneously. Classic anime logic, the current Balak leader is undeniably overpowered. Vikir knows it too. She is practically a veteran knight tier. This is the Night Fox Aquila, a fighter who could literally rival an empire. Ian happily says with the matriarch here, they're perfectly safe. But he tells her to follow him. They need to chase the fleeing shaman immediately. Glancing at a tree, he asks her to handle something. The little monkey quickly scrambles away, while the creepy shaman looks deeply thoughtful. He knows just reviving ancestors won't cut it. With Aquila here, he definitely can't relax. She's a total genius, and the village's absolute strongest fighter. Even so, he flashes a dark smile. He's confident not even she can survive what is coming next. Deeper in the forest, Vikir and Ian prepare an ambush. The shaman stands inside a circle performing some dark ritual. Our main character questions why he chose this specific pillar-filled location. Ian has no clue either, but she refuses to let him finish. She aims, deciding to permanently put this geezer down with one single arrow. Her arrow flies at lightning speed, a guaranteed hit, but right before impact, the old man says it's over. A hand bursts from the dirt, catching the arrow between two fingers. Vikir and Ian are totally stunned. The shaman brags his summoning worked perfectly like the legends. This one rested alone deep in the forest. Creepily, the skeleton's thin hair starts growing back, and its rotting body begins to completely rebuild itself. It is the divine archer Adonai, the exact same guy from the old myths who literally fought the Madame. That's where we leave it. Both are horrified, realizing they just woke up the most legendary archer from the Balak. Stick with me, because this undead warrior just woke up and fired a shot that literally cracked the ground. Vikir uses Beelzebub to deflect it, but he instantly realizes this is an arrow packed with pure aura. Even a glancing blow hits like a truck. Then he notices Ian took damage. Her wound burns, proving Adonai used poison. This proves the ancient myths. Adonai really did fight Madame Eight Legs, and his bow forged straight from her venomous spider corpse. Vikir scrambles to block the barrage. When the dust finally settles, a massive trench is completely carved into the earth. Blocking wasn't enough. Ian even yells at him to just run away and completely ditch her, but the evil shaman traps them completely. No survivors allowed. He commands the undead Adonai to wipe them out. Instantly, another deadly shot screams toward our duo. But right before impact, the tribal leader suddenly intercepts it. The shaman is totally speechless. Everyone is. That lethal mana arrow just crumbles in her bare hand. She literally crushes it to dust. Furious, she screams the shaman's name, and the guy is absolutely terrified now. She showed up, after sensing a massive aura explosion. Clearly crashing this party was the perfect decision. Hiding behind his zombie puppet, the shaman shrieks her name. Vikir warns her the poison needs immediate medical attention, but this lady is hardcore. She just squeezes her arm and violently forces the poison out. Vikir realizes she blew up mana internally to purify her blood. Looking annoyed, she glares at the shaking shaman, ignores his pathetic betrayal for now. She just wants one straight answer. Is that really the legendary archer Adonai? He says yes, bragging that she stands zero chance against him. But honestly, that just makes her smirk. Pay close attention here. She tells Vikir and her daughter to step back while this mother-in-law absolutely humbles their ancestor. Right before the clash, she admits it is a massive honor to meet him, despite the terrible timing. The two legends lock eyes, reading every micro-movement. Vikir's mother-in-law strikes first, dodging sideways while drawing multiple arrows at once. She unleashes an absolute barrage. But the undead archer calmly dodges everything and fires straight back. Aquila dodges his counter. The literal second she lands, she readies her next powerful strike. Across the field, the legend channels his aura. Their duel is so blindingly fast you only see blurring movement trails. Vikir watches in awe. This is a master-tier aura clash, something so incredibly rare he never expected to actually witness it. Meanwhile, the shaman spies through his creepy finger eyeball, realizing Aquila is literally matching the legendary Adonai blow for blow. Even so, the coward just smirks. It doesn't matter. Adonai is already dead, meaning she cannot truly kill him anyway. He will fight until his energy empties. When a shot grazes her, Aquila realizes long-range combat is actually a huge trap. Scanning his movements, she quickly figures out that his physical strength, explosive power, and speed are literally perfect. But one key thing is missing. A dark arrow zeroes in, and she instantly fires back. The shots collide in mid-air, triggering a massive shockwave across the entire forest. Bursting through the smoke, Aquila rushes Adonai and throws a brutal high kick. He easily slips back and she completely misses. He slashes his dagger, literally cutting down trees around them. She dodges by a hair, blocking his blade with her own. Without missing a beat, she kicks his knee. That throws his balance off briefly, locking the undead legend in place. You and I both know this is bad. An arrow explodes forward with crazy wind pressure, forcing even Aquila backward. Completely furious, she glares at the great ancestor, realizing that attack actually did some serious damage. Is he holding back because of his zombie state, or because he secretly refuses to hurt his own bloodline? Drawing her final arrow, she decides the ultimate mercy is destroying the undead shell he is currently trapped inside. She lets the shot fly. But literally right before impact, Adonai catches it. A creepy black flash covers his face. Aquila freezes in pure shock. That wasn't him. The arrow was blocked by pure evil energy bleeding from his body. The darkness takes physical shape, fusing with Adonai and completely hijacking his body. The shaman is going all out. Because Adonai kept fighting the mind control, the shaman drops the half measures. He forces the corpse to obliterate every single threat. With the dark aura fully merged, Adonai transforms into something absolutely terrifying. His toxic energy suffocates the entire forest. And for the very first time, the confident Balak leader actually looks worried. Disgusting black flesh repairs his wounds and swallows his body. He is not human anymore. He is the tribe's absolute worst nightmare. As his violent frenzy spikes, a massive shadow looms over them. A giant monster turtle drawn entirely by the chaos. Trust me, you are going to want to see what happens next. Ranked monsters are swarming the area, and it's pure chaos. Alright, stick with me here. These massive enemies get effortlessly wiped out with just a single strike each. His form didn't just transform. His raw power has officially skyrocketed to an absolutely unbelievable level. Even Aquila can't track his shots. The creepy elder hypes up Adonai's true power, ordering the undead beast to completely annihilate the woman standing right there. With zero options left, Vikir's tough mother-in-law goes fully into dodge mode. Every single arrow packs lethal intent, and each painful hit just spreads Madam's nasty poison further through her veins. She's fading fast and knows it's do or die. Quickly she knocks 2 arrows and fires them right at Adonai, but with terrifying grace he dodges the first. The second flies straight for his face until he casually lifts one finger and opens a portal. The speeding arrow instantly vanishes inside it. The deadly shot is totally swallowed up. Aquila acts totally shaken, then smirks. It was absolute bait. Suddenly, a hidden arrow drops from above and nails Adonai. Classic anime fake-out. The first arrow missed intentionally, forcing his defense, and then that first one looped back at max speed to strike his head. The Balak monster takes heavy damage but literally just yanks the bloody arrow out like it's a minor scratch. Now pay attention here, because this gets wild. Aquila is terrified while the shaman mocks her, bragging, "You literally cannot kill someone who's already dead. A normal fatal blow won't work." Watching from afar, Ayin sweats bullets over her mother, terrified. This might actually be the one fight she loses. She also spots the entire forest shaking weirdly. Even so, she clings to Vikir's bold promise that he would fix this mess. Sprinting forward, our main character knows the only way to break this dark necromancy is taking out the shaman. Since that cowardly geezer is terrified of Aquila, he's definitely hiding like a baby behind Adonai. Scanning the battlefield, he finally spots his rat. Vikir charges in at top speed, totally ready to end him with one brutal strike. But right before impact, an undead ancestor crashes in with a savage kick that Vikir barely manages to dodge. The old shaman absolutely panics seeing our protagonist, but surprised this time, he actually came prepared. He throws multiple undead ancestors into Vikir's path, and these are legendary tomb warriors, definitely not some low-level mobs he can just ignore. Meanwhile, Aquila is getting pushed back hard. She takes a brutal gut wound and collapses. Seeing the Balak leader drop, the annoying shaman screams in victory. He gloats that the forest guardian is finished, and he's the new boss, but a vicious hunting dog suddenly interrupts his little speech. This is getting annoying. So Vikir unleashes the epic 6th blade of Baskerville. He literally wipes out every enemy nearby. boldly declaring that the forest people are now his personal allies. Then he glares at the shaman, asking if his little daydream is over. The old coward absolutely freezes, screaming for Adonai's help. Adonai instantly fires an attack at Vikir, but Aquila delivers a clutch kick, interrupting the monster at the very last second. The deadly arrow swerves off course, giving Vikir just enough space to dodge. Absolutely seeing red now, he goes straight for the shaman. The desperate villain tries summoning Lord Adonai again, but wait, his hands are completely sliced off. No hands means no magic seal. You and I both saw that coming. He stares in pure horror, suddenly realizing he doesn't even have a physical body left anymore. Vikir effortlessly chopped down that annoying coward in a flash, anyway jumping back over to the Balak fight. Aquila is still getting completely swarmed by those zombies, and after that last brutal hit, she is hovering near death. But just before they finish her off, the monster crumbles into dust right before her eyes. Suddenly, all the other undead start disintegrating too. Barely catching her breath, the confused tribe leader just stares at the undead ancestor as he slowly starts fading away into nothing. Before he entirely vanishes, she gently reaches out, holding his hand and telling him to finally rest in peace. Suddenly, a pathetic scream echoes out. It's coming from the elder's decapitated but living head, furiously screaming at Vikir for ruining his big master plan. Our protagonist casually admits the old freak was actually stronger than expected. He literally commanded an undead army and controlled Adonai. Smiling like a maniac, the shaman swears it's not over and promises absolute revenge. But right in the middle of his pathetic villain monologue, his very own grandson smacks him down. The kid is absolutely furious. Ahun seriously apologizes to Vikir, admitting that if he had just ended his grandpa earlier, none of this tragedy happens. Vikir just looks away calmly, telling the kid it wasn't his fault. He did great. So what do you and I take from this madness? The battle ends, but returning home, the Balak warriors find their village completely destroyed. Ian panics, asking what happened and where all the missing villagers went. Ahun's sister suddenly shows up, crying that Madam came. Ian is totally confused about who this Madam even is. Vikir wonders why this dormant monster suddenly made a move. The crying girl points ahead, revealing that weird smoke rose from the shaman's tent first. So our brave protagonist goes to inspect the damage. Let's dive right in. He finds dead primates and realizes the shaman burned bug attracting plants. Then someone punches a wall, absolutely furious at the guy. It is the tribe leader. She just watched Madam destroy absolutely everything her people built. Even injured, she refuses to give up. She orders the warriors to clear the bodies, save the survivors, and start rebuilding from scratch. Ian is completely heartbroken, finding her pet wolf barely clinging to life with green sludge covering its legs. Sobbing, she begs it for forgiveness. This is exactly why the eight-legged Madam is called the evil goddess of the forest. She is a walking disaster born from pure darkness. The Balak tribe views her as nature, so no revenge. But Vikir, he is not Balak. Later, near a cave campfire, he walks up to the matriarch with a big question. He demands intel on the eight-legged Madam. The request completely shocks her. To prove he is serious, Vikir reveals a record he swiped from the Rococo tribe. It holds notes on her poison, crazy witness accounts and her exact hiding spot. Still, he is confused. If everyone is terrified of her, why not team up? Matriarch sighs, explaining the Balak have records of Lord Adonai fighting the beast. The divine archer managed to slice off one of her legs, but the nightmare was just getting started. A new leg grew right back and split directly into two solid pieces. Her legs were literally the only weak spots. The rest of her massive body was totally bulletproof. The records also confirm every single person in that battle ended up poisoned. After taking a hit from Adonai's poison arrow herself, the matriarch admits she finally understands just how terrifying this giant spider truly is. Now pay attention, this is crucial. She begs him not to fight Madam, terrified of losing more family. Vikir knows the odds are absolute trash. Even if she is just one rare beast today, the future will be swarming with demons exactly like her. But get this, she is still a monster. Monsters have patterns and weak points. If he figures out her rhythm, he can definitely kill her. Locked in, he sets out to hunt the dark god. A day later, he arrives at a mountain shaped exactly like a dead volcano. A massive pillar shoots up from the center, splitting into giant legs, bracing the rock. There she is, Madam. The monster roams the forest while Vikir spies from the shadows, tracking exactly how much noise she makes waking up. He has stalked her lair for days now, realizing she hunts on a very strict schedule. Based on her routine, she will be gone for roughly 2 hours. So he sprints up the rocks. He scales the peak easily and finds her nest. Outside, solid rock. But inside, it is totally hollow. Activating his arm's demon sword, he slices right into the stone, yanking out a tiny chunk to examine. Studying the sticky web, he realizes the inside is super tough, resisting even high-level mana cuts. Changing tactics, he uses the webs like an elevator, hopping from strand to strand all the way down. The entrance barely fits the monster, but it expands massively further down, creating a perfect home. At the bottom, he spots animals and actual humans plastered to the walls as late-night snacks. Most bodies are completely rotten and untouched, meaning this crazy spider just hoards food for fun. You and I both know she rules this forest, right? Vikir shakes off the thought, staying totally focused. He has to bail before she returns. But then a bunch of tiny spider eggs on the wall catch his eye. He quickly rips one free and examines it. Suddenly, the chaotic future makes sense. This explains the massive swarm of spider demons later on. He plans to take it for research, but then a heavy chill hits him. Madam is back. She scans the nest, acting like she instinctively knows her eggs were touched. Watching her search, Vikir realizes he was 1 second away from total disaster. Luckily, she misses him and turns to leave. At the very last millisecond, he had ducked behind a web. Sweating, he wonders if she smelled his aura. If he had not erased his sound, he would be a snack right now. Later back at the village, the locals are busy rebuilding everything. Rumors are spreading about Vikir locking himself in his shelter for days, cooking up a crazy plan, which means he has basically ghosted Ayan lately. Right now, she stands outside his door, stressed out. Her mother warned her he was investigating the spider monster. She warns him that 0 warriors can defeat that beast, begging to know if he is seriously fighting her. Her poor wolf lost a leg just brushing against the poison. Terrified of losing him too, she holds back tears as Vikir invites her inside. He says he has something important to show her. Inside, he is completely buried in notes, plotting like a mad scientist. She asks what the mess is about, and he reveals they are Madam's combat records from every forest tribe. He has analyzed her web strength, armor, toughness, and casually mentions stealing an egg directly from her cave. Hearing that, she absolutely panics. And honestly, we are all dying to see what Vikir does next. Stick with me here. She realizes he's actually going after Madam and offers backup, but Vikir shuts it down. She's injured and would only slow him down. He also adds he'll leave the forest soon for his own mission. A little down, Ayan admits she already figured that out. Then our MC catches her completely off guard. Once his mission ends, he plans to come back here. But first, he must protect this future home. While Ayan stares at a wall packed with battle sketches, Vikir casually drops that he already knows how to kill Madam. He absolutely refuses to let anyone else share Bakira's tragic fate. Ayan stays dead serious, warning him that calling this a hunt is crazy bold. Then again, he always faces impossible odds and somehow flips them completely upside down, so she chooses to trust him, praying he can pull off another absolute miracle. Later that night, in pouring rain, Vikir squares up against a massive lizard. It swings hard, but Beelzebub on his arm blocks the heavy claw strike like it's nothing. Vikir is totally locked in on beating it down, and here is exactly why. The wound Beelzebub makes instantly heals up thanks to the beast's wild power. Vikir declares, "This is the final piece he needs to go hunt, Madam." Smirking slightly, he prepares to steal that salamander's skill. Back in town, Ahun looks totally wiped out from finishing up his daily work. He stands with 2 other guys right in front of a freshly built house. Super impressed by Ahun's skills. He proudly says it's for Vikir, since they're basically brothers now, but the other guys just burst out laughing since Ahun used to be Vikir's biggest hater. Still, the village bounced back super fast, and that's mostly thanks to our MC, so the 3 run off to tell Vikir they built this awesome house for him. But when they finally arrive, nobody is home. Ahun is visibly disappointed, really wanting to see Vikir's reaction. The other guys just joke that it probably wouldn't have been a dramatic reaction anyway. Ayan is out there too. Looking up at the darkening sky, she realizes today is finally the day of Vikir's one-on-one showdown with Madam. She prays the great warrior blesses his deadly battle. Soon enough, he stands at the mountain peak looking up. A massive storm is brewing. He notes the heavens are already mourning the spider. She's probably asleep right now, making this the perfect time to strike. He's prepped for dozens of worst-case scenarios and has a brutal counter for every single one of them. Now pay attention. Vikir leaps straight down into the spider's deadly lair. Deep down below, Madam is waiting. Poison drips from her terrifying mouth, her face absolutely nightmare fuel. Like any spider, she sleeps hanging completely upside down. But that nap ends right now. Vikir charges in, instantly slicing off a leg with a 6th-tier Baskerville technique. Madam snaps awake, notices her missing leg, and goes absolutely berserk. Our MC remembers Ayan's warning. The chopped limb splits into 2 just like before. Using that fresh double leg, Madam strikes, but he dodges, sticking purely to his plan. He blitzes her from every angle, flashing through the cave like literal lightning. Madam can't do anything but tank the heavy blows. She angrily spits venom, but he easily dances around it all with crazy speed. Then splat, a single stray drop bounces off the cave wall onto his arm, and the venom spreads instantly. Vikir already expected this. He just slices off his poisoned flesh, healing it instantly with the stolen salamander's power. You saw that too, right? Madam is completely stunned while MC coolly announces the game just changed. They clash again. Vikir keeps delivering brutal hits while just barely slipping past her fatal counterattacks. Slowly but surely he cracks her armored skin. But from one tiny slip-up he gets clipped, the intense pain ruins his balance and he crashes right onto her leg. The damaged spot is his own leg, and it's already regenerating fast. Before he even finishes healing, he launches himself back at Madame, slashing her legs up like pure payback. Realizing she's actually losing, Madame lets out a blood-curdling scream. Vikir knows things are about to get really bad. Hours drag on. Our guy is completely wiped, still regenerating wounds from those earlier hits. He's lost count of how many times he's healed and his stamina is tanking fast. Meanwhile, that freakish monster just keeps multiplying legs for free. The grueling fight is wearing him down, but this was his master plan. He smirks. Suddenly, he leaps onto a thick web, scaling it fast. The raging spider scrambles after him, chasing him with hundreds of newly multiplied legs. But then she hits a wall. She can't climb up. Vikir grins, that was the whole point. He knew infinite legs still wouldn't let her reach him up here. That god-tier healing actually becomes a massive flaw when only one side gets heavier. Refusing to quit, she blasts a giant web straight at him. But MC effortlessly dodges past it. He was waiting for that exact move from the start. Her web is super tough but packs one massive flaw. Regular fire won't work, but the purple flames of the underworld will torch it like dry wood. Plus, all those rotting bodies have filled this cave with gas. Here's what we take from this in a sealed cave. One single spark changes absolutely everything. Alright, you and I are about to watch karma hit like a truck. Vikir glares at her. Playtime is over. Boom, he triggers that purple flame trap on a corpse and the entire cave just absolutely detonates. Flashback time. He had been studying this creepy spider lady, closely remembering that practical exam when a displaced Cerberus randomly crashed the party. That is when it clicked. The tribe only hunted near the mountains because this freak kept expanding her deadly turf. Her master plan, super basic actually. Use the local tribe to scare off nasty demonic beasts like Cerberus. Why? Because infernal fire is her ultimate kryptonite. Keeping that fiery weakness nearby would be a massive rookie mistake. So using that sweet skill he snatched up earlier, one perfect strike turns her cozy cave into pure rubble. Miss Spider just watches her nest go up in flames. Stunned hellfire swallows her whole, taking all those hoarded monster souls right with her. Fast forward a bit. Our guy Vikir is already chilling outside the mountain. Knowing infernal fire was her one glaring weak point, boxing her in was the ultimate big brain move. Those clumsy copied legs could not climb and the fierce flames burned her webs to ash. Checkmate. She was totally cooked here. Even overpowered bosses need oxygen to breathe right. Now Vikir Van Baskerville just plays the waiting game to let her die and farm her sweet skill drop. Classic Manhwa logic, it is never that easy. A massive earthquake hits, leaving him thinking, wait, what now? Now do not blink, because this is where everything goes completely off the rails for us. The literal mountain splits open, launching debris everywhere. Vikir Van Baskerville just stares, pure confusion written all over his face. The spider crawls out glowing molten gold and furious. Yeah, the fire roasted her, but she is locking eyes with him for round 2. Going full desperation mode, she blasts venom straight up, creating an insanely toxic green fireworks show. It rains down on the forest, melting the trees, and aiming to melt Vikir too. Well, that was her plan. Plot twist, he is hiding right under her belly, dodging the acid. Our protagonist quickly realizes she has no idea where he is. Her eyes totally crisped, and the sensory skin she used as radar is completely fried off. Busting through solid rock left her armor cracked wide open. Sensing the kill, our guy goes in for the finish. Moving at lightning speed, he targets a crack and unleashes the 6th Fang of Baskerville. An epic finishing blow, except his stamina is completely running on empty. The attack barely scratches her. Realizing his stamina is tanked, Vikir Van Baskerville bounces back to a tree to regroup. If he has to spam attacks until she drops, he will. But then, gross alert, her fried eyeballs peel open like dead skin, revealing brand new shiny ones underneath. Our hero is completely stunned. Bam! A leg smashes into him before he can blink, launching him across the forest like a literal meteor, tearing up everything. Oh, he messed up bad. He totally forgot bosses can speedrun healing on specific body parts while faking exhaustion. Bones broken, glued to the floor, he just feels this absolute nightmare creeping closer. He struggles to stand. But suddenly a random voice asks why he is beefing with a bug instead of ditching this forest for his real mission. He regressed to get revenge on Hugo, not to play pest control. I know exactly what you are thinking right now. Who is talking? It is his own past self, covered in scars and pure uncut rage. Past Vikir calls him a soft, dull weakling, tells him he desperately needs to remember the burning hatred for Hugo that he felt right before he died. The dark and depressing backstory of Vikir Van Baskerville. In his first life, he was a literal tool for his master's orders, no matter the cost. Bound by duty since birth until the bloody day it all finally shattered. The second his master stabbed him in the back, reality finally hit. Decades completely wasted on a power-hungry maniac. He wanted Hugo to taste that exact same brutal despair, but his current self feels a little differently about it now. The plan was basic, right? Execute his master, nuke the clan. That was his entire reason for breathing. But hearing this ghost talk makes him pause. Did he ever actually defy Hugo back in the day? Not really. Okay, sure, there was that one time he seriously thought about running. He spent so much time daydreaming about freedom, wondering what a normal life outside could look like. But spoiler alert, he just gave up, accepted his fate, and kept the dog collar on. And that cowardly choice led straight to a guillotine. Vikir Van Baskerville was nothing but a loyal hunting hound. Realizing he was just disposable trash, yeah, that sparks some serious absolute rage. No more leashes. He refuses to be controlled by Hugo or even by this super edgy ghost from his past. His dying wish was beautifully simple: never live as Hugo's puppet again. Recognizing his tragic past mistakes, he finally lets those dark, nagging voices fade into total silence. You and I know the trauma faded, but that giant, angry spider definitely did not. He's already dropping that sharpened leg for the killing blow, but his absolute hunger for freedom, it lets him dodge at the very last possible second. Stick with me here because he can't even regenerate anymore. But he knows once you and I see him finally break free, he's going straight for revenge. But right now he actually has people he wants to protect. A real home to return to. Struggling to stand, he swears he's living on his own terms from now on. That's exactly why he has to get back up and fight. Nothing is ever controlling him again. Suddenly, a figure with pointed ears shows up. An arrow slams right into the madam's leg, completely stopping her brutal attack on Vikir Van Baskerville. 2 more arrows rip through the air, wounding her even worse. This backup totally catches him off guard. Looking past the massive monster, he spots a whole squad gathered on the mountain raining fire from above. Leading the charge, Ayen and her powerhouse mother. They scream out that they came to fight right beside Vikir Van Baskerville. And get this, it's not just them. The entire Balak tribe showed up. After everything he's done for them, they all want to stand by his side. So they rush the giant spider, screaming about protecting the hero of the forest. But honestly, their arrows are basically just annoying bug bites to her. They barely do any real damage, but that tiny opening, it's all he needs to start regenerating. Our guy Vikir Van Baskerville can't believe she totally ignored him when he said stay back. Still, Ayen is literally the only reason he's alive right now, so he dashes in to finally finish this cursed spider. But yeah, as expected, he's still way too weak to break her. Now watch closely because the answer is simple. If one hit fails, keep striking, but before he can swing, the giant spider starts thrashing her legs, wildly hunting him. The tribe completely panics, thinking she lost her mind, but Ayen quickly calms them down. She yells that the spider is only freaking out because Vikir actually cornered her, so nobody better retreat. Watching from a distance is the tribe leader, still totally exhausted and injured from her last battle. For years, she viewed this madam as a walking natural disaster. She thought this thing was literally unkillable. But this small warrior who showed up out of nowhere, he totally shattered that fear by taking on the massive monster all alone. So as the clan leader, she decides to step up even with her heavy injuries. She pulls her mana together, knowing she has to create an opening for him. Then boom, she fires a massive shot from the mountaintop. The blast slams right into the madam, completely stunning her from the heavy impact. Vikir doesn't waste a second. Eyes glowing blood red, he charges like lightning for one final desperate strike. The attack lands perfectly, making the massive madam screech out in absolute agony. To end this once and for all, he unleashes the Baskerville clan's first technique, the deeply piercing fang. Ayen suddenly realizes he actually went inside the madam's body, and from the inside he triggers the second technique, then the third, fourth, and fifth. The madam starts spraying venom wildly in every single direction, the ultimate proof that her end is finally here. Vikir, who had been chained by his past until now, refuses to live as a loyal hound anymore. Right through the spider's eye, massive internal strikes start totally shattering the chains binding him. Then he violently explodes out of the monster like a hurricane. Using the 6th crushing fang, he finally finishes this insane battle. You saw that too, right? When Vikir bursts through the giant spider's eye, the barbarians are left totally speechless. After that epic final hit, the madam officially drops. As she crashes down, thick smoke completely fills the area, and right in the center, Vikir just collapses from total exhaustion. But even after winning, the deadly venom in his blood is literally eating him alive. Barely hanging on, he checks the madam and realizes she's fading fast too. He knows he has to clear this venom immediately, but with absolutely zero strength left, he just blacks out on the spot. Then, almost like something else is controlling his body, his arm rises. Beelzebub reaches out toward the madam, and we instantly see her restored to her full, monstrous form. Then Beelzebub and the other monsters he already absorbed jump out to face her. First up is Cerberus, the 3-headed demon dog, totally locking the madam down with a brutal flurry of bites. That gives Beelzebub the perfect opening to slide in with her sharp pincers and completely absorb the madam's massive power. From far away, Vikir barely hears someone screaming that the entire area is flooded with venom. He blinks his eyes open to see Ayen frantically yelling at him to stay alive, then just shuts them again, resting while surrounded by the worried tribe. Calling Ayen's name, he weakly says he's fine, jokingly telling her to lower her voice so he can sleep. Hearing him crack jokes while half dead, Ayan absolutely breaks down in tears. She loudly cries out, calling him a massive idiot, demanding he never do that again. Meanwhile, Beelzebub on his arm looks incredibly satisfied. And that right there is when we realize the eight-legged madam's insanely deadly venom has officially been added to the glutton's arsenal. A little while later, the entire tribe is totally sprawled out on the ground, drunk and completely exhausted. Meanwhile, the leaders of another tribe are just chilling together, calmly sharing a drink. Vikir looks completely drained, groaning that this victory festival has lasted 3 straight weeks because these barbarians seriously love partying. Nearby, a massive white wolf looks absolutely thrilled. It's Vikira. She's down to 3 legs now, but still incredibly happy to see him safe. Even after losing a leg, she found another wolf to lean on. Right now, she just really needs some well-deserved rest. What do you and I think? Vikir suspiciously studies his hand, because after fighting the madam, let's dive right back into the madness. Even without landing the final blow, he actually pulled off the 7th technique. Was it from beating her or just pure battle experience? Still, Hugo's version of that same technique, way out of his league right now, but he is massively stronger now. Plus, his entire mission here is totally complete. Time to head back to the Baskerville clan and finally claim his revenge. Wait as he mutters that someone is definitely watching him. Fast forward a few hours. Vikir throws on normal clothes, ready to bounce. He thanks the patriarch for releasing him, but she immediately scolds the guy. Stop him, never. To her, he is absolute family, and distance will not change a thing. She tells him wherever he goes, never forget he is a Balak. Thanking her, Vikir looks around, wondering if Ayan will actually show up, but knowing how much she hates him leaving, he just turns around and bids everyone a final farewell. Look how much has changed. Once treated like totally worthless trash, now the entire tribe absolutely adores him loudly, wishing him the best. Even Ahun, his former biggest hater, calls him brother and begs him to return, and just like that, they send off their hero. Our guy looks completely at peace, walking away. Now watch closely because our wild waifu is waiting. Holding something suspicious, she asks if he is actually leaving. You are going to love this moment. Looking deadly serious, she holds it out for him to take. Vikir instantly recognizes exactly what this thing is. Before he can even speak, she explains it is Adonai's legendary bow. She personally tweaked it just for him. That totally explains her disappearing for days. She was crafting this epic gift, but wait, she is not finished. Next, she literally snaps a collar onto his neck. Why? Because he kept mumbling about hunting dogs, while venom made him totally delirious. She firmly tells him he is no dog. No actual hound would ever act like he does. He is purely a wolf, and wolves never wear chains. While he thanks her, she gives one final gift, standing on her tiptoes. Yanking that chain so nobody else can steal him, she finally plants the kiss we have all been waiting for. A second later, they pull away, and she simply cannot hold back those tears. Turning to leave, she claims she heard, "This is how Empire folks say goodbye." She also mentions he used to be smaller, but now he completely towers over her. Before running off, she tells him to stay safe. Vikir bluntly says he has never heard of that imperial goodbye, saying farewell and promising they will meet again. Hearing that makes the tough girl freeze, instantly wiping away her heavy tears. With one dramatic hair flip, she admits she hopes they meet again too. Fast forward. Vikir hits his destination, the very same city he crashed in 2 years ago before joining the Balak. Staring at Red Castle, he knows it has been ages. Spotting the morgue flag flying high, he figures the ruby deal with the Baskervilles is still running. That makes him wonder, is that crazy girl still around? Just imagining her reaction when they meet again sounds completely exhausting. Hopping right over the city wall, he realizes it is late and hunts for a local inn. I know what you are thinking, normal city stuff. Nope, because he spots a massive golden statue right downtown. If that thing is standing here, both noble families definitely approved it. Suddenly, a guard blocks him, yelling not to touch the legendary hero statue. Playing dumb, Vikir asks who the hero is. The guard instantly assumes this guy must be a clueless foreigner. The guard gets incredibly hyped, completely shocked someone in the Empire missed this famous name. He starts loudly praising the young prodigy who slaughtered countless barbarians using just one sword. Then he adds this hero charged into pure danger to save his weak, beloved wife, sacrificing himself against a monster so others could easily escape. The guard just keeps passionately rambling while our boy slowly realizes exactly who he means. Finally, the dude proudly names the hero Vikir Van Baskerville. Vikir feels massive secondhand embarrassment hearing this insane hype from a guy who has no idea he is right there. Later on, he tracks down a tiny tavern to sleep. Inside, the 3 sisters who once tried to murder him. Now they are hyping him up like devoted fans. One swears he had insane charm despite being unapproachable. Another lies, saying they talked constantly even if they never got close. The third claims just looking at him cured her exhaustion. Vikir just stands there absorbing this absolute nonsense, knowing none of it actually happened. From their bragging, it looks like Adolf and the rescue team's success got completely credited to these annoying sisters. Our guy overhears Hugo went nuclear after he vanished. Morgue paid massive compensation, but Hugo is still raging hard. Makes sense considering the crazy patriarch lost his favorite hunting dog. The trio keeps dreaming up weird romantic fantasies about him, but drop it when they realize he does not care. Unable to take the nonsense, he pays up. Trust me, you and I would absolutely bail too. Alright, stick with me here. As he tries walking out, one sister spots him and screams. Vikir ignores her while the other two just figure she's completely wasted. But she just keeps screaming for him to come back. Annoyed that he's ignoring her, she drops a trap spell right at his feet. But he casually jumps out of the way, totally shocking the sisters and nearby guards. He lands without a sound, only to find himself surrounded. A guard barks at him to drop the hood. Vikir is seriously annoyed now, but hey, he wanted to announce his return anyway. He pulls his hood back. The three sisters instantly turn bright red. They don't even recognize him yet, just thinking he's crazy handsome. Instead, one of the guards actually figures it out first. That face, the black hair, those red eyes, it completely gives his famous family away. Once the sisters realize exactly who this guy is, they start sweating, stumbling over his name and shouting it loud enough to deafen the tavern. Fast forward to morning. The sisters say he could have used the VIP room, but Vikir bluntly replies that paying the fee is a huge waste. Then these three totally delusional sisters start fighting over which one he actually visited. They also brag about sending an owl to announce he's alive. This honestly just annoys him since he literally never asked for that. As he heads out, they offer to tag along, casually admitting they have tons of free time from doing absolutely nothing. He refuses, realizing the Morgue Scarlet family sent their laziest members. He also wonders why Camus isn't around. The middle sister mentions Camo is currently locked away in secluded training, totally obsessed with her new magic research. That actually worries him. Before he left, Camo and the head of the Hall of Darkness hated each other's guts. Now he wonders if this is another future he changed. He tells them to pass along that he wants to meet up later, then heads home. Meanwhile, that annoying owl already told everyone the mountain hero is alive. Secretary Chihuahua and his little niece are literally crying happy tears. Even that random thief he saved is thrilled. The whole town is buzzing. Suddenly a guy sprints in screaming for the boss. He screams out that Vikir survived. The butler drops his jaw, and the cranky white-haired elder looks seriously annoyed, demanding to know if it's true. Don't blink, because this is it. Our boy shuts his eyes, takes a breath, and opens them, locked in for revenge. A bit later, Chihuahua is just glad Vikir used the actual door. MC casually asks him to forget their last messy meeting, then wonders why a massive crowd is outside. Turns out his crazy fan club is waiting, since the news of his survival spread across the entire empire. Vikir just finds all this super annoying. Suddenly, little Pomeranian runs in yelling for her daddy. He sighs, correcting her to uncle. Then she drops a dead mouse, making him panic about catching the plague. He asks if the crazy city issues are fixed yet. Chihuahua happily reports that Cindy, Wendy, the girl MC recommended, is handling almost everything perfectly. But one creepy mystery is left. Chihuahua hands over an F10 folder, revealing that poor kids have been vanishing without a trace all year long. They look kidnapped, but absolutely zero trace on the black market. Just poof, gone. No hard proof, but he strongly suspects one specific guy. Reading the file, Vikir's blood boils. These Underdog child kidnappings are exactly what he was falsely executed for in his past life. But here's the weird part. This setup was supposed to happen way later in the timeline. You and I both know something's up. Pomeranian calls him, and that dead mouse breathing again, totally stunning both guys. They stare, asking if she really brought it back. MC is totally baffled, wondering if it's voodoo or weird foreign magic. He asks when she learned this, and she casually says 3 nights ago. Turns out she just copied the Rococo tribe, meaning one of their people definitely found her recently. At just 5 years old, she's dunking on Baskerville and Morgue kids who don't even touch magic until age 8. A black mage popping up in a sword family, Hugo would literally snap. So Vikir decides it's way safer they never meet. Right then, a pigeon drops off a letter for Chihuahua, who instantly calls the vice-consul. It's straight from the patriarch. Shortly after, a fancy carriage pulls up. The big boss himself has rolled into Underdog. A few hours pass. 2 teacups sit there. Chihuahua is sweating bullets while the butler stays chilling. They stare at each other. Hugo finally says hello, and trust me, you'll want to see what's next. Let's dive right in. Knowing his dad was coming, the main character hid Pomeranian, praying Hugo wouldn't notice. Hugo asks about living with those wild barbarians. Vikir plays it cool, saying he just stayed there until he fully recovered. He claims he acted super friendly to learn their culture and plot an escape. Hugo leans in, asking how he actually pulled that off. Vikir explains he literally controlled the barbarians using empire goods. To them, stuff like basic ores, wool, and even simple vegetables or grain are insanely valuable. Use those supplies right, and controlling them becomes an absolute breeze. Hugo points out that sounds like basic trade, not domination. But our guy coldly replies they will still die. He plans to trade supplies for monster hunting. Hugo suddenly realizes the barbarians will basically die protecting their territory. That brutal answer leaves Hugo completely impressed. Meanwhile, listening to this incredibly twisted father-son chat, Chihuahua seriously wonders what normal families even talk about. The butler looks genuinely happy too. He hasn't seen the patriarch smile this big since the young master actually vanished. Vikir just calmly sips his tea. In reality, he never wanted those barbarians to suffer. To the Baskerville family, the natives are just dying off. But secretly, they are just safely relocating to where the madam is. Now watch closely. Hugo thinks his brutal revenge is finally happening, but those barbarians are actually just growing way stronger. Suddenly, Hugo's tea literally starts to bubble. Surging with pure rage, he declares he will never negotiate with the Rococo tribe. He wants to wipe them out personally. Vikir suspects some dark hidden history here, giving him yet another massive reason to keep Pomeranian totally concealed. Realizing he just spent his emotional reunion ranting about barbarians, Hugo quickly clears his throat and changes the subject entirely. He sternly orders Vikir to stay off the front lines. Saving Morg's scarlet daughter brought huge honors, diplomatic rewards, and royal praise. But absolutely none of that matters to a father who almost lost his boy. Nothing is worth losing a child over. We all see this so-called affection, right? But seeing it just makes Vikir remember his capture and that bitter, stinging betrayal. Surrounded by the freezing stares of hunting dogs he fought beside forever, he finally realized his master had completely abandoned him. Zero chance to explain. Absolute zero mercy. So yeah, this sudden warmth isn't fooling anyone. His cold eyes stay locked right on Hugo's neck. Then someone suddenly yells for their uncle Chihuahua, and Vikir absolutely frees as Pomeranian sprints right into his arms, totally terrified by the thunder. She desperately clings to him. And boom, they both know things just got insanely dangerous. Pomeranian was never supposed to meet the patriarch, but staring closely at the little girl's face, Hugo slowly stands up with an unreadable expression. A second later, he comments on her looks, acting like he knows exactly who she is, and our video wraps up here. Wild cliffhanger, right? If you enjoyed this, hit subscribe, and we will see you next time.